next items, helping to push them a little further.
And I really want us to look at Max Law in these games here, because we talk so much about Ignar and Hansama, but his performance on these junglers also being a source of engage has been key for Misfits. This is a guy they picked up in the summer split, replaced Kakao with, and said, we don't care about losing this big playmaking potential of Kakao. We want the brains of Max Law. We want his shot calling, his ability to start fights, and he's been doing it so well here.
And now we need to see Misfits holding up their end of the bargain in the late game here. Huni on this split push. They have to make sure that they're answering him or committing to a dive. You cannot be hesitant. You cannot go back and forth and bleed objectives into the Trundle, because that is the way that you allow SKT back in the game. Trundle has no teleport. Cho'Gath does. I want to see Misfits be decisive. Look to push this with the Baron. Force the Trundle to team fight you.
SKT smart enough to not pressure that much on the second tier turret, so the play becomes a little harder. I'm sure they were looking for it. The Ignite on Ignar would have pushed them a little bit further and possibly secured one of those kills. As now Huni has backed, Alfaria get a chance to push the lane out, and Misfits can take another look at the map.
PoE, you gotta love the confidence buying a Mage Eyes against SKT in game point.
It's got to be feeling good, but also playing on SKT. They're trying to find a way back in. Now they have two Warmogs coming out of the jungle and the top lane, and it's going to be hard to tear down this Misfits team.
And the mind games right there. You point a big red arrow on your head saying, look, I got a soul stealer, you should kill me, and then Hansama is right next to him, winning the team fights for his team. Power Vivo has been under a lot of pressure.
The Nexus against OMG. Soaz makes it work with his dying breath.
They fought tooth and nail to keep their knockout stage hopes alive.
And Fnatic, they needed to win, and they have done it.
How does it feel to get a bit of revenge that you take this game against Big Rivalry?
Guys, we have to go on stage. Good luck, guys. Give it everything. No,
Fnatic started 0-4. If they make it to the quarterfinals, they will have won 4 games in a row. It is insane what had to happen to even get us to this point.
Okay, guys. One more game. Oh, they barely get it out. Right away! Oh my God! All the way! Ripped his face up for the next. He's open nowhere. Makes his way back in, but he's not gonna do it. Tap finds the clutch. And Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals.
So many expectations defied by Fnatic. No one has come back from an 0-3, let alone an 0-4. They also needed help from other places. An absolutely miraculous run. A Cinderella story for Fnatic.
Rolling cameras both. Sound rolling. All right, this is Reckless Interview. Take one marker.
All right. How did that day go?
Okay, so emotionally, this day was probably one of the toughest ones that I will ever have to go through. Even though we have gone a longer road than anyone else here at Worlds, there's never really going to be satisfaction for any one of us until we actually win the whole thing.
And Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals.
我觉得 Fnatic 从2杠4晋级，大家都可能觉得是个奇迹，但是我觉得他们走到现在完全是用光了自己所有的运气。我会跟我的队伍用绝对实力把这个如果的可能性降到0的。
直接直击没4人，拿手被免了，师弟没了。
因为在国外比赛的话，因为台下观众呼声特别高嘛，所以说也会自己就想更好的去打好这个比赛，然后更加对得起这些台下的观众们。
The fact that RNG are home favorites is actually going to be in our favor. I've been on the side before that they are now, where you have everyone backing you up, and I felt the pressure, the unnecessary pressure that comes with it. We know that we can use that to our advantage. No one expects us to do pretty much anything in this series, and it just makes it so much sweeter as well when we come out victorious.
Hello and welcome back to the Guangzhou Gymnasium for day 3 of the quarterfinals. Teams load in for a big day of action, and MLXG is out front and center, ready to lead RNG versus Broxa and Fnatic, who showed up in the group stage, and they won't go down without a fight. Reckless as well, making his way to the stage. The crowd here definitely in favor of the hometown favorites, RNG. The first of the LPL teams to take the stage in the quarterfinals. But now it's time to send it down to Rendong to introduce today's teams.
欢迎来到广州，现场所有的召唤师们，让我感受一下你们的热情好吗？你们是最棒的。那么在所有的召唤师们的热情之后，接下来让我们请出的就是2017英雄联盟全球总决赛4分之一决赛第3组的2支战队，让我们欢迎战队登场。 首先，让我们欢迎的就是蓝色方来自于欧洲 LCS 赛区的传统豪门，欢迎 Fnatic。
Walking into the Lions' Den. From 0-4 to quarterfinals, they did the unthinkable, and they're here to do it again.
上路 Side。 打野 Brookhead。 中路 Caps。 下路 Achilles。 辅助 Jerseys。 同样欢迎他们的教练员 Dylan Fico 以及替补中路 Special。 让我们再一次欢迎 Fnatic。 接着我们要请出的是今天的红方，来自于本土 LPL 赛区的 RNG。
Don't need much of an introduction here. The all-Chinese team looking to be the first of the LPL squads to move on to the semifinals.
上路 Lemmy。 打野麻辣香锅。 中路小虎。 下路 UZI。 辅助明。 同样欢迎他们的教练员 Firefox 峰哥以及替补打野遗憾。 拿出你们的呐喊声，让我们再一次欢迎 RNG。 英雄志主传奇，比赛现在开始。
The stage and the stadium shaking there with cheers as RNG took to the stage, and Fnatic have a tough road ahead of them as they try to be the first team to take down a hometown favorite here in the quarterfinals. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson here for another day of action alongside Indiana Frosker in black, Alberto Cruz Rengifo, and Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley. A 5-game series yesterday that left the world stunned to some degree. Are we ready for another one? Have you guys gotten some rest?
Oh, I'm ready.
You ready? You sure
I'm
you're
ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
5?
Yeah, let's go 5.
Let's go 5. All right, let's set the table as we pull up the bracket. The crowd has packed the stadium to see RNG take on Fnatic today. And then, of course, tomorrow, the LPL's Team WE aim to take down Cloud9. And halfway through our quarterfinal week, we've already had some pretty historic matches, highlighted by yesterday's series, SKT versus Misfits.
I mean, the thing was, is coming into yesterday, I thought I was going to be able to keep dinner reservations. This was going to be clean, quiet, and over quick. And Misfits said, no, we will not go quietly into the night. Ignar, in particular, made a hero of himself yesterday as they went the distance.
And it wasn't just euphoric for Misfits in Europe. It was euphoric for the tournament. We finally shed away the Ardent Sensor meta, and the tank and engage supports are coming back, and they have been long awaited.
And I think that's so much about what it was. It was confidence in their own play. Misfits confident to play their own style and showing us a new way to play in this meta and showing that it can work even better than what we had seen before. It was just so incredibly impressive.
And SKT pushed to the limit, having to adapt in a way that they hadn't before to win that very 5th game and move on to the semifinals.
And it was the fact that SKT had to adapt to Misfits. You know, Misfits made them bend to them. Of course, SKT, the champions that they are, they didn't break, but they certainly had to reevaluate their style.
This close.
This close.
This
single team fight.
Well, we'll see who can make their region proud with today's match as we welcome an all-Chinese team versus an all-EU team.
And this is also another historic moment. You know, since the collapse of 2015, I don't really want to think about the dark LGD days. We then had the rebuilding of 2016, and finally, the possible return of the LPL to glory in 2017. Behind us, Reckless said it in his interview, there is a massive spotlight and so much pressure for this all-Chinese roster to perform in China.
And every time Uzi comes to Worlds, he seems to get to the finals. He's been there twice. He's looking to make it a third time, and this guy has been so incredible as one of the great all-time AD carries.
He has been, and unfortunately, he has never quite made it to the very end. Remember, he's made it to 2 Worlds finals so far, reached it, but just not quite enough. And now this is the only time that every time that they have been in Worlds, they always make it.
But we have to talk about the drive, right? That brings you there. That's brought him back to yet another Worlds and another run at that finals and being perhaps the LPL's best opportunity at taking the title.
It's the legacy there. And on the other side of that, there's also Reckless. These guys have been playing for so long. Again, Reckless's Eyes on World episode, he talks about, you know, if I ever lose that momentum, I just remind myself, this is what I'm here for. Yes, they both have that insane drive. They wouldn't be here if they didn't have it, but they also have kind of that darker side of a lot of that passion.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much emotion in both of these players, and I think it can be for better or for worse, right? If you can actually control that and channel that. We saw in Eyes on Worlds, you know, Reckless talking about how much it meant to him and how much these games affect these players. That can drive you to another level to really succeed, and sometimes if you let it go too far, it can be the reason you lose.
Right, it's another level, but it can also knock you down because these teams, these 2 players specifically that are the, kind of the crown jewel of their teams, or at least at times, they can drag them down. You've seen Reckless, the best game of his life, in his opinion, was one that he actually was making the game losing mistakes. So when we look at that first game, the momentum that comes from that is going to be huge for determining the series.
It could be your greatest weapon or your greatest downfall.
I wasn't going to mince words. We have literally seen Uzi cry multiple times on stage where his team has to come out from the back. He doesn't go back into the huddle with them. He forces the coach to come to him, to bend down next to him and make sure that he's okay, and that cannot happen today.
All right, well, we put a spotlight on the 2 big stars, but I want to talk about what other factors we think might tilt this matchup one way or the other.
For me, it's all about the style, actually. You know, looking at Fnatic versus RNG, I actually probably favor Fnatic's chances a lot more than other people just because RNG love to team fight. They have a ridiculous team fight KDA, but Fnatic also like to do that. And so I feel like this is going to be 2 teams that'll just plant their heels and run full force at each other, and it's just going to be who has the better execution on the day for that composition.
So I'm also taking the meta into account for this because yesterday we saw the rise of the engaged supports. No more of Jan and Lulu. Sure, they were banned at times, but the priority of these elder champions that were before this new patch just soared. And so when you come with that into this matchup, you look at Ming. He has been a stellar support for RNG, especially on the engaged champions. And I just said he and Uzi will just trump Reckless and Jessis, which are the way that Fnatic wins.
And speaking of Ming, we saw Leona yesterday. Ming has played 4 games of Leona this split.
I like the sounds of that, but I've got to say I'm looking a lot at Broxah because I think when you're going up a team that's playing the same style as you, this team fighting team that wants to wait for certain item completions, that wants to team fight you, and is probably a better version of what you are doing, you need to get ahead early. And we saw that in the games Fnatic was successful. It was all about Rek'Sai. It needs to be all about the early game, the Lee Sin, the Rek'Sai, the Elise for Broxah. Get his team ahead before Uzi can complete those 2 items and they can have the team fight that they want.
All right, we got a couple paths to victory, rather, for both of these teams. Now, keeping all of that in mind for our first quarterfinalists, or rather, let me start that one over. Keeping all these paths to victories in mind, it's time for predictions. Down the line, Frostgird, starting with you.
I'm going to go for RNG, but I actually think it's going to be a much closer series than I think a lot of people are expecting that. And like I said, I think Fnatic and RNG are stylistically very similar. I'm going to go 3-2. I think we're going to go the distance simply because someone's going to mess up. Someone's going to give, you know, a Galio or a Jarvan away, or maybe even Maokai makes his return, and we're just going to see these giant titans clash.
I'm going with RNG going 3-0 on this one. Even though the predictions for the past 2 days have been not good, today, when you look at and consider what happened to Longzhou against Samsung, it turns out that, in my opinion, Group B was a lot weaker than we expected. And this Fnatic is still the same Fnatic that went 0-3 in Week 1. I still see them, sure, they got those 4 wins at the end, but this is the same Fnatic that got 0-3, and I just don't see them beating RNG that was in that super strong Group C.
It is the same team, but we've seen how much adaptation can mean between groups and the quarterfinals, how much better Samsung, for example, looked, how much worse Longzhu looked, and how vulnerable even SKT looked. So while I do still favor RNG in this series, I think Fnatic does have ways in, and it's through the early game, it's through the improved performance of Soaz in week 2 of groups, it's through the early game aggression of Broxa, and to me, that will give them at least one game, and I think it's going to be a 3-1.
So I actually think we're nearing the end of adaptation here because a lot of it came from the bottom side of the map, and the early game junglers can matter a lot, but for the rest of the map, I don't think much more is to be added to the champion pools. And with that in mind, the same stylistic matchups or same style for both these teams, I just favor RNG even more because of that.
I actually have a couple of questions about the jungle, but I don't think we'll see it today. I think that's more for Cloud9 and Contracts to continue to evolve the meta, but I don't think we've seen the end of more of these range-style junglers.
And I mean, even things like the Caitlyn, which we thought was going to be such a big deal coming into quarters. Yesterday came out one game, but was not really that impactful in the series. You know, the Chinese teams like playing this lane dominant style. Reckless does as well. So something like that could really shake up what pick and ban looks like.
Well, something we'll have to track throughout the day. 73% of fans locked in RNG to take the series and face SKT in Shanghai alongside Mr. Perfect Bracket from the LAN. So you guys are in good company, having all of our bases covered for an RNG victory. Before we jump into the match, though, Cap shares his thoughts on what it's like playing against the crowd favorites in Guangzhou.
So I think this is the first time, probably, we have ever played a game where we weren't the favorites. I mean, not the favorites as in favorites to win, but the crowd favorite. It's always, it's also pretty nice, kinda, to be in the other side because you feel like you're playing to silence the crowd. You know, you're playing against everyone. It's not just you as 5v5. It's you against everyone, and everyone are hoping for them to win, and all the odds are against you, and it's definitely a fun experience.
Well, we'll find out if it's going to be a rewarding experience for Caps and Fnatic. Hello, everybody. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined at the caster desk by Joshua Jatt Leesman and reunited with Martin DeFischer-Lung. And hopefully we get another epic quarterfinal, gentlemen. I mean, we can only hope.
I mean, yesterday was amazing to watch Misfits go against SKT. And Fnatic, if they can take 1 or 2 games as well, maybe even the entire series, we will get that epic best of 5.
Yeah, and I really want to see what RNG does with Red Side because we've seen a few teams select Red Side here, and we need to see what they have planned with that choice.
And of course, RNG, side selection games 1, 3, and 5. As we get ready for picks and bans, gentlemen, what are we going to lean towards? The meta has seen a little bit of a shake-up and a shuffle once SKT and Fnatic, SKT yesterday was pushed off the Ardent Sensor by Misfits. Do you think that'll start game 1 that way, or will we ease ourselves into that, Jack?
Well, this is the fascinating thing about the Red Side choice, because in the group stage, Ming got to play Janna in 5 out of 6 games and Lulu in the other. Yet the evolution we've seen from this tournament is Janna and Lulu both being banned, which has then led at the very end of last series towards first pick Tristana. If that holds, picking Red Side means that they'd be willing to potentially give up one of those giant supports in hopes of a trade and not ban those things, but it can also mean a lot of different variables.
Yeah, exactly. Like on Red Side, when you have some of these last picks, in the first phase you have a last pick into 2 bans, and of course later on you have the last pick of the entire draft. If they want to suddenly counter pick for Xiao Hu in the mid lane to give him a good matchup, that's an option on Red Side. If they want to show us a new support pick from Ming that is not the Janna, again, on Red Side, you can counter-pick supports. And you can get things like Blitzcrank, Leona, these kind of champions.
Exactly, and with the Caitlyn that we've seen brought out by the other LPL teams to so much success, you can get more counter-picks when you're Red Side. It all depends on how many power picks you're willing to ban and also give over.
Now we also have to see if RNG are going to ban away the Janna here, because Fnatic are banning Lulu to try and say, ban Janna so we can first pick Tristana or Sejuani. RNG might have something else cooked up here and willing to trade the Janna for some of the power picks.
The Sejuani is also still a power pick on this patch. The one game RNG lost was when they did give up Sejuani over to G2 in the group stage. So this last ban has a lot of importance. Janna's still on the table. If they do not ban Janna, it's almost certainly getting first pick by Fnatic.
That means then RNG suddenly get a chance to lock in things like Tristana for themselves. There's still a Rek'Sai open. A key pick for Broxa, but also one of the best champions for MLXG.
I feel like this is probably Sejuani Tristana, but we don't know exactly what RNG has in store. We've seen Twitch games, we've seen Vayne games, we've seen COG games from him, but Trist has been supreme in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, they have to take Tristana. I think Sejuani is a smart choice as well, but that's okay for Fnatic to still then potentially take Rek'Sai for Broxa. And in the bottom lane, European AD carries like to take Sivir against this Tristana here, because again, you can just spell shield the bomb.
Boom, and I think that's exactly what Fnatic want to do in this situation. They were victorious on Sivir once before, plus they have the primo Ardent Sensor user for that mid-game power spike that they want to hit against this RNG team.
Also why we get the Gragas here for Broxa. Even though he's not a great engaged jungler, the fact he's on now a scaling champion, they already have Reckless as a late game win condition. All right, that's why RNG gave away the Janna. That's why RNG picked the red side, as we talked about, the chance of last picking for support.
And the bot lane counter pick, and they don't even have to do it in the second phase, so it means they're getting the bottom lane counter pick while still being able to save both of their solo lanes until after ban phase 2. With that being said, we haven't seen Soraka yet. If it was so blatantly a counter pick to the Janna, I think we would have seen a lot more of it.
Is this a big signal that RNG are fans of this Ardent Sensor meta? We'll find out as the series plays out, of course.
Yeah.
Shen has been banned away, and it's just interesting because backstage we were talking about what would Ming do if those primo supports of Janna and Lulu were off the table, and obviously Soraka's a gigantic answer.
Yeah, and there's still things like Karma and Taric if he wants other Ardent Sensor choices. I think Soraka is so interesting as a lane counter because, again, Janna doesn't really punish you in the laning phase, but I think Fnatic are going to be okay just farming in this bottom lane and not necessarily looking to actually try and kill this Soraka, unless we get a Broxa roaming down.
All right, gentlemen, we're entering into phase 2 now. Double bans for RNG on the table, Cassiopeia and Gnar. In terms of those top lane tanks and solo laners, where are we starting to think about?
Well, normally RNG wants led me on some sort of tank where he can be really strong in team fights. Cho'Gath or Maokai are the ones we're looking at. I prefer him on Maokai just because he adds engaged in for his team, but they already have Sejuani there, so they could still go for Cho'Gath.
Yeah, it's based on the Gnar ban. I feel like it telegraphs that Cho'Gath pick, especially with Shen being off the table.
Give me Trundle then for Source if he wants to actually try and take a carry. And yes! Caps actually wants to play Taliyah. When he played this champion in the EU LCS, he was so good on it. And then after 2 weeks, he was like, I never want to play this again. Once he played it, ever since, in play-ins, he took it a single time. Not doing Worlds just group stages just yet. I'm so happy to see him back on this champion because his job is to push out the mid lane and have the control so he can actually start roaming to either the bot lane or the top lane. That's what Taliyah brings.
Hey, that's something that we've talked a lot about. Xiaohu's strengths, controlling the mid lane, impacting the side lanes. He's going to reply with the Rise. I touched on this yesterday. 9 wins and I believe 18 losses at Worlds 2017. Not many teams have been able to pull this one off, Jack.
Yeah, it had some success in the play-in stage. It had some success when Faker's been playing it. Outside of that, it hasn't really found that much, but that isn't to say that it doesn't have strong points in the game. The mid game can still be an incredibly strong point in the match for Rise, but if he's up against double tank matchups in the super late game and the Trundle gets to ult the Stoneplate, Cho'Gath, and Sejuani, the Rise will fall off substantially. So Fnatic has the superior scaling come the super late game.
They should be able to kill the front line first. One thing we did see Faker and Blank do yesterday with the Rise was go mid lane early. Try and play around the instant snare you have. That's why there's a cleanse on the side of Caps at the moment. You can pop that cleanse and re-gank it if you are RNG, and you can try and get Xiaohu ahead.
And I think it's really important to emphasize that both teams, in a sense, opted in to these picks. RNG had side selection. They could have chosen the blue side. That probably would have drawn a Janna ban for Fnatic, and then they could have gone with the first pick of their choosing. But they wanted to play Soraka into Janna here. Janna probably the most successful support pick we've seen at the World Championship. So it's a bold move right off the bat for RNG.
76 win percentage on that Janna across Worlds 2017. Xiaohu has got 1 game of Rise under his belt already, and he picked up a victory with it. Will he start this best of 5 with another win? Guys, you can see the team compositions on your screens. Jump onto Twitter and vote if you think the results will be different to Pick'em's. 73% of the planet Pick'em selected RNG. We'll find out if they can make their run, if they can set up that rematch with SKT in the semifinals, because they know who they are waiting to face. Right, Tefisho, as we jump into game and we start looking at these lane setups here, there's a lot of power on both sides to make plays happen in the early game. Who's going to be the first to pull that trigger? Because there's a lot of options, right?
I mean, we always look at the junglers then, because just pure 1v1 and 2v2, no one should get a huge advantage against each other. MLXG, though, is not playing like the jungler we saw in the LPL, where he was so active early on, like level 2 ganks, level 3 ganks, creative pathing here. Instead, he's actually been much more relaxed in the way he's playing, and much more about vision from his side.
Yeah, he hasn't in my opinion, actually had very good early games in the group stage. He had first blood 70% of the time he would secure it for RNG during the summer split as well as playoffs, and he's gotten 1 first blood so far here at the World Championship, and that does speak to RNG's strengths in other facets of the game that they don't need to jump ahead early. But it is interesting how he hasn't been able to get first blood despite spending so much time near his lanes trying to add pressure.
And it's the really funny thing about this RNG lineup, because they went away from the very aggressive early game style we've seen so often. We get the numbers on your screen here. During the summer split, MLXG able to get more kills and assists in the early game, was part of a lot of first bloods for his team. Not been the case as you highlighted, Jack.
And what I love about watching MLXG, and we've been saying this throughout the tournament, is he feels like it's hard random what he does in the game. Will he start red? Will he start blue? Will he do a level 2 gank? Will he farm until 6? And he switches it up all the time, but for whatever reason at this World Championship, he hasn't jumped on that right pattern in the early game.
All right, no minions lost here for Fnatic. That is important in terms of the experience when you leash for your jungler. Ming on his first Soraka all year long. In the laning phase, Janna can't really touch her. You can't kill the Soraka, and it's just this farm game where the Tristana and Soraka will try and push you in.
Going to be a little bit non-interactive in the bigger picture. Some poke going down there from Ming as he's throwing out those star calls. And I tell you what, Guangzhou's excited with every spell cast. So we'll see whether or not the fan favorites will be able to step ahead. Going to spot out MLXG in his early pathing here, Jack.
Yeah, and when we talk about the way this matchup plays out as well, even though when you look at these teams, you see, oh man, Reckless versus Uzi, those bottom lane hyper carries doing so much of the damage. The lead in the bottom lane will come from the rest of the map. It will come from who has control in mid lane, and Fnatic is making that roam really early, looking to burn Flash.
Well, a lot of control in the mid lane already. Flash away from the seismic shove. But that's at least the summoner spell down for nothing on the side of Fnatic.
And this is another change for Fnatic. After they went 0-3 in the first week, they said, okay, Source is constantly just on a tank where he's losing his lane. They changed it up. They actually allowed Source to get a few counter picks in the top lane, and it allows Source also to have a bit more freedom. And we know he's also this kind of hard random player where all of a sudden he's in the mid lane or in the bot lane trying to make a play like we just saw here.
Yeah, he shoved in the top lane, and Deficio as well. When we were talking about how would Fnatic win this game, a lot of it is about getting caps rolling. So many people see this as Reckless's team, but one of the biggest indicators between victory and defeat for Fnatic is how Caps performs, and that is largely attributed to the attention that the team gives for him. You can see in that week 2 turnaround how much better his numbers were, specifically his damage percentage. In a tournament where other teams are winning without their mid laners having a high damage percentage, Fnatic needs that out of Caps to truly come together as a team.
And it also comes down to the picks he's getting. When he picks a Syndra, he can actually do really well in the laning phase. He can push and he can roam. Now on Talia, he's going to be able to do the exact same thing. This is why I've wanted Caps to play this champion again, because it fits Fnatic's playstyle. Push out mid and apply pressure to either top or bot lane.
Let's see whether or not Fnatic can make that advantage. They're falling slightly behind the gold game. Couple of CS advantage for Xiaohu and Uzi as it stands. Not really much to speak of. But of course, now that Xiaohu is flashless in the middle lane, going to give some more options to Fnatic, whether or not they want to set up any more ganks or whether or not Caps continues to shove that lane forwards.
Yeah, and with the Gragas pick, which Broxah has played twice in the play-in stage and not at all in the group stage, when the mid laner is flashless, you go mid. If Xiaohu can ever leave his turret by too much, Broxah should gank that lane. But that's where MLXG is right now, kind of prepping for that counter gank. And also, Caps doesn't necessarily have the wave in the right spot.
Oh, but it is pushing though.
And now it can be in the right spot of Caps ult.
Yeah. Patience from Fnatic here. Xiaohu as well playing it very smart. He knows his jungler is on the top side, so that's where he's hovering towards in case a gank happens. Now Source needs to be careful up in the top lane.
Gonna find MLXG face first. Respect Flash before any stun can come down.
I do find it interesting as well how RNG has played towards top side in the early game with where Xiaohu is cheating and where MLXG is pathing, because that technically gives away bot side control against this Fnatic team. And Fnatic will have a window where they would theoretically be able to punish this RNG bottom lane. When Caps hits level 6, when Soaz has teleport, since Broxah has ward control, they can maybe make something happen bottom.
He needs to go instantly. He's on a ward right now.
A little early.
No delay just yet. Broxah's still got flash available if he decides to. Howling Gale catches out Ming. He's already flashed with the body slam. Ricochet continues to fire down in the boomerang blade. First blood to Reckless.
It is so easy to gank a Soraka in the bottom lane, and Fnatic, they take full advantage advantage of it. Right here, we get to see this RNG team who's done this a few times in groups where when they have a passive bot lane, they don't go down to Uzi early. They just kind of wait for level 6 on their mid laner, and then they try and make a play here. Because, as you highlighted, Jad, MLXG spent his time on top side. Bot lane got punished.
Yeah, and that's a smart play from Fnatic. I was actually expecting them to wait until Caps was level 6, but because this Soraka pick is so defenseless when pushed up, you saw how early Ming used that heal that you just mentioned, Deficio. Even the flash away, thanks to Brox's patient, he still has flash on the Gragas if he wants to make the repeat journey.
Now Caps is level 6, so they can do the exact same thing again. Good use of the blast cone. The ward doesn't even matter because Uzi and Ming are pushed so far up in the lane, and it's a very easy kill for Fnatic.
A lot of credit to Jez's as well. That Howling Gale setting up the body slam and easily picked up by Fnatic.
Yeah, and a minor criticism there for Uzi. He was too close to Ming. He wanted to block the body slam, but the hitbox was a little bit too big. Still got the stun onto him. If Uzi positioned even further up, knowing he has the barrier flash and rocket jump, there is a chance he could have kept Ming alive. He does not, and that's another reason First Blood goes to Fnatic.
So Broxa on a scaling jungler, having 2 successful ganks already. Flash in the mid, secured by Xiaohu. It's still on cooldown. Will be up and available shortly. MLXG, however, he's also made 1 gank to the top lane. We'll see whether or not there's any repeat setup. But for Fnatic, this is a dream start to the opening game of the series.
Especially when you play against a team like RNG, who's been famous for their late game team fighting during this tournament here. It's been very impressive to watch them be slightly down or just even in the early game, and then they walk into the first team fight in the mid to late game and they just destroy the enemy team. They're looking to try and do the same here, but they need to make sure that Reckless does not get too fed. MLXG, he's back in the top lane.
This is such a difficult gank. Yes, the guy is flashless, but it is a Trundle who can ultimate. They're going for it anyway.
Okay, Subjugate and the heal's going to be available for Soaz. Starts to channel it now. The heal's coming in. Soaz down to Piero.
Already got him.
There's the stun, and MLXG gets the last hit.
Nice return gank here, but meanwhile in the bottom lane, there's no flash for Ming. He's under his own turret, placing that control ward. Caps is here, Brox is here as well.
All right, Ming has to be the target.
No
No wish available, no flash available. Locked between a turret and a hard place. Weaver's wall hasn't been cancelled yet by Caps as Uzi continues to hammer down. Reckless gets his second kill of the fight, and that's a knock-up onto Brox. So let me completed the teleport. Uzi's looking for at least some sort of reply, but cannot find it.
Very nice execution here from Fnatic. They expected a TP to come in, but they knew that Soraka would die so fast. So they completely ignored Uzi on the side and just walled in Ming here and took him down.
For Ming, there was really nothing he could do in that situation. Even with the teleport completing, it's just a clean gank from Fnatic. But the other clean gank was up top here. And note, the only way you get the double detonate on the Sejuani is if you hit him without your ultimate, break the ice first, then ult, break the ice again. That's how they were able to do enough damage to burn through the Trundle ultimate.
Now, not only do they get the kill here in the bot lane, they actually get the TP as well. That's a big cooldown for Fnatic because they can return to bot lane with the TP from Soaz. And as we just see Ming, not really a whole lot he can do in this situation, and no chance of a kill going the other way.
Well, very good play from Fnatic. They take the early lead of 600 gold. And one of the big discussions was that mid lane impact, right? The ability to roam, the ability to play around. And Caps already, with the help of Broxa, getting Reckless's ahead. Sorry, he's 2-0. He's got those Berserker's Greaves and can start to take over that lane.
And it shows that Fnatic have been spending the week very smart and actually figuring out, okay, which champions can we use to try and further snowball our bot lane against Uzi and Ming. There are other champions that Caps can pick. I'm just going to bring up the Aurelian Soul. It's an old stable from him that can do the same thing as a Talia. So the fact they showed this already in game 1 does tell me at least we're going in that direction for the series.
Well, let's see whether or not Fnatic can go into the mid game with a large enough lead and try to out-team fight one of the most impressive team fighting teams that we've seen in World 2017. RNG, Jet, they moved a little bit away from their style we saw from LPL, but this might be one of the best looking group stage performances of an LPL team that we've seen in quite a while.
Exactly, 5-1, beating Samsung twice, only dropping a game to G2. And they've done it with team fighting. Even though the perception is that they hard camp bottom lane, oftentimes Uzi's getting fed through team fights. Now they're attacking mid.
All right, there's a little bit of a skirmish here. Glacial Prison's available for MLXG. Rune Prison comes down from Xiaohu. And then just to forward step that seismic
Have the TP advantage.
Coming down from Soaz. Remember, Let Me cannot join this fight. The Glacial Prison is already thrown down. Flash from Xiaohu has been used. MLXG does not have one, but there's no follow-up from Fnatic, but Xiaohu's summoner spells used.
And they also roam Jez's up, which is giving RNG time in this bottom lane. So even though Reckless has 2 kills, if that first turret were to go over entirely to Uzi, they'd get the gold, but they don't get enough time. The collapse is coming down. They still don't have bot side control, and Uzi and Ming have to back up.
And I love that control here from RNG in the mid lane. They never went for the all-in. They never chased into the actual jungle. They knew there's a chance of a TP. Be ready to step away. Yes, they lose a flash and a heal, but this doesn't matter. You're winning top, and you're getting damage bot lane.
It's lane pressure has been the name of the early games for RNG. They have been an objective-focused team that is great at pulling the trigger in mid-game team fights. So yes, Fnatic did pull off some quality ganks in the bottom lane. That will be good later, but that is now 2 side lanes under immense pressure where RNG is getting turret damage.
And now you can use your Rise ulti as well aggressively here if Xiaohu decides to go down and secure this bot lane tower. For now, he steps back towards the mid lane. They know if Uzi and Ming are left in 2v2, they will get into this turret here and take it down, as long as there's no jungler around to actually kill them.
Just like that, RNG regain control of the game. They've got map control in the top and bottom lane. They've got a gold lead. Playing for the objectives is working into RNG's favor here.
And it's been some poor decisions around the top lane here from Fnatic's side. The very first gank MLXG pulls off, they knew he was on the top side because Xiaohu was literally hovering towards top side in his lane when he almost got ganked. That caused a flash from Source. He was on his way down to ward, and then he had to flash away. So he gets return ganked and dies, and now this TP was wasted as well. Cost him a top lane first tower.
And I think the teleport is so critical when we're thinking about how this map will play out. Top lane is already dead. The TP advantage can potentially counter what Fnatic want to do right here, but if they go right now, it would be relatively difficult to match this.
A lot of really good defensive wards from RNG though on the bottom side to see if any roam is happening. They even have a ward here just near the Raptor camp in case that is the route Caps is taking. So they're trying to make sure they can spot Caps before he gets too close to actually gank them, and they can then back away to the turret.
It allows RNG to play very safe as we've crested 12 minutes. Tia as well as that Catalyst picked up for Xiaohu, and these item spikes starting to come in. Ardent Sense already picked up in an early execution. Is falling there for Reckless.
They just hit the items they need to win the lane, and it's about whether or not they could make it back to the lane before the turret goes down. They did actually do that, which probably gives them total control in that bottom lane. Really huge for Fnatic if they can get Reckless side lane priority over Uzi. Uzi and Ming actually didn't recall. I thought they'd recall right then. That means they will not have sensor for this spike.
And we also have these very smart control wards now from Fnatic's side, actually in the river. We just saw Caps sit on the ward here, so he's close enough to go to the bottom lane unnoticed, and he can try and surprise Royal Never Give Up's bottom lane.
Yeah, and again, a little bit odd RNG playing so heavily around the top side when their bottom side is in dire need. They steal the blue buff away from Talia, but at what cost? How are they going to defend this bottom lane?
It doesn't look like they can. Jats is Uzi and Ming gonna get cut off. Caps can come in from behind with that Weaver's wall. Gonna step onto a control ward very shortly. Instead, Fnatic are focusing the tower.
Love where Caps was standing. He was not spotted there by that control ward because he never crested the side. That one sees him, but the turret is really difficult to defend.
And they're calling actually now Xiaohu and MLXG. They're both on the way.
Cho'Gath in if they want to go.
Cho'Gath also has Righteous Glory. He's pushing the top lane. RNG concede the tower. It's an even gold game, and Let Me continues to push.
We had all of Fnatic moving towards that bottom side. Source actually left the top lane to just start walking down in case a fight broke out. So he could be there without his own TP. He will return, catch the wave here, but obviously he's not able to take over the side lane just yet. He needs at least 1.5 items on this trundle, because Let Me is just sitting with a ton of armor. Let's see what happens bot lane.
Reckless with a cheeky recall. Spell Shield has already been used. Glacial Prison's available. Ground Warp's coming down. Jesus tries to reset the fight with Monsoon. Flashes blown. Reckless and Jesus get away.
You know what I hate? When people randomly recall out in the middle of the map. I'm like, come on. Just step a little bit further away. You don't have to recall right there. Play it safe. It just cost him both summoners from him and his support.
The risk that they're running if they take more time to recall, however, though, is knowing that Ming just went back for the Ardent Sensor, is that the turret will go down and they want it to be back for the defense. So it cost them right there with the summer spells, and now they're going for Uzi.
All right, there's a flash and a rocket jump available. Uzi's not going to be able to do a thing. He just gets Goomba stomped by Caps and Broxah.
I mean, who needs a bot lane? It's just Broxah and Caps alone here going down to kill the AD carry. Uzi not able to use his summoners to stay alive, and suddenly it's another kill over for Fnatic.
Yeah, and this game, it's been Fnatic playing around bottom side, not RNG playing around bottom side. RNG is split towards top side. Now they're trying to transition bottom. Broxah going in, MLXG and Xiaohu right there.
All right, Xiaohu sidesteps the body slam. That keeps him alive long enough to run away. Flash is back available for him, and Fnatic with the support, they now turn their attention to the middle lane. Okay, bottom outer is still alive in favor of Fnatic. Xiaohu playing very far forward, realizing the support from MLXG from behind him, and Ming was running down mid lane as well.
We actually get Uzi and Ming swapping to top side right now. They're gonna let me kill the tower. See what happens here. So Uzi still staying in lane, and suddenly Broxah and Caps are around.
He'd already rocket jumped over the turret. Wasn't close enough to the wall to get a reliable flash. Opts to save his summoners, but definitely cut out of position right there. Uzi knows there's not much he could have done.
So as we jump out of the replay, RNG secure the first dragon of the game. It is the Ocean. A little over 16 minutes, and we're now moving into this mid-game rotation phase, and both teams making it fairly clear, rather Fnatic making it fairly clear the bottom lane focus for them. They've got that Essence Reaver for Reckless, a number of repeat ganks, and Broxah, his jungle proximity, significantly higher than his opposing number. You know, RNG 10% difference in the amount of time that Broxah spent in that lane.
Yeah, and that's what Fnatic gains from that. RNG gains strength in the chokeout at this point in the game. Just saw Soaz ticking level 11 when Let Me was already level 12. He's a level and a half ahead of experience. He's also gotten turret gold the first time, and will most likely get solo turret gold on the second one. So there will be a point in the game here where Let Me has the Bramble Vest, the Righteous Glory, probably even another tank item, and Reckless is not going to be hitting that 400 CS or so Sivir where he starts doing relevant damage. So RNG is actually trading frontline power and also the ability to withstand the split push for much longer for reliability of power on Uzi, which is a really risky trade-off to make, but Fnatic has played this game well. RNG, I feel like, has at least been conscious in what they're doing. They've been punished by it, but Let Me is reaping the rewards.
I mean, they definitely tried to make sure that Let Me wasn't just losing from the get-go, but the fact now that we have a Ravenous Hydra on Soaz simply tells me that he's so committed to split push that if RNG, once Baron actually spawns, wants to start a team fight, it's going to be in their favor. They can walk towards the Baron with the Cho'Gath, start it up, threaten the Baron with the Feast, and Source will have to come in and join, and he's very squishy at this point here. We see a lot of Trundles go Titanic Hydra, so a little bit more powerful if there is a fight happening. Now he's very squishy and relies purely on his ulti.
Now we'll see whether or not he can find the right target. MLXG and Let Me to juicy target subjugate. We're getting to 20 minutes. First item spikes picked up, starting to work towards that second item, and both teams have kind of traded buffs fairly often throughout the series of this game as the control is so clearly defined. You know, RNG controlling top, Fnatic controlling bottom, for example, and you can see Reckless and Jazz is pushing that top tower.
Yeah, and at the current moment, the game is very close. So there was the expectation that Fnatic, who started the group stage 2 and 4, wouldn't be able to hang with RNG, who went 5 and 1. They are definitely hanging in this early game. Yes, they did get the Janna, but that's something that RNG willingly gave over to them. It's not like Fnatic did anything super crazy in order to orchestrate this pick, and they're playing to their win conditions very well through the first 18.5 minutes.
I was going to go down here, gentlemen. A couple more autos from Reckless, uncontested. I can see MLXG moving up, but Caps has Weaver's Wall available, so there's an option for a counter gank if Fnatic wants it.
And Fnatic have the same setup where Source, after pushing his bot lane past the river, he leaves and he goes towards mid lane. It's allowing Caps then to actually go towards the top side, while Source can hold the mid lane so they don't lose any damage on that turret. And Fnatic are always ready for RNG collapsing on the Reckless Jess's lane with multiple members around.
There's Herald. This is a big push. RNG's not in position. Uzi is slow on the rotation from the top lane.
All right, MLXG's waiting in the wings. He can come over the wall from the chicken camp, throws out that Glacial Frizz and catches only Broxah, but the tower has already fallen. So Fnatic get the objective, and they try to get away.
Good positioning right there from Broxah as the big tank in the front. He knows, okay, MLXG can come from the flank and try and ult towards us. And when you hit the Gragas, you don't really want to go all in on that one.
Let's talk a little bit about that itemization, because I really like that Executioner's calling. Picked up very early from Rick.
Oh, yeah.
To the Soraka. Good itemization. We've talked a lot about bad itemization during the group stage. And of course, this Ardent Sensor, both online, both this mid-game power spike for Uzi and Reckless.
And Uzi's also going to have to pick up healing reduction before the late game team fights to prevent Soaz from just ulting a Cho'Gath or a Sejuani in the late game and becoming absolutely untouchable. What's important to note here is the mid lane turret difference. Fnatic having it unlocked and RNG not gives Fnatic a lot of side lane pressure in the fact that they have access to the entire map. Trundle and Talia are both picks to try and get that side lane position, and it's going to be really difficult now for RNG to actually force fights on Fnatic, as Fnatic can just consistently keep these side lanes pushed in.
Fnatic love to play the 3-1-1 style, where you have your AD carry supporting jungler on one side of the map, you have your mid laner just sitting in mid lane, and of course you have then a top laner with teleport on the opposite side. So when they have this Talia, and why again I think it's such a perfect pick for them, Caps is able to always defend mid. He can wave clear so quickly, and then he can leave. He walks out of mid lane, and RNG have to call careful. He might go top, he might go bot lane, and it applies so much pressure.
Yeah, and we have actually seen RNG in similar positions like this in the group stage. They made some heroics happen and come back from it. Samsung versus RNG, the final game in the group stage, was somewhat similar to this, where they made very decisive teamfight calls and won. That makes us feel like RNG is super good at this and it's super safe, but it's not. If one of those team fights go wrong, Fnatic will win this game.
Well, we'll find out if it does. Shahu's got that Archangel Mr. Mask completed. Fnatic now being pressured. They're going to lose this tower if they can't clear the wave quickly. Hammering away with that explosive shot.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of teams hiding in that little brush here in the river. You just see at the top of your screen and hope someone face checks them, because it means you give over the entire mid lane to the enemy team. And RNG were like, we don't want to face check, we just walk straight down to your tower, and Fnatic needs to take a long route around to defend it. That was a lot of free damage in favor of RNG.
Okay, so even game as we're now past 20 minutes. We're moving this mid-game spike. There's a good front line for RNG. They've won, multiple team fights in the group stage to make it here as the #1 seed. Now we see how good Fnatic's team fighting is. Now we see how coordinated their map play is. We've broken down a lot of their tools, but for RNG, is this a wait for Fnatic to move, or can they force a team fight, something that they're extremely good at?
I mean, if they do want to force a fight, it's through MLXG. But there is the cleanse on Caps, which is very important. There's Spell Shield on Reckless, and there's then 2 tanks he can also hit, because Jess is going to sit far back in these fights. So it's hard for him to actually start and engage. That's why Baron is the key objective for them, because when you start this Baron, you force Fnatic to come towards you, and then you can turn and get your 5-on-5 team fight.
Yeah, and the fact that Ming played Janna in 5 of 6 group stage games means RNG hasn't really proven to initiate well on those matchups. I think it puts them in a very difficult position. Really have to watch whether or not RNG can kill Jessis. He probably has to be the first one to die in any of these team fights, just based off the strength we have seen from Janna team fighting so far here at Worlds.
All right, Caps' strength there in that little kerfuffle in the mid lane, putting a lot of damage onto MLXG, forcing them away. RNG will take their second tower again. This one's uncontested by Fnatic. And I'm looking at the vision in that top quadrant of the minimap. Fnatic pushing into RNG's jungle.
And I'm looking at the inventory, and I'm seeing some potions still, and I'm seeing a cloth armor as well. We need to see some control wards from Fnatic's side if they actually want to take over the river near this Baron and deny all the vision away from RNG's side. At the moment, though, they have Source sitting on the top side, pushing in, which means no one is actually bot lane. They're looking for a fight here.
All right, Soaz is the one that's been caught a little bit. Subjugate for by some time. Now Reckless zones away Uzi as Soaz buys so much time with that Subjugate. Fnatic have decided to come in. Broxah sends out the barrel. MNG forced to use the flash. Now Reckless continues to chunk down. The Pillar of Ice holds Demolition in place. Fnatic with 5-man stack. Take down RNG's jungler, and what do they do next?
Well, they made it very clear they wanted to fight because they moved Source up there with the team, and there is no healing reduction just yet, so Source able to get all the HP back even when he was tanking 2 members.
Yeah, it would be very risky to go for Baron, but it wouldn't actually be a defensible play if they wanted to try and go for another engage with Broxah still having flash. Looks like they're okay with just the 1 kill.
A big one is the fact that Ming had to use flash in the last fight. Just like you want to kill the Janna early, same thing for a Soraka in team fights. Gragas with body slam flash onto Ming. It's an easy setup for Broxah if he can actually get close enough. And that is where we got to see if Ming is positioning correctly.
Yeah, and watching this one more time, Shogath is down in the bottom lane with teleport the whole time, but RNG doesn't want to use it and make the slow call to disengage. I think this is a little bit perplexing by MLXG that he doesn't flash early, knowing the imminent threat that was arriving from the jungle. Uzi had already disengaged, but once he doesn't flash, they go for him. Now Let Me has arrived.
All right, Reckless just gets knocked down by Let Me. Didn't even need that teleport. Soaz, however, did. He's teleported in. Caps, no flash. And all of a sudden, RNG are peeling back towards the river, peeling back towards Baron. Feral Scream silences up Soaz. Will delay the start of Subjugate. Not long enough, though. The heal, the armor, the MR keeps Soaz alive. Not much longer. Glacial Prison pops him down. Uzi gets that fight. RNG, the fight they needed.
Fnatic had absolutely no vision on the bottom side, so Let Me, after pushing his lane, just snuck his way towards mid lane and surprised Reckless here. Their silence prevented the flash.
And the question is, what do you do after getting a pick? Fnatic recalled, RNG goes straight to Baron. Broxa has a chance to steal if they go for it.
It's got flash available as well as smite. The Gymnasium is on their feet, 1,000 HP. Broxa gets knocked away. Caps gets at least one kill on the way out. Baron secured. Flash out from Jesus. Uzi's going low. The Baron he gets one. Manages to rocket jump away. MLXG's trying to channel. Flash forward from Broxa. Gets the Baron. Oh, she's not done. But here comes Reckless. Flashes over the wall. Trying to chase down Levy. Shahu's running for his life. He took down Caps on the back end. All of a sudden, it's a 2-on-1. They return. Captures Reckless. And RNG kill Fnatic.
And suddenly RNG create the picks. They get the Baron here. Nice coordination, knocking Broxa away from that pit. No chance of a steal, and then they actually win the fight after.
RNG just keep executing, exerting their strength on their opponents, because macro-wise up until this point, Fnatic has been winning, but the vision gap happens, they go right for Reckless.
And Reckless right here does not use his flash, gets silenced, and his spell shield actually was not able to proc on anything because Let Me was smart, he saved his abilities.
And then watching this, they all get bursted down, but they hit Broxa back to prevent the steal, and then this fight is insane. Uzi stands his ground, moves forward, kills Jesses, gets the reset, hits the plan. Everything feels like it's planned. Then he still has flash after all of this to finally get the execute, and then to just have the icing on the cake. Let Me, the guy they have been funneling gold in the whole game, has just enough to turn this fight around.
And we have seen this before from the LPL teams. When their tank in the side lane gets to push out his lane, he roams mid, he goes mid lane. RNG did the exact same thing to G2, where they caught out Sven in the mid lane. Now they did it against Reckless and Fnatic. It turns the game completely upside down.
Oh, look at that gold graph. Back and forth, and just like that, RNG with Baron, a combined collection of kills is now 3,000 gold up, and they are in the driver's seat.
But this first game just sets us up for such a fun series when both teams are this back and forth here. Small mistakes suddenly gets punished, good outplays, and bam, your team might win the game.
But what RNG has been able to do is just continually win those team fights, and Xiaohu barely makes it up. Their team fight KDA is higher than anyone else at the World Championship. That was another fight that felt very arbitrary, very much like a 50-50, but they outplayed Fnatic in the moment, just like they've been doing all Worlds.
And Uzi made it look so good on the back end of the Baron fight. RNG sieging 3 lanes at once. Xiaohu escaped top, Soaz escaped mid, as RNG threw everything at him. They're going to secure their 4th tower of the game, and just take a quick look at the itemization. RNG, 3 completed items pretty much across the board, starting to steamroll Fnatic.
Reckless will soon get his 3rd fully completed item goal to try and match Uzi here, but Fnatic needs to just try and stop the bleeding at the moment. They haven't lost an inhib turret just yet. We'll have to surrender another tier 2 tower.
And RNG was able to force a fight around Baron, because that's something that draws Fnatic away from comfort. But actually killing turrets against Talia, Sivir, and Janna, let alone turret diving against Janna, is a whole nother level of difficulty. So yes, RNG has that 5,000 gold lead, but this game could be far from over.
So important though that Let Me finds a way towards mid lane. No wards on the bottom side at all. And then he walks in and he just delays every ability. He's waiting for the spell shield from Reckless. When it runs out, he silences. No chance of flashing the Rupture, then Reckless dies. Super smart play.
Yeah, it's so hard to play Cho'Gath, this very slow dinosaur-type champion, against the best players, and actually land your Ruptures. But he's gotten 2 Ruptures onto a spell-shielding Sivir, who gets extra move speed from the ultimate and from her auto attacks. So really cannot say enough how well Let Me played to make those fights happen, but also how well he's played this tournament. A lot of resources go to Uzi because he gets teamfight kills, but a lot of solo turrets and ganks from MLXG go towards Let Me because he knows how to use it too.
And it's hard to be a successful teamfight AD carry if you don't have a strong front line in front of you.
Exactly.
And that's been a big part for RNG in this tournament, even WE as well, where we start seeing these big tanks from the jungle and the support, jungle and top lane, sorry, be able to execute the teamfights properly.
Yeah, and speaking of proper teamfight execution, this is now a Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage Trundle, with Subjugate against a team that lacks healing reduction. Uzi's still yet to pick up that Executioner's Calling. So if Soaz can time the usage of a Gargoyle Stone Plate, his ultimate will be upwards of a 3,000 health heal on top of the resistances he steals.
Caveman versus Dinosaurs happening on our screen.
Poorly against Let Me. That ultimate is the tool for Soaz in teamfights.
Wanted to see the stats.
Yeah.
It's
How
a
much
test.
armor and MR do I get? Ooh, a lot.
It's a test, sending a message, just reminding him he has the power to do so. 30 minutes in, RNG, they've got themselves a 5,000 gold lead. It's 5 towers to 3. And the next dragon's going to be Elder. That's going to be up just shortly after 36 minutes. So RNG will just have another wheel, another cog that they can turn to force Fnatic to come face check. Maybe pull him away from that inhibitor turret, which is fairly easy to defend, as you've already said, Jax.
And no Executioner's Calling on Uzi is a big mistake. He opts for Lord Dominic's Regards in this game. Will not be able to reduce healing from Janna's ultimate, but the biggest one is their ability to kill Soaz. They cannot reduce the healing from the Trundle ultimate.
Yesterday, Huni's Trundle was unkillable, and it became pivotal as the game played out. Let's see if Soaz can do the same. As you mentioned, it's timing, and it's whether or not the team plays well.
Oh, I got him!
Shahu! He will not use the Realm Walk to escape. It's a 50-second death timer, but it might just be a stall tactic.
Shahu's tried this a few times now to go top lane, but honestly, at this point, he needs to be with the team because there is so much mobility on Fnatic. Catch him in the side lane. They didn't have pressure in other lanes, and Shahu just ended up dying here. Actually allowing Fnatic now to defend, but Reckless is still pushing out top lane. Wants to maximize farm here, while the rest of Fnatic are just defending bot side.
All right, let me. Gonna get some support here from MLXG. Comes in with the Righteous Glory. Redemption's already thrown down. Caps uses the flash. That might be important for the upcoming Baron siege. Uzi as well as Ming coming in from the side lane. MLXG now flashes defensively. So does Let Me. Rupture comes up. Wish is now blown. RNG continue to run away. Glacial Prism buys some time. Reckless trying to rejoin the fight. He's come from the bottom lane, but RNG, they managed to escape.
That was 4 versus 4 in the bottom lane at first. MLXG just wanted to force that flash from Caps, but then the quick turnaround, while Reckless was recalling, he was ready to fight, but he just wasn't there in time.
And RNG lost so much in that play. They lost flashes on both of their front lines and also ultimates almost across the board. Baron is up in 10 seconds right now. I thought maybe Fnatic would be playing around vision control after the pick onto Xiaohu. They do not, but they have burned some critical ultimates if they themselves want to start forcing around Baron.
And it's important now with these big fights here, when there are 2 tanks in the front from both teams, it's all about who can kill the front line first. If your team can't do that because there's a Trundle just healing everything, you gotta find the carries.
All right, gonna look for the carries now. Root down onto Soaz, he's silenced. He can't even get the Subjugate down. Here comes Let Me. The Rock is gonna catch Broxer. And Monsoon's buying some time. The heals are huge, but Caps gets chunked down. RNG with less flashes, with less ultimates, they get the kill.
And just as we talk about RNG finding the carries because it's so hard to kill the tanks, they actually get the engage here onto Caps. Talia being down is so huge.
Insane. They lose Wani flash, ult, Cho'Gath flash, ult for 1 flash, and you think, man, that trade's never gonna hit. But then they kill the dude whose flash was down and win this team fight hands down so they can get themselves the second Baron of the game.
And it's another time where it's the jungler or the top laner from RNG starting the fight here, getting the correct engage onto Fnatic. Makes everything easier for RNG's carries when it comes to finding the correct target.
What does this mean for Fnatic now? They've got to defend against Baron-empowered minions on multiple lanes. Yes, there's always that Sivir 6-item 700 CS win condition, but it feels so much more monumental against this RNG squad who are just such on a great page at Worlds.
One minor thing, Reckless finally completed the last Whisper, which will help substantially in dealing with Let Me and MLXG. We'll see if that has a difference in this fight.
And it might be their 500 CS win condition on Fnatic side. There is the 500 CS win condition of Uzi on RNG side here. And we know in these team fights here, he's able to carry.
He's already proven at the Baron. Uzi, though, ignoring the Fnatic champions as best as he can. Brock trying to threaten some sort of engage, but look at the inhibitor turrets. They are being chipped away and chunked down. RNG, the ebb and the flow, moving forward, back away. Rune Prison buys some time. Let Me is getting chunked down, but he's still got 1200 HP. He's used everything. Let Me gets killed by Caps. Fnatic have bought some time against the Baron. Empowered will never give up. Caps jumps up a little bit early. He gets dropped, chunked, and killed by RNG. Soaz continues to chase forward, but he's got no support. He's got no damage to back him up, and the Weaver's Wall, I think, even locked Fnatic out of the chase.
And Caps trying to make a huge play to cut him off in the jungle, goes face first into an 80 carry, and the advantage they they had by picking Let Me is gone. Turret still goes down for RNG, and they end up trading kills in the fight.
We've seen this quite a lot today here. Fnatic gets one kill, and then RNG gets a kill in return, or the other way around. Both teams are still trading a lot in these big team fights here. But Uzi, he wants that tower.
And the difference has always been what happens after the fight. RNG getting objective after objective. In the 1-for-1, they get 2 turrets and an inhibitor.
Teleport's available for Soaz, but he's left the base trying to defend. Pillar comes down, insta-rocket jump from Uzi. And at the end of the second minute of Baron,
going straight for
RNG,
Elder.
They grab themselves the inhibitor. They start off the Elder. Quite frankly, Fnatic are too far to contest.
Again, this is what we see from RNG during this tournament here. They have a lot of control on the map. It's a lot about objectives, about vision, denying vision from the enemy team. It's not just force team fights left and right 24/7. There is behind the things they're doing. This engage here from Fnatic is actually okay. It's like, we can't defend topside. Let's just get a kill and push this Baron team away from our base.
Yep. They get the start on Let Me, and now the front line is removed, so they think, okay, let's collapse. Caps goes straight for Uzi, and he's like, wait, maybe I shouldn't have done that so quickly. If he waited maybe another 4 seconds and could have arrived with Soaz, there's a chance that works. Far too ambitious at the moment.
That means he gets dunked down. Jack, look at the damage difference from that previous fight. Uzi, of course, starting to take off. And RNG, they've now got, I mean, they've had control for a fairly lengthy period of time in this mid to late game. And with Super's middle and an exposed inhibitor top, there is literally no room for error for Fnatic. They've got some teamfight power, but they can't afford to keep making these mistakes.
Oh, and right now Caps is only sitting on 3.5 items as well, because he's not getting the farm. It's Reckless, of course, grabbing these big waves for himself. So the Sivir is very soon on 4 items. Caps still need quite some time. That was a big hit.
Soraka all being used by Ming is pretty huge right there. They thought it was going to be an all-out Fnatic initiation. One minor thing that really does empower these RNG seeds is they have double Ocean Drake with a Soraka. So if any of their front line get low but do not die, Soraka heals them up, Ocean Drake heals Soraka up, and then everything is absolutely fine after about 20 seconds. So it makes it even more critical that Fnatic find the definitive initiation where they're getting the last hits on champions.
And it doesn't look like Fnatic are going to have some options here. Look at this, RNG, 4-man stacked down bottom. Xiaohu with his Hourglass and Realm Warp. He takes down the inhibitor uncontested. Now he's got the ability to escape the Rise combo that has been popularized here at Worlds. And he's not even going to get chased because no one else from Fnatic can chase him.
And he's the man with the Elder Drake buff. He doesn't need to run away from Source. He can easily turn around and kill him. Fnatic once again trying something.
All right, Seismic Shove comes down. Let Me as well as Uzi get caught by that Pillar of Ice. Not really a lot of follow-up. The Equinox from Ming zoning away, and RNG have just got so much disruption in team fights between the Soraka, the Sejuani, and that Cho'Gath. Fnatic cannot find their way in.
Yeah, and now no Sivir ult if they want to go for more. Broxa has his ultimate up in about 15 seconds. That will probably be the next time they would try for something. It's going to be very difficult to hold this next wave of minions, though, because RNG has Rise in the base to hold flank position and super minions crashing from the top side.
A huge minion wave coming down. Fnatic on the verge of losing the first game here in this best of 5. The early game looked so good, but it started to fall apart when the RNG team fighting machine started to steamroll to 10,000 gold lead. Silence comes down onto Caps. He can't get any of those volleys threaded through the RNG lineup. Xiaohu, there's the combo. Round warp into Hourglass. It just buys time. That's all Fnatic had. Caps almost gets insta-give, and he does. Flash forward feast from Let Me. Now it's a 5v4, and RNG chase all the way in. Good damage onto MLXG. Not going to be enough to stop him, though. Reckless to try to put the ricochet across, and Guangzhou, China erupts in RNG chance. The third inhibitor falls, and RNG might be setting sights on the Nexus.
Again, they're in full control. They're just waiting for some super minions coming into the base here. Caps step for another 30 seconds. Uzi with the damage on Tristana to take down these turrets very quickly.
And no Caps in this fight, still down for 26 seconds. Unless RNG fully dies, they're going to win the game.
Oh, they are indeed. Broxa, the Buster shot, ends up saving his life. Jez is forced to flash defensively. Soaz puts down the Pillar of Ice. MLXG is getting chunked up by Reckless, but 2 shots from Uzi. Drops 50% of his HP. The Nexus turret is going low, and RNG cannot get through the wave clear.
The Sivir wave clear is insane. The unlimited as long as it is in range to jump to a new target means Reckless is the one guy who can clear 3 waves of super minions. Any other champion, except maybe Azir when 3 inhibs are down, means it's over. Not against Sivir, though.
See this fight again here. Xiaohu, of course, using the defensive ult, and then it's a big crit onto Caps. and let me seize an opening to just flash in and eat him.
Yeah, the second moment in the last 10 minutes where Caps has gone overly ambitious in trying to defend. They could have sat back, ricocheted the wave, moved Reckless, continued that defensive pattern, but Caps went for the big play, missed, and paid the price.
That last fight here, Uzi actually valued trying to kill Broxa and then finish the game instead of just taking down whatever turrets he could in front of him. He knows there's still so many super minions coming into his base. There's another Baron now being picked up by RNG.
And gentlemen, this is truly the EU meta. ZZ Rot Portal in the bottom lane for defense. A Sivir farming under 3 inhibitor win condition. I feel like I see an EU LCS more than many other regions. And let's see if Fnatic can pull a rabbit out the hat, because truthfully, they need a miracle. They need some mistakes from RNG, or that massive play, the seismic shove that shuts down Xiaohu or Uzi. If one of those damage dealers go down, somehow, that's how Fnatic can at least push this base wave out.
And the initiation is so hard for both teams to actually get that clean team fight, which is why we've seen most kills be either baits or missed positions. Fnatic has tremendous wave clear. It's really going to be put to the test here, though. 2 waves of super minions and the team positioning in the mid lane. That's a double stack. Bottom side, they're going for the initiation right now.
All right, let's see if any kills can come down. Let me, the wish will buy some time. Monsoon gets a full channel from Jesus. He throws down the feast onto Broxa. Xiaohu's been able to be engaged. Broxa looks for the body slam onto Let Me, but here comes
so much healing.
The seismic shove out from Let Me. All these supports, all these heals, all the help for days. The inhibitor focuses. Uzi turns his attention to the structure, and RNG once again get the inhib.
So Arca here making sure that the Cho'Gath just cannot die in these fights, and suddenly it's RNG turning it around.
Actually a raid boss, now back at full health because he can complete that part to finish.
And there's a healer healing the boss.
Again.
Oh, how do Fnatic stop this? Howling Gale buys just a few seconds. Baron, empowered minions, comes down. The Nexus turret is caught. Uzi forced to flash, manages to escape with his life. Barrier still available. 1 Nexus turret remaining. Sejuani engages but doesn't find the CC yet. Jesus is slow, reckless, spamming the minion waves. He's trying to clear it out. The Nexus turret is the focus, but still survives. 200 hit points.
RNG just needs to hit the tower, kill the tower here, so the Nexus is open, but they're so afraid of Fnatic.
Yeah, track the flashes. Almost all of them are down right now. It means the next time if Uzi does get hit by a seismic shove, QSS flash is not available, but they're just waiting on the minions. The inhibitor's back up. They will have 3 waves shortly. The double ocean drakes as well doing.
Got the minions now. We have Uzi moving down as well. Let Me towards the turret. Uzi needs a few hits on it. There's one.
Not going to get it just yet. The tower still stands. The minion wave is being cleared out. It's a last hit there from Xiaohu. The Nexus is the focus. On the hunt is used by Fnatic. Can they defend the base? Can they do it again? They're trying to push. Royal, never give up away. Here comes the empowered minions. Broxa is stunned up. MLXG's going low, but Lefty's looking for a target. Monsoon resets the fight. Everybody's healed up. Broxa is pushed away with the buster shot. Where is Reckless? He can't get the damage down yet.
No, the
Nexus going out. Spellshield buy some time. RNG looking for the kills. Turn the attention to the Nexus. They're looking to kill the Nexus. And Royal never give up. Win game 1.
And the final push over the last 2 minutes showed 0 champion casualties, and I think that is indicative of the way RNG has actually been winning these games. They focus on the turrets, they do just enough to get that small advantage, and then they take it home. RNG up 1-0.
And we talk a lot about the team fighting, but this game here went in favor of RNG when Let Me on the Cho'Gath, moved to the mid lane, caught out Reckless, and then straight towards the Baron. That was the first big objective secured, where RNG really started getting a big gold lead.
And that last fight, as you guys mentioned, all of the healers, all of the tanks, Reckless, just a quick stat, dealt over 15 damage to champions inside his base during the course of that siege.
And got 0 kills.
And 0 kills. It was not enough. But what an exciting start to the series. The early game for Fnatic was good. The team fighting strength for RNG was good.
Yes.
The expectations playing out as we expected.
I mean, kind of, yeah. There are, of course, things both teams can look at. Like, Fnatic need to invest way more into their own vision.
Yep.
Like, there are multiple times where they have 1 or 2 control wards on the map, even when they're actually ahead and trying to pressure down RNG. And that suddenly you have these openings where you don't see anything, and you might get surprised. But again, great team fighting. And Soraka in the late game, Janna in the late game, they're both so valuable, and we got to see that in these fights.
It really did. And heartbreaking loss for Fnatic in their base, but RNG, they showed up. So to get their thoughts on how game 1 played out, let's send it to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Game 1 was to RNG, to the cheers of thousands of fans here in the arena. But Crumbs, Top of the day, we were celebrating the removal of the Jannas, the Lulus, the Ardent Sensor supports, and then Fnatic and RNG, they drag us right back down into it.
They had to chaperone the party, bring it back, Ardent Sensors, and with Soraka, but the Soraka at least is an answer to the Janna, right? You have the healing power, which is one of the weaknesses of Janna. She typically in lane can't really withstand that, and she does open herself up to be punished by ganks, which was what happened.
I mean, typically we see the red side team having to respond to the Lulu ban with the Janna ban. RNG opting to leave it up says that this was a planned strategy. Go ahead and take the Janna. We have the answer to it.
Yeah, the trap card was laid there, and we even saw Aframu getting a bit vocal on Twitter. He's like, finally, someone has recognized that Soraka does very well into Janna. The problem is that paired with Tristana, like you said, they're going to be pushed. They need to be taking aggressive trades, so they're going to be forward and expose themselves in that lane, and that led Broxah to be very active.
That's exactly what you were talking about at the top of the day, Azale, the importance of Broxah in the early game if Fnatic's going to get anything done.
And I think he actually had a fantastic early game. You know, it started in the mid lane, forcing out summoners there. Then I think he handles this gank so incredibly well, not even expending his flash, holding his body slam until after Soraka uses her flash, and he can hit both. So this really was a fantastic gank, and again, getting back down to the bot side, continuing to press this advantage, attack the Soraka, whose weakness really is in these sorts of chaotic all-in fights.
So I think Fnatic had a good early game, but just not good enough. With the composition that they have, I feel like they are pigeonholing themselves in a position where they have to be so incredibly active. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for them to handle RNG into the late game. We saw in the later fights, they were just unable to kill anybody from either side. You got the Soraka, such a nightmare to deal with. The wave clear was really all that saved them, and it just doesn't seem like the style or the champion for Broxah to go with Gragas and expect him to bring enough to the early game to surpass the RNG comp.
I kind of disagree. Like, I see what you're saying, but in this case, I actually felt like he did get enough done in the early game. I think that their failure was much more around vision, was much more around the mistakes getting picked off. Both times that led to the Baron was, you know, Cho'Gath running out with Righteous Glory the first time, killing Reckless. Second time is a TP from behind. And I feel like if you don't have those major mistakes, if you don't give over, you know, multiple Barons, the Elder Dragon as well, you can actually hold in your base. And I just felt like they were playing from too far behind. Because
I get a response from
So
Frost
I also
and then
think
Frost.
that the aggression was good, but they gave way too much, especially top side. Had they not lost that top turret of the roam from SOAS and then the teleport, I think it would have been fine. But committing so much without defending yourself for what RNG can do was, I think, their undoing.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I just wanted to piggyback on. It's about sacrifices. If you're all going bottom, it was SOAS, unfortunately, who suffered. And he also put himself in a situation to constantly try to put caps ahead. It wasn't just the bottom lane. I think there were 3 to 4 ganks where finally Fnatic found where the mid lane was on the map, tried to unlock that Talia early and allow him to then roam around the wall effectively.
And I think you guys make a good point, you know, if you're talking about the trades in the top lane versus that. But to me, that was less about what Broxah was doing and more about the fact that, you know, the TP from Trundle came mid lane, got nothing out of that. That led to the first turret going down. So I still think that Broxah had a very strong early game.
I mean, at the end of the day, you talked about these two teams stylistically being team-fighting teams, that's ultimately where we're going to see the matchup swing one way or the other. Well, we got our team fight in the mid-game at 25 minutes. Mid lane, RNG coming out on top, 2-0 and a Baron, brought to you by Acer Predator.
And Deficio talked about how it was the pockets of fog of war, you know, that vision going dark that allowed this to even happen, that RNG ran out of the darkness, found Fnatic with their pants down, and it is just about these big 5v5s. And this is my trepidation about RNG. Yes, they look very impressive, and when people look at this game one, look at that gold difference, they'll be like, wow, RNG just smashed Fnatic. But the early game was controlled by Fnatic almost entirely, and if RNG don't get these team fights, they do not win this game.
Yeah, I certainly agree, and that's why, you know, I was talking about vision as well. Deficio was mentioning it. I was super disappointed when you actually looked at the inventories. About 30 minutes into the game, we have Broxah sitting on a cloth armor with no pink wards. We have Reckless sitting on a Doran shield, no pink wards. We have Caps sitting on a Doran's ring, no pink wards. And he talked about, oh, well, there's only 1 or 2 pink wards out on the map. That's because no one else could even pick them up because they have this crap in their inventory that is actually not allowing you to get the pink wards, which are so integral to controlling vision and denying those team fights. As you're talking about, Frost, you can't give this over to RNG and expect to be able to...
I mean, that fog of war is basically so much that you're in Silent Hill at this point. You got to walk in, and who do you have that can actually go in there? You got Reckless that has to flash over. He actually had vision of that play, by the way. He knew where Ryze was and chooses to spell shield.
And isn't that just telling, though? The looks on both of those faces, right? We talked about emotionally driven players, emotionally driven teams. Yes, Fnatic was the one to run it back. too. But the fact that they were even in that position to begin with says something about the importance of Game 1 in a best-of-5 series between these two squads specifically.
And I have no doubt that the momentum is going to be great for RNG, but I don't think the defeat is going to stumble at Fnatic. You take a step back from that game, and it's very clear to be like, okay, we got cut out at this one point. Don't do that. We had a great early game. Broxer was playing well, Caps was getting resources, and Reckless got first blood. So I think it's very easy for Fnatic to just shake this one off.
I do think they can shake it off, but I feel like the fundamentals in vision and the communication was just so lacking that, sure, they might not be tilted, but I find it difficult to see a team in the best-of-5 change so very basic of ideas and just apply it to Game 2 and the upcoming ones.
Well, Game 1 goes in favor of the LPL team. We've got Game 2 of RNG versus Fnatic coming up after the break. Before we go, when all seems lost in an intense game, look for that clear call that could push your team to victory. Recognize sometimes looking for your squad's way back into the game is all you need to turn the tides.
我觉得 Fnatic 从2杠4晋级，大家都可能觉得是个奇迹，但是我觉得他们走到现在完全是用光了自己所有的运气，尤其是8强碰到我们，我觉得他们可能会打得特别艰难。然后呢，我会跟我的队伍用绝对的实力把这个如果的可能性降到0的。
Welcome back to Game 2 of RNG versus Fnatic, where we welcome Max Lord to the analyst desk. And I personally want to thank you for one of the most exciting series of League of Legends I've ever seen in my life just yesterday. That said, your EU brethren on stage right now looking to take down the hometown favorites in RNG, down a game. What are the problems that you may have identified from Game 1, and what would you look for them to change here in Game 2 to come away with a victory and start that ball rolling?
Well, it's kind of interesting how the meta has actually evolved in the quarterfinals, like pick ban, because starting from Samsung, they've always first picked Sejuani, and it just seemed like Sejuani was really strong, 100% win rate in that whole series, but it was actually, in fact, the fact that they had Tristana, and no one really saw that coming, and in our series, we didn't recognize that kind of, and SKT did, and they first picked Tristana and they won, so the meta yesterday was seen as Tristana was Giga OP, and this is, of course, including Janna banned, right? And today, open, RNG left Janna open, and actually baited Fnatic into picking it because they had a counter pick ready. They took the Tristana and Sejuani, who are both really good picks right now in both their respective roles, and then they picked Soraka, which is apparently really good into Janna, and they almost got the 2v2 tower bot lane, so that was really interesting to watch how like the meta is just keep on shifting. People are bringing new picks to counter whatever people are going to come up with. So right now for Fnatic, it's like, I believe they need to, they're blue side again, and unless they play Soraka, maybe they need to ban one of Janna and Tristana, because if they leave both open, maybe they, like, RNG pick the Soraka into the Janna again, or maybe Tristana, like, just doesn't play Soraka into Janna, so they're going to get Janna Sejuani, stuff like this.
Yeah, it's clear that RNG are incredibly confident to give away the Janna. I don't think Fnatic will fall for that trap this time around, though. I think we are going to see more of that shift, that Sejuani priority, because MLXG also got his hands on such a powerful team fighting champion.
It's interesting, though, because, you know, what ban do you actually drop, right? Because if you think about the bans if you're red side, you know, it has been pretty standard. You always have to ban Kalista, and then you kind of get 2 more. Fnatic blue side banned Lulu, Galio, Kate as their first 3, right? So what would you drop if you're trying to add in a Janna ban to that, if you're trying to actually mix it up? Because all those champions have shown to be pretty problematic, and we know that the LPL style AD carries like to be lane dominant, so if you leave that Kate open, you could be getting kind of countered in lane by that as well.
We don't have much time, but couldn't you drop the Lulu ban and just take that Tristana first and say we'll take either Lulu or Janna?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
That's exactly what SKT did, or you start to open up other AD carries like the Xayah.
All right, well, it's clear that with Fnatic choosing blue side yet again, they think they have the answer to what RNG did to them in Game 1. Let's go ahead and send it over to the casters to get us into Game 2.
Thank you very much, Dash. We're about to find out what Fnatic's answer is. Deficio and Jet with the blue side selection. Hearing what the analyst has just said, where do you think we're going to see some of these pivots, Deficio?
I mean, in the first ban phase there for Fnatic, the Caitlyn ban, I think they can actually drop, and then they can ban away either the Soraka if they want to first pick Janna, or just remove both Lulu Janna. It doesn't feel very good. The problem is if they don't ban any of them on blue side, RNG will have the last ban in that first phase, and they can literally just ban the Lulu and have the same Janna for Tristana trade we saw just before.
And I actually don't think it was a huge issue for Fnatic in draft last game. I thought it was more about the macro decisions that RNG made after 25 minutes that got them the victory, because Fnatic played that early game very well. I think getting Janna was good. They were able to gank the Soraka and get ahead, and yes, it fell apart in the late game, but I think them opting for blue side again when they have the choice instead of RNG has the choice speaks to a confidence that they have in their blue side draft phase.
I mean, and they should. Again, it's okay to change one ban around and then maybe try and first pick this Tristana here for Reckless. I think the only problem for them in the last draft was that they had 2 side lanes to play around. They wanted to get this Trundle rolling top lane, and they also wanted to punish the Soraka on the bottom side. Sadly, Broxah can't be both places at the same time, and we saw it was RNG who went top lane, shut down Source, who didn't have much of an impact in the game.
And I think it's also important to mention that while Fnatic were in the lead and sort of dictating the pace of the early game, RNG was still taking advantages. You know, they almost got that bottom tower away from the Sivir combination with Janna. I am hearing from production that there is just a small water spillage.
Water issue.
Yeah.
So we will
Xiaohu spilled water. Classic NA move on the desk. Still haven't instituted sippy cups on the
Never happened in Europe, I believe.
Oh, why do you got to say that, dude? Why are you going to say that?
I'm just
what does that matter right now?
I'm saying our players do not spill water.
irrelevant. At this stage, let's turn our attention back to the decision-making, because I was fairly impressed with RNG. You know, they got that tower in the top lane. Soaz roamed multiple times from his lane in a matchup that he was pretty comfortable in and whatnot. Like, Fnatic put a lot of resources into getting that Sivajana ahead.
That's kind of thing, like, I agree with Jet that execution was the main issue for Fnatic, because there were also the early ganks where Soaz doesn't respect Sejuani being there. He has to flash early, then he dies to the return gank, waste TP mid, and there were definitely some for Fnatic to fix. And what you can do going into game 2 is, if you feel like it was just execution, you can go in with the same game plan and try the same sort of draft. It's rare you get the exact same thing, but it is some teams like to do that if they feel like, oh, we had this game in the back, we just need to change this one thing in-game, and then we're okay.
Yeah, the last time I remember it happening was actually the finals of MSI 2016, where SKT and CLG did the salty run back.
Yep.
It rarely works, actually, to do that run back. Even though you feel like you had that good chance, you were still the loser in that game, and the other team's going to be even more confident going for the same strategy. And especially when I look at the way RNG plays, constantly using the word strength in what they're talking about, because they like to overpower people and outplay them, and the fact that they were able to do it once will only embolden them to do it again.
So let's step back and talk about the team sort of holistically. We had a lot of expectations and assumptions on what Fnatic could do. Fnatic, pretty heavy underdogs in this series. You know, RNG, we felt like they had answers. What do we think of Fnatic's decision-making and their playstyle? We've already talked about some of those mid-game mistakes, but there was some good plays from Broxah, which, you know, caught me a little off guard on Gragas, the champion, which wasn't expecting him to look as good on. You know, what do you think about the rest of the team and, you know, the strength that Fnatic brought in game 1?
Yeah, I don't think it comes down to individual performance. It's as a team in this game here where they're not investing in control wards enough, so they're not actually really denying any vision away from RNG. RNG, basically the entire game long, knew where Fnatic would be on the map. So RNG, who then found these holes in the vision from Fnatic's side and used it to actually create that pick in the mid lane from Let Me. That surprised him.
Sorry to cut you off. I am hearing we have a replay ready for you guys that I would like to ask Jat and Deficio's ability to analyze.
The lid wasn't on. That was the big mistake. It just came right out.
Do you blame him for not double-checking that before drinking, or was it a mistake before?
On the bright side, it does mean we have a culprit, right? Whoever prepared the drink can now be penalized. Now that action replay is broken down.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with those cups. Like, for instance, if I have a water right here, I guess we don't have the camera for him, but you can check if the lid is on before you, like, turn the water over.
But he's focused.
But
he's very focused on the game.
I really hope it wasn't like hot tea or something like that. We are busy checking the keyboard. We are busy checking all of the electronics and making sure they're working. Once we're confident and comfortable that Xiaohu's ready to play game number 2, we will jump into this one. But, well, there's a first. I've never had to break down a replay.
Clearly the lid.
It's a quarterfinal,
yes,
guys.
It is.
We got to replay, you know, when stuff happens.
This was not a mechanical problem. This was a preparation problem. It was a setup problem.
Pick and ban problem.
There we go.
I mean, some of the problems Fnatic had in the game as well. Clearly not preparing their own vision setups. Also not ready for some of these Baron plays we saw from RNG side, where they actually managed to catch up Fnatic. And another thing we have to highlight is that Fnatic actually tried to defend pretty well, and often got like one kill to stall the game, and then right after, they tried to make another play, and that backfired, especially caps on the Taliyah. It happened a few times, and it actually allowed RNG to just continue the pressure.
And that's what allowed RNG to win game number 1. So I believe we have resolved the issues on stage. We'll be jumping into picks and bans. Lulu, Kalista out the gate. Now we see if Fnatic are going to pivot.
That's the biggest thing. Where is the deviation? So far, it is 3 for 3 on the same bans. The next 2 for RNG, if they keep it the same, is Xayah and J4, and the final ban would be Caitlyn. We're expecting, if there is a change, for it to be the Caitlyn.
If they change anything, it is that last one. But no, they're actually happy enough going for the same kind of style. Now, will they take Tristana and have their own answer for the Janna? Or do they take Janna again and say, we don't actually care about that Soraka, we can gank it again?
I think RNG should ban Johnny here. I don't think that actually, the lane counter of Soraka, I don't think that actually played out the way they want to.
Oh, okay.
Which means they're leaving J4 up. So if the Janna goes through, this means that they want J4, and they're daring them for a Jarvan Janna trade.
But it's also RNG here trying to predict that, Fnatic, you're going to pick Tristana, we're going to take Janna, and you're going to pick Karma against it. So they very early on used this, basically a free ban, to actually get rid of what they thought would be one of Jess's answers to it. So now it is Fnatic back on the Janna.
This is so interesting because it's close to the run back, but they're saying, okay, if these guys went blue side, surely they wouldn't want to go for exactly the same team composition. How do they mix it up? And also, they guessed the Janna priority would be higher than the J4.
I do think, though, Fnatic, actually, if they want Sejuani here, can be pretty happy with it. I like Janna against Jarvan in general, because Jarvan can't really get to your backline easily.
But I also think if you're preparing against Fnatic, Sejuani is not Brox's bread and butter. The only champions he won with in the group stage was Rek'Sai and Elise. They're going to go with the Sejuani anyway.
Yeah, nor is the Jarvan. 2 games played this year for Broxa. Not one of his preferred champions or preferred picks. Going to lock in that Sejuani. Had a good early game on that Gragas. And do we see the Civil once more, much like game 1?
Well, let's see actually what they're currently looking at. A Jinx for Reckless. We know he wants to be on a champion where he can either win lane or win the late game team fights. This will be towards the late game. Okay, more Vayne.
So this is the 3rd Vayne of the World's 2017 group stage. We've seen Rage play first twice.
I would be happy to see Soraka again, and you just perma-push that lane and you take an early bot lane tower.
This is bold by Reckless as well. Uzi was the first one to bring it out. Vayne was Reckless's pick years ago, but I agree with you as far as the early lane shove. How does Fnatic get control of that lane? It is a magnet for Broxa to come bottom side, because yes, they're going to push up with the Tristana and the Soraka, and no, Fnatic will not be able to keep up with the push, but that will put them in gank position.
I'd like to see Fnatic get rid of the Cho'Gath, because now we know they want to play around bot side again, because they got to stop the perma push from RNG. If they give the Cho'Gath again and have the Trundle as an answer, well, then they suddenly also have to play around Soaz at the same time, and they won't be able to do that. They have to pick just one lane they can focus. Get rid of the Shin, clearly respecting the fact that RNG might pick that one and just go full-on bot lane style.
All right, let's find out what the next 2 bans will be. Fnatic, if they can keep it simple, maybe they can open up an opportunity here. In the previous game, it was the Gnar and LeBlanc to close up phase 2.
Yeah, I think it should switch to Cho'Gath. I'm with the Fishio here. Vayne needs to get fairly close range, and with the way Let Me was farmed last game, he'd be able to ignore that straight away.
Gnar is open now, though, and it is a bit easier for Source to avoid ganks on that champion if he's left alone in the top lane, in case it is still the Cho'Gath first pick coming in. RNG waiting to see if Fnatic gets rid of the LeBlanc from Xiaohu.
And despite some early deaths on Soaz's Gnar from the group stage in that tiebreaker match, he came back in the mid to late game and had a great performance. LeBlanc closes it out. So now there's some options here. Cho'Gath still open for RNG if they want to have that safe, reliable top laner.
There's also the possibility that Jarvan is a flex pick. So they are waiting for that top lane final choice, depending on what Fnatic locks in for that top lane, and they quickly control the Syndra, who is designed to try and get rid of the Vayne.
Come on, Caps, give me a Radiant Soul here. Push in the Syndra and perma-gank the bot lane against this Soraka. He could go Talia as well, but it is much harder to rush that Banshees because you need more mana after the nerfs. Cho'Gath coming in, not a huge surprise. What are we going to get from the mid lane? Caps needs to be able to apply pressure just like in the last game. And again, I'm looking at Aurelion Sol as an option.
So far, the draft is very solid from Fnatic. It's an incredibly beefy front line with the hyper carry and Vayne. They need to be able to play around that bottom side. Talia and Aurelion Sol play very similar roles, and Talia did show success early on for Caps in the last game.
Exactly, and again, the laning phase is just a little bit harder because you can't straight rush Banshees in the matchup anymore. Xiaohu looking to have quite some pressure in mid lane, especially if it is a jungle Jarvan. That is a strong 2v2 that Fnatic won't be able to beat with Talia and Sejuani in this game here. It looks to be that jungle Jarvan here, happy to take the top lane, Maokai, and just say this lane is isolated 1v1. Let's see if Fnatic can actually kill Soraka early game.
Yeah, but this game will be, I feel like, decided more so in the mid game than in the super late game, because when I think about the way these fights will play out, the Cinder, the Jarvan, and the Maokai click all of their buttons onto Reckless. And if they do not take his health to 0 while doing that, he will be able to shred through them. Vayne is an amazing pick against Jarvan. You get to stun him against his own Cataclysm, and also can kite the Maokai fairly well after the initial CC hit. So it's going to be a very snowbally game, depending on how much gold Reckless can get in his pocket.
And if he gets locked down by that Equinox inside a Cataclysm, that could be game-changing. We'll see what Ming Soraka can do, and CC combination. I mean, it's the third Vayne. Every time we've seen Vayne, it's been an interesting pick. And now Reckless has to show up today.
Yeah, we've seen Rageblade build twice, but this is Reckless picking Vayne against Uzi in this bottom lane here. Against the Tristana Soraka, who can perma push you on the tower. It is super scary. I know some teams were practicing swaps coming into this tournament if they had a really bad 2v2
Fnatic was not one of those teams that practiced lane swaps coming into the tournament.
Maybe, at least not the Gigabyte Marines lane swap, but Fnatic in the EULCS playoffs in the spring split actually did lane swap. Level 1 to try and get out of bad matchups and surprise the enemy. I just want to bring it up. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it is something to consider.
Yeah, and I think it's something does need to consider. The way I think this lane is going to play out is Reckless farming under turret and then Fnatic going all out for kills on Soraka because they get a few kills onto Reckless, and if he can hit his items before Uzi does, they can start creating plays around that lane.
All right, we'll keep an eye on how that plays out. It's game 2 of Fnatic taking on Royal Never Give Up, and as the tournament continues to ramp up, you guys at home can add to the prize pool. You can also donate to charity by picking up that championship ash and the complementing award skin today. Total prize pool is over $4 million, and that's what these teams are fighting towards. Got to win here, and then they've got to play AT, and then they're going to make it to Beijing and the Bird's Nest.
And it's so fun now to theorize about the early game. We've seen junglers like get leashed on the red buff, get it, and then insta go down and gank the bottom side as well. And just try and get a big advantage for your late game carry.
And Officio, it's a Jarvan game too, the most unpredictable of early game jungle. He can do 1 buff and gank, he can 3 buff if he wants to. Sejuani, somewhat similar actually, especially with the machete start and the way you get large single target burst early on in the jungle, can do similar gank routes.
Minions have spawned.
Yet we have these 2 super passive supports, so creating kills in the bottom lane is actually really hard.
I love the ward though from RNG on the red buff to again see, okay, is Brox is starting there. Can we see maybe Waze moving right after and then have at least an idea if he's like early ganking this bottom side? Because again, with Soraka Tristana, you really want to just push Vayne on the tower and just start taking a lot of damage, start dealing a lot of damage to the big objective.
Well, it worked in the previous game against the Sivajana for a fair amount of time. Brox's repeated ganks helping Fnatic out. So, we split the map. A little bit of a start for Reckless and Jesus. In the previous game, we were looking at how many minions they lost in that laning phase. It's literally picture perfect replication. But the laning phase will play out very, very differently now that Vayne is already being zoned away.
Yeah, well, RNG's not going to be ganking this lane early on. Unless they get enough poke that they can turret dive, because they're immediately going to have it shoved in, and that leaves very few windows to gank.
So Caps right here, after pushing the first wave, walks straight into the jungle to see if he could spot where Jarvan started. Returns to the lane now and takes a bit of damage to his face, but did not lose a whole lot from this.
Good combination there from Xiaohu. Scatter the weak, stunning Caps up against the wall. This is going to be a challenging matchup. But Caps, once again on that champion that can impact side lanes, doesn't have to worry about Trundle in the top lane. It's something that you guys talked about at length in picks and bans. Simplify that team comp and just make sure Reckless gets in.
Both top lanes, though, still gotta respect that it can be early gank pressure towards them. We have already now the Sejuani top side. MXG is moving to top side as well.
He is a little suspicious right now, but they have a chance to chain.
All right, there we go. That's a good twisted advance. Very good Bramble Smash comes down, and Let Me needs to use the flash to escape, but he does so.
Yeah, and it's about MLXG buying him time now so that the wave can crash without a fear of dive. You can also see Cinder coming up a little bit in case of this possibility. Looks like Let Me's going to be okay.
Uzi's already been hitting the tower in the bottom lane, taking about 15% away from it. Caps takes another trade right there that actually goes in favor of Xiaohu. Return gank though from Broxa and trying to counter gank in case MLXG is here.
All right, so after all of our theorizing and discussion around this top lane, both junglers helping their respective top laners out. Right, minion wave is pretty sizable here, but I don't think you want to town out Makai, even without his flash. Very, very difficult setup, and instead, Soares backs away.
Yeah, I think Brox overstayed. There wasn't much to do in that top lane, but I do want to call attention to the mid lane, because in this matchup, whoever gets the push and the control of the mid lane can impact the bottom lane more, and that is something that Xiaohu has been very good at so far this tournament. If you just look at the ways he's gotten his kills and assists pre-15 minutes, you wouldn't think he's a mid laner. He has 5 kills and assists in the bottom lane, 2 in the mid and 1 in the top in the first 15 minutes of the game. Plus, in the team fights, if Xiaohu has gotten that gold advantage, he will actually be the one killing Reckless along with Let Me. So Xiaohu's performance in this game is paramount to RNG's success.
And in this early game, we might actually get some kills towards mid lane itself, because that's the advantage for Syndra, is she can match the push of this Talir, and then she can actually try and threaten to kill Caps straight up. Obviously, there's a heal now, Talir, so that needs to go down first. And MLXG might have to join as well, but not right now we see a gank top side. We talked about this. The top laners gotta be careful here because the junglers, they want blood.
All right, Rupture and Feral Scream's pretty good. Flash from Soaz blown to get out of that knock-up combination. And just to round out that mid lane discussion, Xiaohu's already up 8 CS in that mid lane, but there is a wave in front of Caps as he's clearing out. Soaz feeling emboldened, knowing that the flag and drag was on cooldown, and Brock's
that gank.
going for that gank in the bottom lane. 5 minutes. Last time round it worked in favor. The flash Zephyr from Jezzes. Here's the Arctic Assault comes down from Ming. Gonna interrupt Uzi on the way up, and first blood picked up by Reckless. They just run RNG down.
And to Fisher, that's exactly how we expected this lane to play out. MLXG shows topside, stays topside, Soaz plays aggressive to keep him there. And Fnatic 100% ignore Uzi because they can. Both summoners and the kill.
And it's such a sloppy ward from RNG in the bottom lane. Look, it's just at the entrance of the brush here. They barely get any information on when Sejuani might be down here. And Ming, of course, pushed forward with Uzi here, and he ends up just dying to, again, another pretty easy gank setup for Fnatic against this Soraka. Obviously, you also need some help from your mid lane in terms of vision, but it's Fnatic setting up all the control wards to allow them actually moving down to bottom side.
That allows Fnatic to once again secure first blood. We talked about it in the previous game, Jack. We see it again this game. Fnatic early decision making on point. Well, what can they do more? It's an advantage, but it's an advantage in a uneven matchup, so this kind of just brings it to even.
It's exactly where they need to get their advantages, though, because Reckless's ability to get gold on himself and not get one shot is the deciding factor in this game. Also note, MLXG's build path, challenging Smite as well as Longsword. He's going Warrior Jarvan because it really will be all about them pressing all of their buttons on Reckless when he's in range and seeing whether or not that's enough damage to take him to 0.
And Jesse stands right next to Reckless, presses his ulti and says, nope, you're not killing this AD carry today. MLXG likes to do this as well, where he goes Black Cleaver then second and actually delays all these tank items until he gets a GA as like the first way. He's like, now I'm quote-unquote defensive, even though there's still quite some damage on that item.
So, gentlemen, we've seen now this is the third vein. Is Rage Blade first item into Phantom Dancer the item build on this patch? It's a discussion I'd like to have as the game plays out, because it's one that we've almost jokingly had off air because we don't really know just yet how good it is.
I like Rage Blade on Vayne here if you do not fall behind in the early game, because it does allow you, once you fully stack it, to deal so much extra damage, get even more silver bolts, and it is insane DPS on one item with also an Ardent Center next to you. So I really like the Rage Blade build.
The biggest struggle with Rage Blade Vayne is getting it stacked up in the first place, because everyone knows the synergy of only having to attack twice to get your silver bolts. But that's only after Ginsu's Rage is stacked, and that's after 6 auto attacks. So when he is at that point, it's huge. But think about who Reckless has to hit to get to that point if there's not a minion wave there. It's Let Me, and if he's in range to attack Let Me, that means Let Me's in range to root, and all the other CC can chain off of that.
But it fits in with everything you talked about before here, Chad, how RNG wants to try and burst down Reckless. Fnatic obviously want to prevent that and have longer fights, so they should have enough time to stack it up. And I want to highlight, though, RNG took control back on the bottom side. They now replaced the Fnatic control wards with their own, making it much harder for Broxy to move down and gank. Gives a lot of safety to RNG to push.
And if you have that bottom lane as being your pressure release valve, you have to gank it more often. When they lost the vision control, they couldn't get it. And there's RNG with the first turret.
There we go, tower first blood secured. We've seen so many games and so many teams taking charge after taking the tower. Cataclysm comes down, Reckless gets a good condemn onto Uzi to buy some time. Silence locks Jezzes into the pit, and that means he gets taken down. RNG with first tower and their first kill of the game.
And again, this starts with the control around mid lane that allows MLXG and Xiaohu to move into the jungle of Fnatic, and then MLXG can just follow his team down towards the bottom side. He knows Uzi and Ming are already killing the tower, and he can just go for an easy kill on the no-flash Janna here. So great vision setup from RNG, and it's punishing once again that Fnatic can't really see anything on this bottom side.
Yeah, and it also punishes the previous gank. When Jezzes flashed for Ming, that means Jezzes no longer has flash, and they pretty much ignored Reckless with the initial engage until they trapped Jezzes in the Cataclysm to finish it off.
Now you have this problem here as a Vayne, where you lost your tower. You are the slowest AD carry when it comes to pushing minion waves, because all you do is just single target shoot them. And it's like 3 hits on a caster before you actually kill it. So Tristana, what, 2 seconds? The wave is gone. Vayne, 7-8 seconds, and the wave is gone. And it just means that your team is forced to play so passive on the rest of the map because you're not applying pressure for quite a while.
And I do think this is interesting what RNG is doing, because you would expect the Tristana who kills the turret to immediately lane swap, run that cycle, get the second turret. But Uzi has already gone back towards the bottom lane to at least clean up this wave. So I want to see how RNG plays this, whether they try and continually regank Reckless now that they've got his flash down, or if they just clear this wave before going top.
We have seen this a few times where teams stay and then push all the way for the tier 2 tower in the bot lane and then take over the bottom side jungle. Take away the red buff, take away whatever camps are in there, the big camps with lots of small minions in them, and just constantly threaten either tower diving on tier 2 tower or go mid and kill the mid lane.
Exactly, because it's a trade-off of pressure. If you send the Tristana up into the top side to take a turret, you're probably giving the bottom turret over to the Vayne and giving him that gold. So this is less immediate gold for RNG, but it's also less gold onto Reckless, so it's a trade-off I think they're willing to make.
They actually now ended up saying, we just wanted the wave here.
Watch out.
It does set them behind a bit on how fast they can go to top lane after recalling. Reckless is still in the bottom lane, close to the turret, and can start dealing some damage to it. And Fnatic should be calling, there's a lane swap, Swords, run away!
Well, we'll find out if he can. Bramble Smash comes down, it's a 3-on-1.
Flash.
A little bit low, Cataclysm already comes down. Good
Xiaohu.
Buy some time. Xiaohu, let's look for the scatter the weak, then he'll look for that stun. Soaz continues to buy some time, gets a silence, won't be enough, and Xiaohu takes 2 turret shots and escapes with his life.
But again, because RNG went bot lane first, killed the wave, and then recalled again, they actually allowed Fnatic to reach the turret first. So they're trying to now see if they can race against RNG. Caps here to try and delay the push.
All right, gets some damage down onto Ming. That threaded volley chunks him low, but Wish and Summon a heal still available. Caps fancies his chances here, clearing out the way. He's going to sidestep, got heal and flash available, buying some time. Uzi with the barrier survives.
Oh, he's alive!
Ming is the target. Caps is trying to get one back. Ming survives just a few seconds longer. He's escaped. MLXG now. Look at down. Caps in a 1v3 manages to survive. Seismic shove gets away from his Uzi, manages to get to the plant. While this is going on, Reckless and Jezz, they're hammering away on the inner turret, and the top turret survives.
Huge play by Caps, and a big miss by Uzi, who could have flashed to finish the kill with an auto attack if he didn't shoot him away. He overestimated his damage up against Caps and ends up getting MLXG killed, and that buys even more time for Fnatic to push that bottom side.
What a hero play here from Caps. It looked crazy at first, like he's just walking in trying to kill the wave, but will die for it, and they get tower anyway. But let's see it once again. Knockback not hit in there onto Ming, but he still sits with this little goal in his mind of like, I need to kill the minions. I can save the tower then. Even if I die, I need to kill the minions. And he's so close to actually dying with the heal coming in from Caps here, baiting Uzi. And then he stays alive.
Uzi was hoping to execute with the ultimate, but Caps killed at just the right time. That play could have easily gone either way and been a kill plus turret for the Uzi snowball, but it is not. Caps holds him off.
So important for Fnatic. They got the tower down bottom, they got that kill onto Caps. It's now 600 gold game. RNG, while they're still in the lead, Jesus has completed that Ardent Sensor already. Reckless picked up that recurve bow to go alongside his pickaxe. So Fnatic surviving by the skin of their teeth. And let's see whether or not they can do it again, Deficio, because MLXG is looking for a dive. And he's going to complete the teleport here. Very good interrupt. MLXG actually channeled, though. And comes out from Reckless. Jezz is forced to flash out of the Cataclysm.
Oh, he's turning it!
Reckless trying to get one back. The seismic shove. That's another for Fnatic. Now the runaway as Caps gets pushed by Scaps of the Weak. The tower falls, though, to kill for tower.
And you got to see there how difficult it's going to be for RNG to get the clean initiation right there. MLXG even buffers his flag and drag over top of the Janna Tornado, uses ultimate, still no kills. He ends up dying for it.
But I like the calls from RNG. It's just right now Fnatic are able to kind of outplay them in the small skirmishes and get some kills over to Reckless and Caps at the same time. Like, this call is good here, but they have roaming priority from mid lane with the Syndra moving up first because she pushed the lane, and then MLXG is like, oh, I can force a flash, and then ult the Janna right after, but he doesn't get the flash because the knock up here is not enough to actually get Jezz away from him, and then suddenly he ends up dying.
Yeah, Soaz doesn't even have to leave the lane as well, keeps his farm up. So as far as worst case versus best case scenario in the early game, this is close to that best case for Fnatic. They lost the turret, but they've gotten 1 kill and 1 assist over Reckless. He's got 2 more CS than Uzi until Uzi clears this wave, but they're looking pretty comfortable based on their earlier strategy.
Well, that's a good sign for Fnatic as we're getting past this 15-minute mark. And now we need to just see this Warrior enchant MLXG and whether or not he's going to burst him down, because look at the itemization. 1 fully completed across the board for RNG. Fnatic do not want to fight him just yet.
The whole like AD, the Warrior, Black Cleaver, Jarvan in the late game can struggle to actually burst down targets through all the shields and the healing. But in the mid game, it is so strong if you actually connect your combo and that big ulti that can deal damage to so many people at the same time. Get a fighting here.
Soaz has no TP. He's slowly walking up from the bottom lane.
Very, very slowly. Weaver's Wall will cut off Xiaohu and Let Me. Nature's Grasp gonna fly all the way along. That does get a double root. Equinox will hold Caps in place for just a moment or two longer. By the way, Rift Herald is just about to get killed, secured by RNG. They're going to pick up the buff, and they're not going to get it. Some of these flashes to get away, and they manage to make it over the wall. Chase comes down. Let Me forced to flash away from the rupture. Did they manage to pick up the buff? I don't think they did. There it is right in front of me.
Oh, MLXG, he wants it. He's still around.
Capture the flag. Can they defend the buff right now?
Oh, he wants to get in there.
He's got flash. Come on, flag and drag in, pick it up, and flash out.
Wants it.
That would be pretty
Oh,
spicy.
he can go right now.
There we go. He's going to get it.
Ah, you forgot the flags, Fnatic.
All right, there we go. Exactly as predicted. Flag and drag. Is it worth a flash? I guess we'll find out. If it takes down the tower, RNG, they got challenged, stared down Fnatic, and they got away with the buff.
We got 3 flashes right there from RNG used. Fnatic are actually with the 4 members because of the good wall here from Caps, kind of delaying all 5 members of RNG getting close enough to start the fight. They actually managed to at least force summoner spells. Now let's see if this Rift Herald can be used to get a tower. Mid lane tower is always one of the big objectives you're looking for.
And of course, Ming being flashless on that Soraka will be a juicy flank target if Brox or Soaz can find an opportunity in. But it's going to be difficult for them. 2-man stack in the mid lane. There's support for RNG coming to defend, and Fnatic don't overstay and they don't overpush.
And you just mentioned again Ming without the flash here. I want to then turn it over to Broxer because a lot of eyes will be on him, specifically on this Sejuani to start fights. It's been a big weakness for Broxer when it comes to actually being the main engage on your team. There's been times where he's hesitating. He doesn't maybe feel like he can actually go for a big flash play or anything. And the fact that he's now on main engage and he needs to try and actually catch people like this Soraka here, it's a lot of pressure on still a very young guy.
Yeah, and it's a matter of will Fnatic just play disengage as well, because that could still be an option whenever RNG tries to get the engage, even just using Sejuani as some type of disruptor, because this is one of the power spike moments for Reckless's Vayne. He has the Rage Blade, he also has maxed Silver Bolt, so if he stacks up, that means he's getting that percent health damage every 2 hits on top of the already generous base damages of that Vayne.
Well, a good wall here just to defend. Cap's actually buying a lot of time with his Taliyah.
Yeah, I've been very impressed. His defensive walls in 1 and 2 of the series have worked out. It's not going to stop Heraldina from ramming into that outer turret. While it won't be a kill yet, that is a lot of damage and a lot of control over to RNG, which allows Uzi and Ming and the rest of the squad actually to take this Cloud Drake. There's no contest yet. The Seismic Shove will not find the target.
So Fnatic have invested everything on top side. All the wards, everything is top side. They need to respect they don't know what's happening in their own jungle. So when they're pushing forward now, they open themselves up to a potential flank. Smart play here though, and just backing away. Go straight towards the top side again. Don't risk a big engage from MLXG and Let Me.
Yeah, and something that RNG has really done well and was displayed right here is their ability to pick the right fights. They're very rarely picking the wrong fight, so they have no vision on the top side of the jungle right there, and instead of going all the way up to force a fight on Fnatic, who's pushed up mid, they take safe recalls into the jungle, reset, and now they go with a good siege into the mid turret.
All right, remember this tower got chunked down so low earlier.
Walk versus 20.
Will buy some time. Ming is the target who is flashless. Broxer with all the pressure on him finds the target. The tower's still scanned. Soaz teleports in behind. I didn't even see that happen. Uzi and Ming are down, and Fnatic are sieging mid.
And that Raptor camp is Sejuani's playhouse when you're trying to siege that turret. Always over the wall to get that engage. Broxer pulls it off.
Also, Jess is right there with the shield on the turret. Meant that Uzi stayed around to try and finish it. He couldn't actually do it, and RNG ended up overstaying. They got punished for it. It's another kill over to the Vayne.
Didn't even see that TP from Soaz shutting down Uzi. 19 minutes in, Fnatic will take the gold lead, the tower lead, and the kill lead. Only Dragons in favor of Royal Never Give Up. But they still have an unenviable task of dealing with RNG in the mid game.
But it is the same setup now where it's Caps in the mid lane, it's, of course, Reckless and Jessus in the side lane. Let's see the play. There's the ward he's TPing onto. Look at the shield coming in here to save the tower. So RNG is staying around to try and finish it, and that's where we get the big engage.
It's that extra little bit of greed from RNG. That was their Achilles heel when they lose, but they have been able to avoid it for so much of this Worlds. It cost them there, but it's mainly with Fnatic knowing exactly when to go for that engage.
Tower does fall eventually, gentlemen, as we roll over. And for Fnatic, now the carries. It's all about them. 2-0-2 for Caps, 2-0-2 for Reckless. And when they're going well, that's when they're winning games.
Exactly, and we put so much emphasis on the Vayne, on Reckless. Can he hyperscale? Can he carry? But really, this team doesn't succeed unless they are both carrying. You can see that damage percentage. Reckless, even when they were winning, actually had a 28% damage percentage rather than the 41% in week 1 when they lost all their games. So the fact that Caps is 2-0-2 on Taliyah as well diversifies their threat. So when everything is thrown into Reckless, Caps can still do work as well, which puts Fnatic in an enviable position.
Right here, we actually saw another engage.
Let's see what happens. There's the flash away from Caps. MLXG is just obliterated because he's not tanky.
You have to remember, it is a very squishy Jarvan jumping in here.
Do they Baron?
They have Cho'Gath. There's no feast just yet from him.
I think it is absolutely worth posturing around the area. They need to get control, and then Broxa has flash and ultimate. They're going for Xiaohu.
Xiaohu forced to flash, but he's out of position. Remember, he's got no unleashed power. Seismic Shove is stepped away from, and the Glacial Prism will buy some time, as will the Wish. Xiaohu cannot run away, and he pushed far too forward, far too quickly.
Fnatic are finding some very good fights, and RNG not really reacting properly here. They tried to push up the mid lane to then maybe move into River in case Baron was started, but then this
individual positioning mistakes on the side of RNG. And some very good punishes. Remember, guys surviving that top lane dive for so long. Caps defending the tower, and now they're finding these kills 7-2 up. It's 2,000 gold, and with Hurricane Rageblade, Reckless has some additional wave clear.
And I think it's really interesting. You do not proc Silver Bolts with Hurricane, but you do shove the waves much faster. So that's how much importance they're putting on wave clear in this game.
Exactly. He actually went back and he bought the Phantom Dancer first, but then he sold it again, undid it, and said, oh, actually, no, I need Hurricane here. I need to be able to shove waves, because again, Reckless lives in the side lanes. That's where he gets all his farm while we have Caps defending mid. If he's able to push out his side lane and then join his team, he's going to be much stronger, because, again, he's constantly getting farm. And it's hard to deal with for RNG because they can't really stop all these lanes from pushing.
All right, look at the itemization. Xiaohu, Banshees, Valmorella, Namikon. Uzi's working towards that Infinity Edge, but does not have it yet. And Caps on your screen, Leandri's Torment and that Morello's. He's going to be combining with Soaz in just a moment. See if they can use that Weaver's Wall. But maybe it's just going to get a flash if they decide to engage.
Yeah, important to highlight that Let Me still sits with the defensive summoner. He's trying to play it very safe, not seeing where Taliyah or Sejuani is on the map.
It's just going to allow Fnatic some time to set up around Dragon. It's a minute until Infernal. We're well into the mid-game, and RNG have got vision all around this Baron. Can't quite see how many Fnatic wards there are, but there's a few lit down, so they know that RNG aren't starting or threatening it yet.
Always important to sweep outside of the Baron pit as well. Get a control ward in the pit, sweep outside, because a lot of teams are fucking these small wards just around the corner of the Baron pit itself, and then they can see if you're actually starting it, because one of your members is standing outside and hitting the Baron itself. And Broxa, he's a good guy, sweeps it, rid of it.
And this is the most control we've seen Fnatic have this series, with the control wards they have outside the pit right now, and with the Infernal Dragon spawning very shortly. We have to see how they play around it. It's also some power spikes for RNG. Black Cleaver completed, Banshee's Veil completed. There's still a lot of burst damage that RNG can throw onto Reckless, who hasn't gone for QSS yet. Still a chance he gets locked down in these team fights. But if they don't, Fnatic can take so much control with the next team fight.
Right, and they should only be able to burst Reckless. Jessus is not there and ready to defend him. There's the shield from him. There's the big ulti from the Janna. He's no flash at the moment, so RNG can actually change and just say, you know what, kill Jessus first. If you go full attack damage Jarvan, you gotta burst someone down.
Let's see if that Black Cleaver helps out at all. Support coming from Ming and Uzi. Soaz continues to chase forward and backs away the moment he sees the reinforcements.
Yeah, Reckless is also on Infernal Drake. So it was all a ruse in that sense. They did go for a kill. Actually a little bit fortunate that RNG didn't have any vision of Reckless and know that it was a 4v5. With it, no vision though, good play for Fnatic.
Yeah, just like we criticized the vision the last game from Fnatic, we gotta praise it now. They have actually taken over the river completely. They are denying RNG any wards on the map, except for this one little ward just around the Baron pit, but it is very far up the river.
Now, in the previous game, it felt a lot more even. RNG had those early game tower plays. They had some pressure moves across the map. They tried to do the same now, and Fnatic have outplayed it, you know? Found some picks, found some kills. I know RNG turned this around. Is it really just as simple as finding kill caps or Reckless and then take a big objective? And that only really comes from vision.
I mean, exactly. You can say the outcome would be to kill the carries, but you have to get vision control somehow, and that's just so called for RNG to do, because when looking at the draft and seeing the Janna Vayne lane against a Triss Soraka, you think, all right, this is at least 3 turrets to 1 at the start of the game. But we're 3 turrets to 3 now, 25 minutes in, because Fnatic was able to punish RNG whenever RNG was going for the turrets, thanks to Broxa finding the initiation time and time again, which makes it really difficult for RNG, because they don't win the team fights now, so they can't get vision.
And that's why it's so interesting that RNG in the early game, again, do not value getting a lot of vision around the bottom side, but instead go top lane. They actually gave Fnatic the full control down there, so Broxa found a way in for an easy gank and picked up that kill, delayed the game a little bit. Very important though, Fnatic have been winning skirmishes.
Yeah.
A lot of moments where RNG actually made a good call, but then they couldn't finish the Talia, couldn't finish the Vayne or the Janna, and they end up having to give a kill back in return. And it's given quite gold and time over to Fnatic.
It really is. And you see those items continue to spike. QSS now picked up for Reckless. Gonna try to deal with some of that CC. Remember the Silver Bolt Rage Blade combination. It's gonna be melting through Baron, especially with Feast and Smite.
And if they fight, he's gonna be max stacks on Rage Blade as well.
All right, so max stacked out. If RNG decides to engage, Equinox to buy some time. Easily secured with the Feast. The Weaver's Wall closes RNG out, and Guangzhou is silent as RNG are falling further behind.
It's a good, clean call here from Fnatic side, and it's the same setup again we keep seeing. Reckless pushes out the top side, Caps pushes out the mid lane. RNG don't have a winning lane at the moment. They don't have anywhere they're actually able to high pressure, because if MLXG is trying to go mid, he needs Caps to overextend first to actually kill him. If he doesn't do that, suddenly Fnatic have multiple members that can roam into mid lane and just stop this Jarvan from doing anything. And it's so difficult for RNG because they lost so many of the early fights. They didn't manage to snowball the Tristana Soraka lane.
There's no room for Fnatic now to make mistakes if they play this 3-1-1 that Officio set up in this game, how they like to play around the map, especially with the Vayne and this Cho'Gath. But when you open yourself up to a Maokai Jarvan engage, because you're split, it can go pear-shaped real quick on the Fnatic side. So let's see how they play the map.
There is a chance from that, but this is what Fnatic is practiced with as well when they were tearing through the EULCS regular season. The champion picks were much different, but ultimately they did love to play with Reckless in his side lane, and now Vayne is probably the best duelist as far as AD carries go. So unless RNG throws the house at Reckless, he probably wins those fights.
Well, the house has been thrown. It was at Caps. You can see him low on HP, and he used his flash to escape. This is going to open up more towers because there's a lower threat to engage.
That's kind of what we were mentioning before, how like mid lane is where RNG are trying to do something, but it's so hard because it requires Caps to completely overextend. Now, yes, he used the flash, so he needs to play even safer, but RNG didn't get a kill from this one. They have to re-gank the mid laner, and Fnatic should know this will happen, and Caps just do not step too far forward.
And MLXG can't be the initiation for RNG right now. He fell too far behind in this game. They go for Uzi.
Wow, he chunked down and not burst just yet. Manages to rocket jump to safety and has used the flash. But that means he's not yet to defend.
Yeah, they have Reckless pushing that bottom side, and there's just not enough damage to push him off the turret.
There's not. Howling Gale pops the Banshee's Veil for Xiaohu, but there's no follow-up from Fnatic. Reckless continues to push this wave in. It's a minute 50 left on Baron. So is now sieging in the top lane. This is 3-4 turrets that are starting to fall over in favor of Fnatic.
As soon as you lose one member or that member is forced back in base, then you can't defend at all, because all 3 lanes with Baron buff minions are just constantly pushing towards you.
And Brox's engages have been good. On the front line, finding the key targets. It was Ming on that mid-tower defense earlier, and it was Uzi getting his summoners, and that's allowing these towers to get pressured and sieged by the Fnatic roster.
And we are way past the stage of the game where Vayne is risky and tough to play, or hard to play, because now with the Hurricane
and the Infinity Edge
for even more damage, but again with the Hurricane, he's able to really push the side lane so fast that they don't have to wait for him. They don't have to be like, oh my god, Rekt is always falling behind. Let's give him another 10 seconds before he's doing anything. No, he's instantly just killing this wave and then moving forward.
Yeah, and they've gained this advantage from the split push, but I feel like for Fnatic, when they win this game, it's Infernal Drake number 2, it's Baron number 2, and then they just go. Reckless is at such a point with an Broxa with the front line and Cho'Gath and with Ajana who has Sense and Redemption, that they can actually win that straight-up team fight. The question is, what's the safer play for Fnatic and how do they choose? Do they group and risk having him get picked off, or do they spread out and risk RNG getting a pick with their pluritude of engagements?
Well, we're going to find out shortly. You talked about finding the pick, MLXG. He's been sitting on that Black Cleaver and Warrior Enchant for a little while. Himself a cloth armor.
He's going to get the GA. That'll take some time.
That'll help out ever so slightly, but the main point being, at 30 minutes into the game and down 7,500 gold, that Jarvan did not work out in RNG's favor. Remember, it was Tristana, Jarvan, first rotation red side for RNG. They gave that Sejuani over, and Broxa and the rest of Fnatic have used it exquisitely.
And it was because they banned Karma last. Yeah. Trying to be like, ha ha ha, if you do not pick the Janna, we will grab it, and we think this is your quote-unquote counter pick to it. We get rid of it, we force you to take Janna again, and we get the Tristana. But the fact that Sejuani was still open meant that Fnatic got a fine trade in the jungle.
Yeah, it's MLXG putting more priority on Jarvan and Sejuani, and that hasn't shown through in this game. And it's also Reckless having that Vayne in his pocket. Uzi was the first one to pull it out this tournament into Tristana. We saw Bang try and do it yesterday into Tristana as well. And then Reckless, something in the matchup that said, at least in the late game we can pull it off. But they got shoved in the early game. It was just a matter of keeping his CS up, getting the mid game, turret push going, and the Hurricane, I think, is also the icing on the cake to get that wave push going.
Yeah, and the big thing in the late game between Vayne and Tristana is they're both trying to do the same thing, kill the tank right in front of them. They're both dealing single target damage, but Vayne is dealing a lot more damage to the tanks. So she can actually kill the front line before Tristana can do it, and when the big tank dies, there's no protection for your backline anymore, and then everyone just start dying.
Yeah, and at this point as well, like late game Vayne is just goofy. You saw that tumble crit hit a minion for 1,100.
Goofy is a great thing or bad thing?
It's great if you're Vayne, because you get to kill the tanks with true damage and then do 1,000 health crits on the squishies. So
sounds pretty good.
This is in an incredibly good spot right now on Vayne.
You have to simplify the language when you cast with the Dane.
I'm saying goofy can mean a lot.
What I also like is, if you look at the itemization as well, not only Vayne and her kit and the build, but then you've got the Knight's Vow, you've got a Janna, you've got Ardent Sensor as well, and literally 3 champions also itemizing to buff that single damage source up while simultaneously protecting Reckless and Vayne. 2 Weaver's Walls have been used by Caps in the last few minutes. The first try shut out Xiaohu, it didn't work. This time they get a flash from him, but I'd like to see that used on the inhibitor turret. Use it to try and get more chip down.
Yeah, I think getting the flash is one nice thing because that's one of the main ways that RNG is going to try and initiate, and it's really all about this next Baron that's in 45 seconds. This is also an inflection point in the series for Fnatic. We've had games in group stage where Reckless was insanely far ahead. Twitch against IM2 comes to mind, where they didn't win and then seemed to fall apart in the later stages of this week. If they don't close this game out, they probably lose the series 3-0 based on the mentality shift that would happen. But if they do, they put themselves in a commanding position and tied with the series. All about the Baron and all about the way they play from.
That's why it's good they're playing it safe now. Why they're not just rushing down and using it to Talia all to try and secure a turret, because they have a Cho'Gath here to try and guarantee the Baron pickup for themselves, and then once again can push multiple lanes in with these buffed up minions. Reckless and the rest of Fnatic, all about getting vision of RNG. You cannot be surprised now by some crazy tank. There's not even a flash in the enemy Maokai, so the engage from RNG should be very hard to pull off.
Crowd can feel it, the RNG chance erupt. MLXG, by the way, has got himself a BF sword, some additional burst. Keep your eyes on Reckless on the flank. 5 members of RNG in the pit. MLXG takes it down, and Fnatic get no kills.
Unreal steal by MLXG. Cho'Gath Sejuani, the second game Fnatic has had with Cho'Gath where they do not secure the Baron.
Is that what Tilt is made of? We will find out. RNG have the tools necessary to stall right now.
It's the recipe for Tilt. It's just a matter of now that it's in the oven, whether or not it comes out cooked. Because this game, watch this, Deficio, you just watch this in slow motion. Double smite, I believe, come through at 1,800.
And it's at 1,000 HP, where Soaz is trying to go in with his feast.
That was, so it was at 1,800, something hit it for 700, and then MLXG smoked. Because there was no smite from Broxa and no feast from Soaz. Technically, the feast could have hit from 1,000, but the frame it hit 1,000,
exactly.
It was dead.
Exactly. Like, he's looking at the exact same number, saying, okay, just close to 1,000, I'm going to feast it. And then when the smite comes in at the same time and it actually kills it, then it's really hard to be like, it's really hard to put any blame on Soas when it is actually close to 1,000.
You're opting into that 50-50. Let's call it 60-40.
Yeah, it should be a 50-50.
Let's call it 60-40, but it is still a timing issue.
The problem for me is that you're not denying the Jarvan, or trying to at least deny him. You have Monsoon to try and knock him away before he can flash into the pit. You have knockback from Talia.
It's happening. RNG with Baron are emboldened, and they take their 4th tower of the game in the middle lane.
MLXG didn't even die when he goes in for that Baron steal. That's the miraculous part about that. He's a squishy Jarvan, and you got a max stack Rage Blade Vayne in that pit, so potentially a huge swing in the game. Fnatic then spread out as RNG makes that first push, and they get that first turret.
But what we normally see is that you try and time it so that you say Feast and Smite at the same time, so you can do it above 1,000 HP. But MLG just got in there and hit it perfectly. Again, the fact he was allowed entrance, he EQ'd into the pit. There's so many knockbacks on the side of Fnatic to deny that from happening. And he should never get in there in the first place. They even had a ward on it.
MLXG wants a fight.
MLXG's got himself a Guardian Angel after that last Baron secure. By the way, looking at MLXG, Xiaohu and Ming, none of them have upgraded their boots yet. They need as much combat power as possible. Baron buff is going to help out, and Jesus takes a gigantic crit to the face.
But that's double ults burned by Fnatic. Reckless no longer has the final hour for the team fights. That actually gives RNG a lot of confidence when going through on this next play. We're going to have to replay that Baron again and again and again if that ends up being the deciding factor in this game, because Fnatic has it in the back of their minds that that Baron should have been theirs. When you go for Baron with the Cho'Gath, you expect to get it. Whether or not the scenario was different and it was burst from 1,000, it's all about moving past from that point forward.
It's not the first time that we've seen that happen. I don't expect it to be the last. Elder Dragon is up in 3 seconds. The minion wave seemed to be pushing in favor of Fnatic, although Letme's trying to deal with the top one. Right, RNG barreling down mid, Fnatic on Elder.
It's going to be gone. They're going to try this one more time, but there's no vision. This time the Feast can get it.
And this time they deny MLXG as well. Do not let him even close to this Dragon Pit. So double Infernal Elder Drake for Fnatic. They still haven't lost anything in their base, but RNG are looking towards mid.
But I love that call from Fnatic. Undeterred, the last secure going wrong. Knowing the Elder is important with the double Infernal to stop the Baron push of RNG, and buying time for that Baron power play fairly irrelevant. Fnatic now have double Infernal and the Elder.
I think it's very important to note that Baron for RNG was a stalling Baron. It did not necessarily give them control of the map. It did not necessarily even out their game. They're still 6,000 gold down. So it's still a huge uphill battle for RNG.
Yeah, and that's why it's not the end of the world for Fnatic, because their late game is still fantastic. Like, they have the double Infernal Drake, they have the Vayne, who's currently sitting on 4 fully completed items and a QSS. So they're still looking to take the next team fight and win the game. It just sucks for them they didn't have a Baron buff to do it with.
It does suck when you misplay it, or mistime it, or it'll come out in the wash, I suppose. A little too early to tell. Right, Weaver's Wall is up for Caps. I'm looking down the flashes on the Fnatic side. Only Jez is unavailable. MLXG on the other side is the one without the ability to flash in or out. Weaver's Wall maybe a little early. The minions did not quite make their way up. Xiaohu with that Death Cap Void Staff doing a lot of work to wave clear.
Yeah, and that's a lot of damage threat on a level 18 Syndra against Reckless's Vayne. The QSS, his sole source of magic damage, and not quite the locket on Broxa yet, because the damage from the Syndra ultimate does somewhat come over time. They can shield with the Janna, hope the QSS, and now what is a Mercurial Scimitar does enough from a magic resist perspective, but that locket's going to be really important as well to try and keep them alive.
The fact that RNG are just holding on here, just hoping for one big team fight to turn this around. They're actually going towards Soas now. Xiaohu is here as well in the bottom lane.
All right, stun lands onto Soas. He's still got that Gargoyle Stone Plate to tag if he needs to.
Real hard
to throw that one out. There comes the Unleashed Power. Yet another stun. Soas continues to run away. 1,000 HP. Flashes over the blast code. Gets the blast code out. Sends MLXG away. Soas still not down. Sidestep. Scatter the weak. Falls short.
Classic
Soas escapes. And he didn't even need teleport this time round.
He's always doing it. He ends up pushing up a lane. He's about to get caught. Everyone thinks he's dead. And then he finds a way out. Takes the blast cone to safety. Had to use the flash though, which is a big one for him in future fights if he's flashing onto the back line of RNG. But for now, just feast the tank in front of you and let Reckless do the rest.
Yeah, and it's all about prepping for that next Baron in 1 minute. Ultimately, all of the R buttons for RNG will be back up before that happened, and they didn't burn any summoner spells. So the cost is still 2 summoner spells for Fnatic.
Well, Fnatic must have learned now from the Baron here. Try and deny MLXG from getting into the pit. At least force him to flash into that pit if he actually needs to try and steal it. Also, the same thing is because MLXG got into that pit, and actually I think with his ult, he might potentially have forced Source out of range for his Feast, or at least done something that he couldn't actually go straight for. But again, it's on Fnatic to obviously smite Feast earlier and just combine the two.
There are tools to make that safer as we go past 40 minutes very, very shortly in a game that Fnatic looked in such control of. Now they're on the risk of losing some control. There's that ward RNG have placed outside the Baron pit. Officio's touched on sweeping outside the pit. So RNG happy to keep stalling, keep playing for time. Get late, get more damage, more armor, more tankiness for this squad, and then see if they can out-team fight.
Hey, they got that ward on the outside. This makes it even more difficult for RNG to check. They don't even have waves in great pushing positions right here. And so much of it would be, can RNG actually get and engage onto Fnatic? They're going for Xiaohu.
Righteous Glory doesn't get them in range. Banshee's Veil needs to be popped, and no flash for Soaz. Uzi, by the way, quietly gaining power. Got that Mercurial to 5 damage item build, and he's terrifying right now.
Exactly. The full item 80 carries being on both sides take away a little bit from Fnatic's ability to just brute force a Baron, because even though they should be able to secure it with the Cho'Gath and the Vayne, that didn't happen last time. And then the shored up teamfight win isn't too sure when you have the Deathcap Void Stagger as well as the 6-item Tristan.
You have to see how MLXG teamfights here. He likes to find good flanks and then surprise the enemy with a quick engage and get some burst down on Caps or on Reckless. At the moment here, there's flash on 4 members on Fnatic. Only Source missing it. So he's just going to sit in the front here and be a threat against the tanks as well.
Yeah, well, Soaz went bottom to try and prep the wave for the split push. Does have teleport, but that gives RNG time to get vision control of the Baron area.
It looks like top wave is pushing towards Fnatic heavily in favor of Royal Never Give Up, and RNG
they're gonna force this.
Using Baron to force Fnatic's hand. Now Fnatic all of a sudden, they have to steal this one away.
I don't think they have time. Let me can peel with his ultimate, and they might be able to stop him from getting in the pit.
Weaver's Wall comes down. Baron already secured. That's the second of the game for RNG. Weaver's Wall has locked him out. Caps takes a big chunk from that Dark Sphere. On the back end, Brox is now looking for engage. He's going to be taking on 5 members. Can he survive? No! He gets chucked down. Now it's a 5v4 redemption. A little late to the party, and Fnatic lose Baron, lose Broxer, and they're losing control.
And just like in game 1, we see RNG late game with some really good calls here. Fnatic lost the control of the mid lane, and then RNG said, we can rush down this big objective. Fnatic reacting too against it after they lost the mid lane control, and they're not even able to contest for it.
It's a Drake on RNG. They took that 10 minutes into the game. 30 minutes later, it pays off by having Fnatic underestimate the burst damage, and then the haphazard by the rest of Fnatic. Carries not in position. Reckless does 0 damage in that engagement. If Fnatic loses this, it would be a collapse. They had so much control before that first Baron play, but now RNG may even be back in the driver's seat.
And they know this already. There's so much pressure on Fnatic to actually win this game. They had a huge advantage. They had everything they needed. About to get that second Baron off the game, but then MLXG steals it away from them. Delays the game as well, and they still haven't been able to get into the base of RNG.
And Xiaohu also just hit max items, so that 5,000 gold lead is less and less relevant when both carries are on 6 items.
And we've not really had a big fight where Reckless could actually use this 5-item Vayne to try and carry his team. He's been sitting on 2-0-2 for a long time now, simply because it's all about pushing against each other, and then you wait for one small mistake and you try and get the Baron.
Well, let's see where the mistake comes in. The focus seems to be Let Me. We need to follow Reckless. Still untouched. MLXG's holding on to that Cataclysm. Let Me is able to escape. MLXG forced to escape the fight. Unleash power, not yet used by Xiaohu. He's looking for a juicy, squishy target, and the tension continues to build.
3 shots by Reckless took MLXG to half health, but now the final hour is down on Vayne, and MLXG has been healed up by the Soraka. The supports are trading heals and trading ultimates. It's a reset of the fight, but no ultimate on Vayne this time makes Fnatic far less threatened.
And there's no Sipper for that wave clear. Baron empowered minions, making Fnatic's life difficult. Fnatic is now forced to back away. Reckless.
A little bit of damage.
GA is going to get popped on the side of MLXG. Rupture goes down. Soaz forced to run for his life. MLXG, he's going to get taken down by Cap, who flashes the side lane. So far, it's 1-for-1. Blue team gets the shutdown, gets the double kill. It's now a 4-on-3 with 66 timers.
He's going to push for the tower here. MLXG with the GA. The timing was just off here from Cap, so he didn't actually kill him as soon as he came back to life, and he had to flash over, allowing to jump him and get another kill.
Right, Broxah's got his ultimate available if he can somehow find a target, but Redemption for Ming makes that so difficult. Fnatic lose their inhibitor.
But where's the ultimate gonna follow up on? Reckless would have to walk towards 4 people to make this fight happen. RNG's pushing for a win.
It's 30-second death timers. The Glacial Prison down. Uzi gets chunked. He manages to escape. Somebody he'll buy some time. Broxah, Reckless, and Jensen trying to do the unthinkable. Uzi has healed himself back to full life.
Xiao has ultimate. He's saving it for when Reckless gets in range.
10-second Nexus. Enjoy. The Nexus is the target. Uzi, Ming, RNG. They haven't done it. Unbelievable. Fnatic are down 0-2.
In front of the home crowd, RNG come back from the dead in this game. 10,000 gold down, 6-item Vayne, Shogath forcing the Baron, MLXG useless for most of the game, and Fnatic knows this field. This has so many parallels to the first Immortals game in the first week of group stage.
So many things had to go wrong for Fnatic and right for RNG to turn this game around, and now the crowd is behind them again.
The charge, cheers, the drama. That Baron call. I asked the question, is that what Tilt is made of? We'll find out in the next game, because Fnatic, after nearly a 10,000 gold lead, after absolute map control,
They got an Elder Drake though.
wandered the lead.
Yes, they lost the Baron. They picked up an Elder Drake right after with this super Vayne, but they couldn't find a team fight. Talia wall they try and use on the tower. It's not timed with the minion wave, so they don't actually get into the base of RNG. So many things ended up going wrong for Fnatic.
Yep.
And in favor of Royal Never Give Up.
If you wrote this stuff, you would say it was unrealistic. The Cho'Gath not getting the feast, and yes, we watched it again, and there were definite reasons why that didn't go through. It's more about not getting MLXG out of the pit from that Baron steal, but then even after that fact, Fnatic was still in control. It's just the fact that I think the threat level of the Syndra and the Trist got to a point that Reckless could no longer be effective with his Vayne if we think about, you know, the mechanics behind the story of the collapse.
But then there's also these tiny mechanical things, like the very last team fight. MLXG in GA comes back to life, and Caps misses his combo on him, so he has to flash the wall to kill him. That allows Uzi to kill the Talia, and suddenly RNG can finish the game.
Especially when at the beginning of the game it was the mechanical outplays that got Fnatic their lead. At the end, they lost, and we're going to send it to Dash and the analysts to get their thoughts on Game 2.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Exasperated faces for both of our color commentators there as they try and make sense of how RNG come back there. But if there were any questions about momentum and what it might do to this series as a whole, RNG with a comeback victory, now sitting at 2-0 over Fnatic. Momentum is definitely in their favor.
And you could see it on Soaz's face as we went to the replay, and the Cho'Gath ultimate didn't come through for that Baron. That's a heartbreaker. That's a tilter if there ever was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but before we get to that tilter, let's recall back to what we were talking about before this game. What would Fnatic do in Champions Select to respond to RNG? We threw out some ideas. None of those ideas were Vayne, though.
Yeah, speaking of tilt, as soon as that Vayne was locked in, I was tilted. I was like, please no, you just got drafted. Like, you just had a terrible lane. You just drafted yourself into an even worse one. Like, Janna comes through. We already know that the Soraka counter is going to come through, and then they just grab the Vayne. It's like, well, I guess we're losing tower at 8:05. That's when they lost the tower.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the Vayne pick. Yes, I think it was kind of working out, you could say, but it's so hard, I feel like, for Vayne to actually get involved. In the early game, you're essentially completely giving up the push. You're accepting that in an uninterrupted lane, you're going to lose your turret. Even in this interrupted lane, they still lost their turret. And then when you look at the later stages of the game, people talk about Vayne as this hyper-scaling champion. I feel like it's somewhat of a fallacy because you can't actually position it to actually get all these auto attacks off, whereas some of the other champions like Tristana, who has the long range, can. When you're against a Maokai and a Syndra, you can't just tumble forward into them and try to get all this DPS out, so are really paying off.
Maxwell, thoughts?
Well, it was kind of sad to see that the mid laner of Fnatic ended up, like, let's say, being the dog and picking a champion that had full priority to help Vayne lane. But even after the Sejuani gank bot, it didn't change the priority at all, and they still lost the tower, so it was just really not worth the pick.
As well, we talked about maybe the importance of the Tristana, the way it's played into the other best-of-5 series. Once again, the power pick here in terms of taking down the turrets. Yes, the Sejuani gets that early gank off for Broxah. Deja vu in the bot lane. This time around, though, RNG's got the response, taking the turret.
And the thing about it's just such a huge tempo shift. Yes, they're overextended again. Yes, the vision hasn't changed for RNG. You can see the corner on your screen right now, that little dinky board. That's not ever going to catch anything. And RNG need to figure that out and to move them forward more. Otherwise, Broxah's just going to have a field day. but it's breaking this tower. It's then rotating up into the top side, breaking that one, grabbing Rifttail. In fact, RNG were really stalled up when Uzi couldn't kill Caps. That's what really was the first speed bump for Fnatic.
I mean, that said, from this game state, things are looking good for RNG, and so I do want to, one, recognize that, two, figure out where things started to go wrong for RNG within the mid-game.
Well, honestly, it was a free win for RNG if they just played it properly. However, MLXG chose to go Red Smite Warrior, which is a really risky approach because you don't have wards for your team. Your support is Ardent Sensor, so he hasn't got wards for his team, so all your plays are going to be coin flip if MLXG isn't living in the enemy jungle. And he was, but he was too over-aggressive at times and died for it, and so therefore Fnatic was able to come back. And then there was that Rift Herald, man. That Rift Herald was...
Let's talk about the Rift Herald. I mean, that was some craziness, for sure.
Yeah, and we can actually just roll the clip of the Rift Herald, because this is something that you were talking a lot about, the investment into this, and not just about the fact that, yes, RNG did eventually get it, but how much they had to expend to actually get the Rift Herald.
Yeah, so RNG used their Maokai's tempo to come from bot all the way to this Rift Herald. And as you can see, they have to like run for their life. Soraka used flash and Maokai has to flash away, so there's like, everything just went wrong, right? And now Soraka has no flash, so Sejuani just easily engages and Soraka's dead.
And this is what I was talking about, at the top of the day. It's that Fnatic and RNG are stylistically so similar that they create leads through team fights. It's not this beautiful orchestrated, macro game where it's about the vision control and the wave setup. It's really just about the team fights. And yeah, there are, these instances where they find tempo and they pull the Maokai over when they think that they have the upper hand on taking the Rift Herald, but it falls apart so quickly if they're not on top of the ball, and it kind of goes back to arrogance almost. Like Xiaohu at the top of the day, he's like, we're going to send Fnatic home. This is going to be easy. Their luck has run out, and you can see it right there in that type of play. They think that they're the better player, so they'll keep flipping that coin. They'll keep taking those gambles, and when it doesn't work out, it's suddenly a 45-minute game.
I mean, definitely holes in RNG's game that Fnatic was able to find and even extend the lead here from that point onward. The onus was on Fnatic to push the game forward and take the victory. They decide to go for a Baron, and MLXG comes up big with a Smite Seal. This one brought to you by Acer Predator.
I mean, this is one where it should be easy. It should be the Feast plus the Smite, timed with perhaps Burst coming out of your mid laner or whatever else. Unfortunately,
ulti was just bugged.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky there, perhaps. But the fact that Jarvan's able to get in, steal it, and still flash out and survive just makes it that much worse. It's already frustrating enough that he stole the Baron. The fact that he gets out is just like, are you kidding me?
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. And then we return to this whole idea of mentality, right, for both of these teams. We already talked about the importance of Game 1, and we've seen it on the faces of the players in those high-intensity moments. All right, well, now you're sitting 2 up as RNG, winning a game that perhaps you shouldn't have won in terms of the mid-game.
They should not have won that game. That gold graph spoke for itself, Dash. That was like Fnatic favored. And RNG just literally, Royal never gives up, comes back from the dead. I'm sure Quickshot said that at least 10 times.
I mean, they probably shouldn't have, right? But at the same time, it's also ease of execution. And again, I have to look at the Vayne. If that's reckless on a Tristana, that game is hilariously easy to win because you can walk forward, you can siege turrets, you can team fight aggressively while you still have the ability to rocket jump out, you can self-peel. There's so much more you can do on a champion like that. And I just feel like the barrier of execution is so high, even when you have all this gold on Vayne, that it's too hard to actually make it work. And I think that is such a big deal because even if you have all the gold, if you can't get active in the team fight, it doesn't really matter.
All right, Max Lore, you were playing on this stage yesterday in equally big moments. Game points, match points, we're there right now for RNG, but for Fnatic, they've got to start the miracle run yet again. They did it in groups. Can they do it here in the knockout stages? And if so, how do they do it? What would you be telling this squad right now backstage if you had their ear?
Well, someone has to take the leadership role from the Fnatic roster and tell their team, like, it's okay, we can still win, okay? Either that or some kind of motivational speech to, like, break this mental that they're probably all in right now. Like, we should have won that game. We made so many mistakes. We have so many regrets. But someone needs to take that role and just say, guys, we're here. We have to perform. Let's just play our hearts out. We have, you know what? We might lose the next game, but it doesn't matter. Let's just play and win the game.
I mean, that said, RNG has elected red side yet again. And so we're going to be in this exact same situation for Fnatic. They're going to have to find a solution on blue side where they haven't found a solution just yet.
Also, buy pings.
By Pink Hordes. Big one out of Azael there. Frosk, any last words here for Fnatic?
I just don't want to see another Janna first pick. Like, I understand Janna's strong, but take away the Tristana. SKT found the priority in the very end against Misfits, and I think Fnatic need to find it here.
I was going to say, proof of anything is you guys yesterday redefining the meta and forcing SKT to adapt to you.
But I think if RNG choose red side again out for this third game, they have a pick ready for Tristana as well. Maybe the Kog'Maw Janna.
All right, well, it's going to be an uphill battle if Fnatic want to do it. RNG are 1 win away from earning their spot in the semifinals. We'll see if Fnatic can fight back in Game 3 after the break.
Here's the Arctic Assault comes out from Ming. Gonna interrupt Uzi on the way up, and first blood picked up by Rek. Just run RNG down. Ming survives just a few seconds longer. He's escaped. MLXG now. Look at down. Caps in a 1v3.
I'm behind them. Slow.
Soraka. We got Soraka.
No plan Syndra. Tristana?
Yeah.
Silence.
5 members of RNG in the pit. MLXG takes it down. Who flashes over on the side lane. So far it's 1 for 1. Uzi gets the shutdown. Gets the double kill. Uzi beat RNG. They have it. Fnatic are down 0-2.
If you want to follow the best of the Rift, then you need T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. We've doubled our coverage, so you can stream Worlds in more places than before. With T-Mobile, don't miss a moment from the first battle, all the way to the lifting of the Summoner's Cup. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.
因为今年我们 RNG 在 LPL 其实没有拿到一个冠军嘛，然后在这次2017全球总决赛上面，我觉得我们要拿到中国队伍最好的成绩，如果打不赢达到4强，我们就要进入决赛这样的。
Well, we'll find out if RNG can qualify for the semi-finals in a rematch against SK Telecom. These two organizations have history. Welcome back to game number 3. As an update, RNG have once again chosen red side. And while the players are just finishing getting ready, let's talk about the fact that Fnatic have squandered their leads 2 games in a row. They've had a good early game. Maybe they should have won game number 2, but they, you know...
Oh, they definitely should have won game 2.
And what this means going to game 3, same side selection. Do we expect the same picks and bans?
Well, I believe it's RNG selecting red side once again. So they still opt for this same choice. And even though, right, we think Fnatic should have won that game. So they should be okay, you'd think, with the same pick and ban adaptation. But the big question is Tristana. Because that was a late game team fight carry once again for RNG. And I want to see if Fnatic first picks it.
And it's important to highlight that Fnatic in the early game, through some great individual play, did not start falling far behind with the Vayne pick. Got a good gang for first blood, then we had the Caps roam up the top side, and we had a few moments where RNG should actually have gotten pretty far ahead in the game. Yeah. So I think RNG are also fine taking the same draft, if that is the case. But what we could see is if Fnatic are saying either we ban away the Soraka, so that RNG needs to think, do they still want to give Janna or not? Or the thing is you can just ban Janna yourself and first pick Tristana. It just doesn't feel good to ban both Lulu Janna on blue side.
Well, let's find out if Fnatic agree. We're about to jump into picks and bans. The Karma rotation was sort of the expected answer to that Janna Trist combo from the previous game. And it ended up to be the Vayne. And Reckless had a very good game, but the team was unable to utilize it in the late game.
Listen, Janna is so good in the game right now. The fact that RNG is giving it to Fnatic and then having Fnatic take it is a mind game at this point, because I feel like Fnatic should be in control. That ban is out of order, though.
Oh, Galio, yeah, that's the one they're leaving open. Xiaohu is fantastic on this champion.
I mean, surely Fnatic would first pick it if they leave it up. Otherwise,
first pick Tristana.
Like, if they first pick Trist, they give away Galio Jarvan. And Deficio, I asked you before the day, what are the chances RNG get Galio Jarvan? You said 0%.
It should be 0%.
But would it be 0%? Because the series evolves.
You mentioned Aurelion Sol. Would Caps run a Sol?
They're doing it.
To a Galio. Do they first pick Galio? Is this the Tristana? Deficio, where do you think they're leaning?
I mean, when you banned Janna on blue side, I said it feels bad to do it, but they won this Tristana so badly. I would have gotten rid of the Caitlyn ban and banned the Galio instead. Let's see if RNG takes the Galio and the Jarvan here.
Yes! I mean, if they don't, I would be so surprised. Unless they get super greedy, but why not? It's the combo.
I agree. I was hoping for Fnatic's sake that RNG were like, nah, let's do something else.
What is the answer? Now, if Fnatic have an answer, and if they win against RNG's best combo, what does that mean? We'll find out later. We need to figure out what Fnatic put on the table to combat this.
They have to do something crazy now, because they need to snowball around this Tristana pick here to make Reckless strong enough to make this worth it. Again, the Caitlyn pick, they're so afraid that Uzi and Ming the Caitlyn in the bottom lane and destroys Fnatic's 2v2. And they know they need that 2v2 to do well. But they were okay picking a Vayne in the last game against Soraka and Tristana. Be okay playing against Caitlyn as well instead of a Galio.
You know what I love about this? Is the Taric ban by RNG. Because if you're going to try and shut down Galio Jarvan, it is somewhat of a telegraphed, delayed combo with the hero's entrance, that a Taric pick would work in that situation. So instead of the Karma ban, they ban the Taric because they're like, you know what? That dude's going to pick Trist. They feel like this is what's going to happen. And they're going to give us the favorite combo of our entire region.
And now we get Uzi saying, you know what? I have so much protection already with the Galio in the mid lane. He can go for scaling. This late game from RNG is insane.
Disgustingly good.
We need perfect snowballing from Fnatic right now.
Oh, there is so much anxiety here from Deficio and Jet looking at this pick and ban. Let's see what twists and turns we have in phase 2. Cassio has found herself banned multiple times, along with the Shen. And then there's been some pivots. You know, the LeBlanc has gone through, the Na, Orianna are some examples. Fnatic, they still have to reveal what they run into this Galio. Do they go full crazy and play like a Rise and see if they can make that work?
If there's no Rumble ban, I'm going to lose it. Because RNG have done this exact composition, Galio, Jarvan, Rumble, over and over and over again. They want the Rumble in the top lane, unless Soaz feels like he has something that will absolutely smash it in lane phase.
I mean, there is already some magic damage from RNG with both Uzi and the Galio probably in the mid lane on their side. I like the Talia ban here from RNG. I think actually Caps was able to do a lot in the early to mid game on this champion. And yeah, Aurelion Sol is still open, but Galio with his ulti can deal with that.
It's gonna match.
It's so difficult right now. Rise has been one of the go-to picks for teams against Galio specifically.
It's not been great.
It's not been very successful, unless, of course, you are amazing on Rise. And Caps has played pretty well.
Rumble's up to combo to complete the combo.
The Orianna ban a little odd on the end there. Maybe just denies any potential swip swapping.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels weird to me.
A little odd one coming in from Fnatic, but it might be a specific matchup in the mid lane they want to avoid. Syndra is still open for Caps here, and while it doesn't feel fantastic to play it against a Galio, it does still give you some early game pressure.
All right, they could go with Cho'Gath as well if they don't want the super combo on Rumble, but the Orianna ban does feel super, super strange.
And now everybody waits with bated breath. What do Fnatic pull out? What shenanigans lie in wait in what could be the last game of the tournament for Fnatic? Europe's #3 seed, been playing all the way from play-ins, and this is what, their 17th, 18th game in Worlds 2017.
Syndra, Rise, Aurelion Sol, some of the picks that we're instantly looking at. I like the Gnar here for Soaz. It was a pick he found a lot of success with in the tiebreaker game against Gigabyte Marines, and where he's able to be a threat in a side lane and then of course try and join team fights later. But the mid lane pick here coming in for Caps, it needs to be a big one if they want to win this early game.
Exactly, and when you asked us the question, like, what is the answer to Galio Jarvan? Teams have struggled to find that answer because it's such a powerful combo, but for at least Fnatic, I think having a lot of people who can jump out of the Cataclysm is a good start. Gnar and Tristana can both fit that bill, and then also if Caps can position in the right spot, getting an ult down onto the tank line as they dive in can be extremely effective. As long as he is not the one getting dove on, Malzahar can destroy tanks. So as far as actually having an answer for it, I think Fnatic has done pretty well.
Ooh, okay.
Oh boy.
Morgana coming in the end here, trying to make sure that whoever Malzahar is going towards will not just get instantly blown up, but this pick and ban phase does give Fnatic openings in the early to mid game. Top lane they can go towards and try and get swords rolling. Bot lane especially to where they want to look. Morgana is not that strong in the laning phase, and especially not against Karma. And the thing about Malzahar is once he hits level 6 and he can really start pushing his lane when he's roaming, even if there's a Galio ulti, there's a lot of threat, because if he actually sneaks down to a side lane and manages to ult a target, that target dies very quickly.
Well, Ming has been the target of the early game for Brox and Fnatic 2 games in a row. He's given up first blood both times on that Soraka earlier. And now we'll see what he can do on the Morgana. Big eyebrows raised, big question marks around letting Galio Jarvan through, and the answer, the Gnar, the Malzahar, the Karma. It comes down to execution, gentlemen, and that's where Fnatic, look, they went blow for blow with RNG in the 2 previous games.
And it's just the fact they value banning the Caitlyn over the Galio. They are more afraid of Uzi on Caitlyn than Xiaohu on Galio.
Crazy.
It's very rare that Jat is at an absolute loss for words.
Listen, we live in a results-based society, so if this works for Fnatic, you're going to be able to praise this draft for having the Malzahar and Gnar answer. But giving away Galio Jarvan, specifically to RNG, is an absolute non-starter for almost everyone I talk to in draft phase. But this is where Fnatic has pushed themselves, because, as Deficio said, they're more willing to ban the Caitlyn than the Galio, and they opted into this. They opted into facing J4 and Galio.
And as a reminder, that Galio is part of the reason that Xiaohu's stats and those kills in the bottom lane from the group stage were so impressive. It was, what, 5 coming into the day, combined kills plus assists, roaming, ganking, getting Uzi ahead.
Also, Galio mid lane has won every single game so far during the group stages, and also with Faker's game yesterday, where he was able to take over from the early game, roaming to top side. Soaz will spot the entire party and get to back away.
Well, let's find out. Dark Binding available for Ming. Fire and hits.
Got him.
Sending a message. RNG are here to play one win away from advancing to the semifinals. One win away from knocking out Europe's last team.
And this Morgana last pick here, it's RNG looking at Fnatic and saying, okay, there's a lot of pick potential. Like a lot of single target CC Fnatic can apply, and they're trying to prevent that with the Black Shield. But again, it will hurt them in the early lane phase.
RNG say, let me invade, and hasn't backfired yet. Gets the stun down from the permafrost. Let me hook onto his flash. Reckless comes in from the side. Now MLXG is the target. We're off to some shenanigans in the early phase, as that satchel will explode on MLXG's head. All that is used is Caps' Ghost.
Yeah, but look at MLXG's health to start this. Luckily, they do have the Galio mid to help with that push on the Raptors, but I wonder if Caps can steal some of these. He can definitely threaten.
He's got the Malefic Visions. Yeah. They need to bop that when it's a little bit low. Not the greatest. Gets one. Let's see if we can get any more of those chickens. Nope, gonna regen and reset. Okay, Reckless, by the way, took a lot of damage at the end of that trade. So while MLXG was hurting, it's Jezzes and Reckless that are now behind in this HP game.
Now, this is a rough start for Reckless. Of course, Dawn's Shield is there and the potion next to him, but you really don't want to use that already. Level 1, and Ming and Uzi here just pushing forward after winning some good early trades.
It's always interesting to see
level 2 gank.
Those early shenanigans impact the game. MLXG, by the way, for the third game in a row, his first few ganks have been around this top lane, almost regardless of matchup. Still waiting in the wings. Needs to get this flag and drag to land. So as easy hop away.
Level 2 as MLXG approached with a dead minion, and since you'd already seen MLXG, a lot of times you're actually not going to skill E second on Gnar unless a gank's coming for you, so easy to escape.
I'm really not a fan of this call here from RNG's side. Like, yeah, if they try and gank before Source hits level 2, then MLXG could have gone straight away, but his own top lane was also just level 1. And now, Source, because he's on a Gnar and not, let's say, on a Cho'Gath or a Maokai where it's harder to escape, he just hops away and actually ends up wasting a lot of MLXG's time. He's now only on his second camp, but Brock's already level 3, gets a red buff, can start getting out on the map.
Let's see what he does. It's an Infernal Drake on the first.
Not even killing it.
Slightly juicy, that tastier option in MLXG. Not going to have the strongest start to the game. I mean, this all kind of spiraled from let me going in fairly solo. Fnatic, whether they read it or they responded well, I didn't quite see the vision setup. It's made some interesting choices for these players.
But that to me was the classic LPL MLXG move, where very surprisingly he's going for this gank on the top side, and sadly Frame ends up getting anything out of it.
Yeah, and I really feel like RNG has been winning in spite of MLXG's early games. He's still only achieved 1 first blood in these games, despite doing all these inefficient ganks that are meant to set his lanes ahead. But he did not let me ahead with that gank. He only hurt his own ability to clear the jungle.
So I want to talk about Ming's keystone here, Stoneborn. Might have to actually touch on it after, because MLXG is around mid. Cat is very safe though. No reason for him to really overextend just yet.
Yeah, Ghost and Flash, only 2 minions to keystone for Ming.
Yeah, so Ming wants to go Ardent Sensor here with the Morgana, wants to land the binding to then apply the Earth and Rune from his Stoneborn pack. And then when you hit that target, of course, you get the healing back and you proc Ardent Sensor. But it doesn't mean he's not going for early laning phase. I've seen Thunderlords and you get W in lane and you try and like harass. Not this time.
It also means that just the Black Shield also counts for Ardent Sensor regardless.
Very true.
So the Dark Binding is just for Ardent Sensor uptime in the late game. One of the better supports when you think about how you support a late game Kog'Maw, because it prevents him from being locked down when you have the Black Shield, as well as allowing him to shred. But it's that early laning phase where you wonder if it's going to be able to shove harder.
Well, Dark Binding connects onto Reckless while Jezus is trying to zone away Uzi. Fighting into the minion wave, not too advantageous here for Reckless. Only 31 CS to the 34 of Uzi. And MLXG is going to show his face in the bottom jungle. I'm looking at the camps. Nothing up to steal. And Flash's barrier heal. Definitely too much to deal with on the side of Fnatic. It's a vision game. Good ward. This will keep a little bit more information on the RNG side.
Yeah, couldn't really gank the bot lane either, because right now Reckless and Jess are on their own turret. So just get that one important ward on the Prox to try and find Proxa later on. But at the moment, MLXG been very active without finding success. And Brox has just been farming his own jungle. We'll get the Raptor camp that just spawned.
All right, so 2 games for 2. Fnatic picked up first blood. Let's see if they can do the same. Brox, once again, clearing out that jungle. Ming, MLXG rather, I want to look at his itemization this game, see which direction he's going to go. That glass cannon build did not work for particularly long.
Yeah.
In the preview, we can already see a pivot here.
Yeah, well, he has gone with a different smite, but I still believe he's going to be going Warrior Vision as a higher priority. Specifically, though, that you do go Warrior Jarvan when you have the Galio team. You're relatively low damage, and you're going to get the damage reduction if you pull off the combo.
But is this going to be 3 for 3? Looks to be the case. Ming continues to run for his life. He's already used Flash and Heal. Teleport starting to be channeled. 3 of them in the bottom lane. Uzi's going low. Fnatic decides to peel away. Let Me arrives in the Rupture, knocks down Jesus. A hop and a skip from Soaz. The teleports were blown, and it is RNG unable to turn it around.
In the mid lane, we also had both summoners used by Caps here because MLXG ganked the lane. There's still Flash on Xiaohu's side if he wants to go in and Flash taunt onto the Malzahar.
But now MLXG is walking down, misses the control ward, but they can still threaten them off this turret as long as Galio shows in River, because it's so hard to dive a turret on a Galio mid.
Not going to go for the dive there.
Turning mid though.
MLXG and Xiaohu maybe turn. They've got to get through Caps' passive and his Nethergoss. He's got no flash available. That Shield of Durand will do a lot of work in terms of setting up the CC. The flag comes down. Caps has got a Void Swarm out. Puts another Malefic
here,
Vision,
they might just
Call
go
of the
for him.
Void. Here comes Broxer. There's no prison available, but the Nethergrass is. Caps now forced to run away. It's jungle on mid combat. Permafrost as well as the silence comes down. Xiaohu's shield doing so much work. Justice Punch gets flashed away from Malefic Vision. Flashed from as the Call of the Void.
Oh, he come back in! It's come back in!
Is it close enough? Caps is low on mana. Goes in for the call.
No, the
does not get the hit. Not going to find the flail either. And all of a sudden, MLXG and Broxer are running away. The venue is electric, but nobody dies.
They all just keep going back in, not having quite the damage to finish and risking their own lives. Incredibly dangerous ult there from Xiaohu and unnecessary, but as you mentioned, everyone walks with their lives.
But that first ult from Caps, he didn't actually have any Voidlings down when he did it, and Broxer tried to get in and apply a bit of extra damage, but it couldn't kill Xiaohu instantly. Now we get instead action in the bottom lane. No flash from Jesus.
Yeah, he's got to be the target. MLXG is going to look for Reckless. Reckless got that rocket jump and fighting. The spicy hot pot sets up first blood for RNG.
MLXG is so active on the map in this game here. He's trying to stop Fnatic from snowballing early. Top lane, mid lane, now bot lane. Interrupts the jump from Reckless.
That Flag and Drag was insanely good.
That was
MLXG.
really good.
It's so hard to actually kill Trist, right? I've seen so many people raging about it. You can buffer the rocket jump, but the way you can stop it is if you somehow interrupt the Trist while the Trist is already in the air, and that's what MLXG can do with this Flag and Drag. They know Justice is flashless, but he stays back, and the patience here from him, perfect from MLXG.
And Reckless needs to flash instead. When he sees the Java and just wait with the combo, he knows that MLXG are just waiting for that jump. You have to try and respect that and flash instead.
And the difference in the emotion of the AD carries there speaks to the series at hand where RNG is up 2-0. That's the type of smile you get from Uzi when you know it probably shouldn't have happened, but it's playing out in your benefit anyway, because he knows Reckless should have flashed, and then MLXG shouldn't have been able to do that.
And is this Tristana first pick now for Fnatic? Getting shut down in the early game. Uzi is even in farm. He's fine just going to the late game. He doesn't even need to trade turret damage. He just wants to keep farming. Down in this bot lane here, the Morgana is also again with the Black Shield for later on in the game to try and stop the engage from Fnatic. Xiaohu is now moving towards the bottom side. No ulti just yet.
No, still on cooldown, so is the teleport. Rocks are relatively close by. And that explosive plant is going to allow Xiaohu to escape. Even CS game across the lanes, it is only MLXG that is slightly behind thanks to those early game shenanigans. And the waves are pushing towards RNG, so Fnatic shoving them in again and again and again. Let's see what they do with it. Where do they move for the vision, and do they make any plays?
And it's about the bot pressure, if Fnatic can make this play happen. It's what Fnatic has played around in games 1 and 2 to much success. RNG hasn't had strong vision control on the bottom side, but that's where the power of this Galio pick comes in. It is so hard to force play bottom lane against a Galio. Xiaohu just has to shove out lane and disappear, and then he can't make the play bottom.
And we know that in the late game, Xiaohu is going to try and ult whoever Caps is onto with the Galio as well, but it's a good play from Fnatic, moving straight to mid to try and get some damage on the turret. MLXG is around, Ming is moving from bot lane, but he's pretty far away.
All right, Reckless takes a couple of tower shots as those crabs are going to get tagged away. The tower survives.
And remember, this Jarvan is very squishy. If Caps can ult him, they will kill him.
I like this play, attacking the Galio, much like you go to a Shen lane to push out the global.
All right, Black Shield is going to keep Xiaohu from being...
Oh, the binding!
Binding connects Nethergrass onto Ming underneath the tower. Cataclysm blocks it in. That's the second kill for RNG. The tower still stands, and Fnatic gift that one to Royal.
Worst case scenario for Fnatic, when you attempt an odd-numbered dive on the turret, don't get the turret and die yourself, because Uzi, by the way, is probably going to get first turret for himself down bottom.
Oh, he's going to secure this one. The minion wave will dash very shortly. There we go. Picked up. 2,000 gold lead, but Fnatic, they've not stopped the siege. Justice Punch is defensive from Xiaohu, and the tower will fall shortly.
Thor's on the way. Try and make sure they can actually get the objective.
Eats a dark binding to the face and cannot continue the chase. Okay, 1-for-1 tower, but RNG, they get the additional kill, the solo farm, and experience, and gold for Uzi.
And we have seen a lot of plays now from Fnatic where it really looks like the pressure is just getting to them. It's so hard for them to properly communicate here and execute all these small skirmishes they have to take. Right here, the taunt onto Caps, straight into a binding, and then he's on the turret, taking damage this entire time. And it was MLXC you were supposed to get onto, and he found his way in.
Yeah, flash and ult up as well. Does not track all the CC from the Galio. The Galio can interrupt the ultimate with either the taunt or the Justice Punch. Also, Morgana just gets Justice Punched out of it immediately as well, so they don't even get the kill.
And it just goes from bad to worse for Fnatic. We'll see whether or not this Tristana, Karma, Malzahar combination in the mid-game can make up ground. But they've got such a difficult task ahead. RNG have already swapped their duo top, and they're going to be pushing Soaz out.
And Uzi already completed his Rage Blade. His support already got the Ardent Sensor. He got the first tower down the bottom lane. He's been free farming in his lane. He's so strong already. Needs to try and shut it down. They're going for Let Me.
All right, let's see whether or not Let Me can escape. Oh, very, very easily. Broxa and Caps are simply too late to the party, but Fnatic, they seem to be content with the trade. They've traded towers back and forth. Will be on the side of the map with the Infernal, so that's a benefit. And as we take a quick glance over to Soaz, oh, that's very aggressive. Hops
for a play.
Xiaohu's got the ability to taunt and flash in. Soaz with Black Cleaver doing a lot of work. Xiaohu flashes over the wall. I think Cataclysm ended up blocking him. Ming fires the Dark Binding, not going to. I was expecting it. And Soaz picks the right route to escape.
Good pathing from Soaz as well. Draws a lot of pressure mid, even if it was a little bit risky. Still doesn't necessarily get Fnatic into the place they want to be, though. Yes, they're trading turrets, but it's now a Rage Bait completed Kog'Maw in the early game, and they're going to have the Rift Herald to break turrets.
Feels like the tempo of this game is significantly higher than the two previous games. Already 4 towers down, a Dragon, 2 kills, and as this tempo is accelerating, it's leaning in favor of RNG because they've got that gold lead and they've got the kill lead, they've got the ability to take another tower.
And a lot of it is on MLXG, just kind of picking up the pace here, saying, I will try and gank a lot of the early game. We had a level 2 gank top lane. Yeah. Didn't work for him. He went mid, he went bot. He's been involved with both kills for this team, and Fnatic have been trying to take the fights against him, but then these small misplays happen, you know. Caps as well in the last fight there when he gets taunted, doesn't get to flash out in time before Binding connects onto him, and then suddenly that's another kill for RNG.
Taking a look at the minimap, Uzi and Ming just waiting in the bush. MLXG and Xiaohu were making their way through that top quadrant of the jungle. So if Reckless and Jez had stepped too far forward, there would have been a heroic entrance and a potential Cataclysm to come down. But was not the case, so MLXG, Warrior Enchant, Righteous Glory for Let Me, Adaptive Helm for Xiaohu. So those first item spikes hit for everybody, and they've survived the early game.
And another thing also about this Galio in the mid lane is that you have to kill. If you even want to try and camp him, you have the Malzahar ulti. Normally, you want to just go straight towards the mid lane, have your jungler come in, and you 2v1 kill him. There's not a whole lot he can do. But this Malzahar just stacking MR in the early game is going to reduce a lot of that damage, and it's hard for Caps to have the impact he wants, because when he wants to roam, Galio instantly kills the wave and just goes.
And Fnatic let that happen. They allowed the Galio to go through. Let's see if they can find a way in. Right, 3v1 onto Let Me. He's still got flash available to him. Holds onto it, realizing he's going to be chased down. Jesus was chasing him with the flash and the heal. This will allow inner turret to be focused.
And Fnatic with the Tristana can take this turret probably uncontested unless MLXG wants to try and pull
the combo.
He's going to look for Jesus. Flash and heal's not available. He's going to escape. Heroic entrance for Xiaohu. He's going to look for the taunt. Jesus continues to run. Anar from Soaz pushes him backwards. Throws the house at MLXG.
I'm fairly surprised that RNG goes for that, because they could have just tried to use all of their members mid lane and trade a mid lane for an inner tier top turret. They don't get the kill despite expending all of their ultimates right there.
They had no extra damage. MLXG had to leave the fight instantly after the engage, and Uzi was sitting mid, pushing for that tower you just highlighted. Broxah trying to get something here, but he's actually currently pretty deep inside the jungle, and he's all alone.
Yeah, got his ultimate if needed, and flash. Gonna start channeling that flail. Xiaohu, no flash to connect with the taunt. I don't think he wanted to anyway. There's no real damage behind him. So Broxah...
They're actually just trying to see if Broxah wants the early flash to get away.
Yeah, trying to get the flash out of the Sejuani so they can pull off the combo on whoever. Because the main thing about the Galio Jarvan, among all the other things we've been talking about, is finding flashless members so you can execute them. But Fnatic doing a pretty good job attacking side lanes.
All right, teleport's going to start being channeled. Xiaohu should be able to... No! It's interrupted with the Arctic Assault. But look at just how much time it takes to kill Xiaohu.
Listen, nobody TPs away from Soas when he's about to kill you. Meanwhile, up here.
All right, let's take a look. MLXG gets the smite down to survive. The Crabs continue to chase. Malefic Vision's not in range. Passive from Cap still available. Let me cannot interrupt. All of the word comes out, but he's bought enough time for MLXG to get away.
Yeah, and even though Cap can smash the early game, so to speak, the Malzahar does scale aggressively well. The percent health damage you get from the null zone on the ultimate is really substantial. So Fnatic, as much as we want to talk about Galio Jarvan, do have win conditions in this game and have been pushing side lane turrets very well.
I mean, it's what we said in the draft here. Early to mid game, there are options for Fnatic. A lot of it will involve if Caps can get away from this mid lane and start finding other targets than just Galio. This replay, though, is Xiaohu finding himself suddenly caught out, and then he tries to away. A little knockback incoming. There you go. Not happening.
I love the zoom in. By the way, while that was happening, Reckless and Jez has tried to push top lane. They got zoned away by and Ming, and on the back end, obviously, Caps looking for MLXG.
Uzi is about to hit 200 CS, and we are 17 minutes into this game. He's so insanely fed at the moment, and Fnatic are trying to play away from him to get some kills on the other members, but Uzi's just farming.
Yeah, he ended up 12 CS per minute in the previous game, 540 by the 4:45-minute mark. So incredible performance farming those side lanes. Herald has been summoned in the bottom lane, and Soaz is being pushed back by RNG's duo.
Yeah, usage of Herald to prevent it from expiring because they haven't been able to get the push on any wave, but now they can group up the teleport, and they're trying to fight around Uzi. RNG needs to fight around this incredibly strong Kog'Maw.
All right, there's the Heroes Entrance Cataclysm combo. This is exactly what RNG are amazing at. Gonna look for Broxah as well, tries to escape, just gets out of range of that Dark Binding. Inner turret is secured along with the kill onto Soaz.
And it was just a matter of time before they started playing with Uzi here. Instantly they get a tier 2 tower. Currently looking at the mid lane one that they actually want to take down next. I guess it counts the time roll hit. Not gonna do anything.
Yeah, all that chip damage, dude, it adds up. Not right now because the regen, irrelevant. Because RNG, with their gold lead and with the control of the game, as you said, they're now starting to push these other lanes.
And we were looking at like top lane with the Gnar, bot lane with the Tristana Karma, saying, okay, there are some lanes here Fnatic can try and snowball with Caps and together, but they've not been able to actually win these or dominate these lanes.
Because the laning phase was ended so early.
Very quickly, and it's so hard to do anything in this RNG combat. This super fed AD carry now.
Yeah, and if you're going to have an AD carry who's super fed, you'd like it to be Uzi. In the past, when we've seen Uzi on Kog'Maw at this group stage, he's gone somewhat defensive. They're on to Caps. He has no summoners.
No, he does not. To that by Duran. Let me gets the final kill credit. I don't think the feast landed. And Uzi, by the way, as you were saying, Jat, not only do you want to trust him to carry, he's also got a QA already into the Malzahar.
I'm surprised he didn't walk away and give that kill to Uzi because he is the main benefactor of this gold. They're still going to have gold onto Cho'Gath. I feel like he's priority number 2.
Oh, man. MLXG even steals a red buff.
Yeah, and they can get Mountain Drake, which is about objective forcing, which is what this game is very quickly going to be about. The 20-minute power spike, the 2-item, QSS Kog'Maw, the Black Shield, the Galio. It's going to be a Baron Force real soon.
It's a game 3 after you just lost this game 2 that was so heavily in Fnatic's favor, and we can see that in-game here on the Fnatic players. Simply not able to outplay RNG in the small fights, and they keep losing something.
Justice Punch connects onto Reckless. He flashes, follow flash by Xiaohu. Reckless is in trouble. No summoners left and gets taken down. Jez has moved in to try use summon a heal. Not quite sure why. RNG themselves another kill. They extend that lead even further.
They don't have Scuttle Crab control, but if they did, there's a chance that they'd even go for Baron this early on. The reason they is because they don't have quite the right play. Look at that halt.
Not going to work out though. Xiaohu does arrive with a Hero's Entrance. It may
really
be very low. All right, Glacial Prison on cooldown. Broxah tried to use it to save Reckless a few minutes ago. And RNG, they've grouped up, they're barreling down middle lane. It's a 4 versus 4 for a while. Letme's not there, but look at Uzi with that black shield. Not going to get stopped, not going to get interrupted, and should be able to pick up this tower. Another great dark binding. Ming is doing so much work.
So confident right now because no one can actually kill Uzi at this point.
Yeah, he's going to heal up from the Hurricane and the Ardent Sensor as well in that mid lane. Probably setting right now. Going to be on another stack of gold. Still 1,500 in his pocket, despite already having all that gold in CS and kills.
You see the play from before here. Fnatic trying to push up mid and top at the same time. Max range. Jump comes in a little bit late. And then you are caught out. And it's a very, very simple kill for RNG.
Yeah, getting on top of Reckless, knowing that the ultimate isn't there from Malzahar. Already picking him off. It's stacking on top of itself. In game 2, Caps and Reckless were both 2-0-3 at 21 minutes. Here, 0-2-0, 0-2-1. It is going the opposite way. Whereas it is Uzi, the guy who needs to have all the farm and has all the farm. And it's been Fnatic who has been unable to close out victories with a super fed early game 80 carry. The shoe is on the other foot right now, and they're going to have to try and prevent RNG from doing what they couldn't do earlier. RNG with the gold, with the kills. Can RNG play around Baron and close this to a victory?
Well, if the previous game is anything to go by, that Baron into game end felt extremely decisive. And that was without Galio. That was without the combination that really helped RNG make it get to Worlds. 4th tower secured. It's 8 already down by the 22-minute mark. The next dragon will be Infernal. Could be set up another way for RNG to force Fnatic's hand.
Yeah, and Fnatic, they don't really have much of a choice. They have to just take a fight and try and all in on it. If they don't do anything, Uzi keeps scaling and gets harder and harder to win this game. Suddenly Baron dies as well and you can't defend your turrets. While you still have at least some damage with your Tristana and your Malzahar, you've got to try and find an opening, but there's so many tanks. There's a Galio ulti, there's a black shield.
And also, don't forget to buy your pink wards, because they need to have control wards in the Baron area if they're going to force anything. That ward in the back of the pit makes this play completely safe for RNG.
Now that Scryer's Bloom, I think they've just missed it. Fnatic a small sense of safety. Trying to chill on that side of the middle lane. Okay, Letme all the way in the top lane. No teleport available for him, but the living artillery for spotting, you know, guess working those bushes, doing so much. Letme gets turned on. Fnatic deciding to engage. This could get juicy. Uzi, well, using that living Biocane Barrage, just hammer away.
This is not Fnatic's side of the map, so they do not have an easy route out of this one. Soaz and Brox are pretty low. The Karma does speed them up, but this gives up any Baron control they may have gained.
At least look towards the top side, but they realize all of the way.
And Soaz, by the way, is fighting one-on-one against Letme.
That's big.
Mega Gnar has timed out. He's on cooldown. Dark Binding comes up. Uzi's already got the black shield. Brox, I think, pulled the trigger far too early.
Oh,
he goes down. Soaz with the help and the assist of Broxah. Now it's 5v4. Cataclysm comes down. Nethergross locks out MLXG and interrupt as the hero's entrance comes in. It's a 5v4 and Fnatic are forcing Royal's hand.
And that is the kind of plays you need here for Fnatic to get back in this game. Just some crazy outplays. Take some big risk and see if they work.
They go for the base. Uzi's flashed forward. Look at the taunt coming in. That's already one for Uzi. Now Fnatic are on the retreat. It's a double kill for Uzi. He's got so much damage and so much support. Xiaohu's got a flash available to him. Could go for the taunt, and just like that, RNG turn it around.
It was so good for Fnatic until it wasn't. Soaz with an insane outplay to be able to kill Letme. And then Uzi just gets a black shield, flashes forward, and kills 2 people. Because he is so fed in this game. The Fnatic is having a huge...
Oh, he stole it. He's gonna go.
He's gonna go for it. Not enough damage yet. Needed some additional CC. RNG, they're on the Baron, guys. This is a 2-man start for now. This could be...
Is still alive, still has a steal chance, but it is technically a 5v4. Soaz can teleport in. Incredibly risky call by RNG.
Time for some revenge here. Broxah spots this ward here.
This time the vision in there. Still
going to be in trouble. Fnatic decide to do nothing. They do not contest, do not attempt.
Didn't have any vision inside. So hard to kind of call if Broxah could do anything or not. Without vision, it is very difficult. This is the fight after Soaz killed Letme. Yep, Uzi with the black shield. Yeah, he knows. Flash forward. Doesn't have to be afraid of any sort of CC.
Even had the QSS if the Gnar hits him into a wall, so he can kill him anyway. that preps the big call for them to just take a 25-minute Mountain Drake Baron with their board to block the vision. They secure it safely. Infernal Drake on the way.
And RNG with a 4,000 gold lead at 25 minutes. Feels like they have an answer to everything Fnatic's thrown at them this game.
The answer is Uzi right now. Get him in the fight and you win the fight. But Fnatic did find a way to actually, I wouldn't say kite around Uzi, but at least try and flank and try and hit other members, but Uzi was not in range to kill anyone. It is, again, almost impossible to win the fights like that, but it's the only way out for Fnatic.
Team fighting off the table. Split push, you want to be on the table for Soaz. It's just incredibly difficult to split push against a team with Nasher. Soaz is getting to that point. It's interesting how he's itemizing towards defense because it really feels like the team fighting is an afterthought, and the big chance would be to be able to split push against the Cho'Gath. RNG is not about wasting time here. Even if they've been able to play a little bit more slowly during Worlds, when they have the advantage, they try and push.
They're trying to trade now for that top lane tower on Inhib. We have Caps up here and Broxa as well.
They're going to try and kill him here if they can get Caps in with the ultimate.
All right, the minions have died. Void Swarm coming in. As it stands, exposed inhibitor. There's a race in the middle lane. 3 members of RNG starting to push onto the inhibitor turret. Jesus and Reckless left alone. There is some in, but that's a dark binding connecting onto Broxa. He takes a Justice Punch to the face. Up in the top lane, inhibitor was not secured, and Fnatic have finished their recalls.
That actually ended up being a trade here where Fnatic did not lose an inhib. Of course, lost a few towers for it, but it was against a Baron buff from RNG. Let's see if RNG actually backs away. They don't really have a reason to because they're still sitting with the buff here, and Cho'Gath is TP ready. They're going.
Reckless is already down. Uzi is dominating. 6-0-1. A beautiful dark binding from Ming gives Uzi yet another double kill. 7-0-1, and this sets up the inhib.
And RNG make it look so easy, but you have to ask, what was Fnatic doing there? They know they can't take the 5v5. They can't take any fight with Uzi plus X, and they did there.
RNG, they want the semi-final. They want to finish this right now. So as Nas out to the back end, Glacial Prism buys some time. Uzi continues to shoot down the Nexus turrets as Caps flash away from the...
He actually just died.
Uzi has been killed by the Mega Gnar on the back end. Ming and MLXG trying to run away. Soaz looking to catch them out with the boomerang. Gets caught by the dark binding. Black shield as well. Tries to delay anything further. But that's a kill onto Soaz and RNG. They don't get the game, but they do get the base.
You can't help but smile. Uzi there, so confident that he tanks the turret, barriers up, and then thinks he has the overshield from the black shield, but the turret doesn't do magic damage. The turret kills him, so really bad play by Uzi there to die to the turret. RNG still in an incredibly powerful position.
Uzi calling worth it though. He got a Nexus turret down. He needs another one right after. Let's see, Swords again is trying to do what we talk about here, just like crazy fighting, try and flank around, find anyone else but Uzi, and then he actually notices this AD carry is taking so much damage from the turret.
Doesn't matter that you're spell immune, the physical damage still hits you from the Gnar in the back, but mainly the turret did over 1,000 damage to Uzi in that fight. But Soaz tries to back, does still have to deal with the entire RNG team, and
that's
as much as we're building it up as just Uzi, there are 4 champions that all have their buttons, and they were still able to kill Soaz.
That meant that Fnatic were unable to do anything more. They're down a huge amount of gold. They've only got 1 Nexus turret remaining. Why is it always the Fnatic organization that's in these crazy Nexus defense games? It doesn't matter the players, the year, the tournament, the World Championship, they now have to defend a single Nexus turret base once more.
And it's still crazy. This was a team that was 0-3 after the first week of group stages. Ended up 0-4 before they beat Immortals, started winning every single game and made it into quarterfinals. Everyone knew this battle would be very tough against RNG and against Uzi.
Couple of different fights going on. Cho'Gath and Jarvan are up top dealing with one Soaz, but Soaz is actually doing it again.
All right, the target is going to be Lemis, caught by the prison, but all of a sudden RNG have surrounded. Reckless gets onto the board by taking down MLXG. Redemption buys a lot of time for RNG. Dark Binding delays any further engage from Soaz and Fnatic. They don't want to chase the 5v4. There's super minions on their base.
Yeah, MLXG have to learn soon. He needs to stay with his team because he's getting singled out, but Uzi is still strong.
He really is. Got a lot of mana to keep spitting artillery shots over and over. Soaz trying to play the split push game. He's got himself that adaptive helm to back up the frozen mallets, and that's going to allow him just to keep trying to kite and survive. RNG Gonna keep chasing him down, but Soaz is doing a lot to survive. Gets over, finds himself. Let me silence. Not gonna find the rupture. Out the shield from Jez.
Classic Soaz.
Soaz has trained his whole life for this moment. Consistently trying to run away from 3 and 4 people as a single person, and does again in this fight. So the grand scheme of things, Fnatic is still in this, and I find it so interesting how Fnatic was up 10,000 gold in somewhat of a similar position as RNG last game and could not close it. RNG's gold lead has never been close to that this game. It's actually only at 5,000, and they can't really deal with Soaz in these split push scenarios. So there was also the big mistake that RNG made when Uzi just tanked a turret. Would they potentially tilt after getting toyed with by Soaz's Gnar and having Uzi die when that inhibitor is down? They need to refine their foot, pull off their combo, and not let the Malzahar Trist scale into the late game.
Again, but like, stay around Uzi. Let him walk forward with the black shield, and Source cannot find his way then to actually kill the Jarvan, because whenever Source gets in range of Uzi, he dies almost instantly. He has to back away then. But RNG have been splitting up a lot. And right now, like Fnatic, they've been molded in this like EU Clown Fiesta style. They can play this kind of way. They actually have good with behind.
Well, let's find out which Fiesta wins. MLXG laying the Cataclysm down, but he's got a Guardian Angel to bring it back. Uzi is free-hitting everybody on Fnatic. The Rupture throws Fnatic into the air, and Royal Never Give Up find 3 kills, throwing their own hands into the air, celebrating the huge team fight win. Reckless gets at least 1 back. But now Caps has to do some magic to defend.
RNG caught Fnatic in the bounce house right there with the combo from the GA Jarvan and the Galio, but you can see what led up to that. Fnatic had incredible minion wave control. Look at this, the top, and Caps are going for a kill.
All right, MLXG is gonna flash away, stays alive to fight another day. Caps trying to deal with the minion wave. This will buy some time to keep that Nexus turret alive, enough for Fnatic to respawn.
Baron was not started here. He got a mid lane tower as well, but Uzi takes the top lane tier 2 tower here. We get the same kind of fight. MLXG, he can die quickly, but when Uzi joins, Fnatic struggle to win.
They don't want to give up this Baron easily. It is a Mountain Drake, they're going for it, but the teleport comes in, and RNG actually has to pull off.
The Jarvan is so low.
Royal Never Give Up. Fnatic send their regards. The Clown Fiesta molded and shaped this team. The animal style is unleashed in what could be the last match for Fnatic. They are still down. They are still with a destroyed base. But they are not fighting Baron-empowered Royal Never Give Up.
And listen, all of this has to do with Soaz and whether or not he can keep getting RNG to chase him, because RNG need to have everyone together to pull off these combos in the right way. Whenever Soaz sees Uzi, he needs to run in the opposite direction.
And that's again right. If you're RNG, group as 5 around Uzi, and then you can start pushing either towards Baron or towards the mid lane inhib, and you can actually win these team fights because you have QSS, you have the Black Shield.
You can feel the tension on the caster desk as Soaz is running this global taunt. Seems to somehow pull RNG towards him. There's the Gnar that's going to catch down Xiaohu into the wall. Redemption will buy some time. Uzi's off in the side lane. There's no Gnar available to get rid of him. Uzi spits out the damage, continues to chase him. Now all of a sudden, they've got to back away.
Just kiting down here away from Uzi, but he's going close now.
All right, Uzi's trying to run down 1v4. There's nothing that they can do. The Black Shield is now popped. Caps, no flash, no Nethergrass. He cannot get one in return.
But that was the best fight Fnatic has had yet, and it's because they played kite back with the Malzahar. They know that RNG needs to fully commit, and with no GA, they were not willing to do that. So the Malzahar Bay, and it's a split 5v5 with no deaths.
Oh, do Fnatic start the Baron? Do they just fight for vision? How on earth do you make a decision in this type of game? 35 minutes on the clock, looking at the minion waves. It feels like Fnatic waves are pushing towards RNG, and the observers are toggling the vision, showing you what these teams have to work.
And quick shot, Uzi's sitting on 3,500 gold. He hasn't shopped in forever. He was waiting to complete that Rammus, but it's not a very
now Xiaohu!
All right, Nethergrass onto Xiaohu. He should get stunned up, but the Durand and the shield and the passive keeps him alive. There was a lot invested for that. No Nethergrass for a follow-up target. Soaz about to Gnar out. Flash available to him, and Uzi's still sitting on that goal.
We have to remember there's double TP on RNG. Can go back to base, still TP and outside the ulti, but this Baron is getting rushed down.
All right, let's see, will it happen again? That's a stun onto MLXG. Baron secured by Fnatic, but at what cost? Teleport comes down for Shao, who continues to chase forward, looking for a Justice Punch. Soaz running away from the side. Beautiful. Good buster shot from Reckless. He'll find himself a pawn to escape even further. Heroic entrance comes down as MLXG's already used the Cataclysm. Dark binding onto Soaz on the back end. Reckless and Caps chasing down, let me. There's no mana left for Caps. I take that back. The kill helps him out. It's a one. Is down.
But Baron for Fnatic, so important. They're still down in gold in this game here. Game 2, they were so far ahead, but they couldn't secure the objective. They couldn't win the game. Now game 3, it looked done. The enemy AD carry was so damn fed, and yet Fnatic have found a way back in this game.
Officio, game 2 looked done when Reckless's Vayne was on 4 items. This time, Reckless, or Uzi rather, can't go back to base with 4,000 gold because Fnatic keeps up the global map pressure, and they're not letting RNG have the fights they want. Look at this kite back. Everyone just scatters. Hits the right timing on the Justice Punch with the Tristana ultimate backwards, and RNG can just never quite get the engage.
Uzi trying to get close enough. He will actually kill Soaz after the binding connects. Same happens down here on the bottom side with Let Me dying. Uzi went back and got a Randuin's game here, even though Fnatic can't really get onto him because of QSS and because of Black Shield. So he's actually right now not going for more damage. I'm not sure I agree with his decision.
It's the flash forward Kog'Maw, and he builds to be able to flash forward. But if Fnatic continue to kite back, they're going to get this Elder, or rather, fake me out, goes down to 36 minutes.
By the way, do you see that damage graph there? Xiaohu dealt 0 damage that fight. Fnatic knew it all along. They could play into the Galio job, and I say that sarcastically. But Cloud Drake is picked up, and Fnatic is starting to siege with Baron.
And I actually think like a Frozen Mallet would have been better for Uzi, because whenever he gets in range of someone, he needs to be able to keep them there so he can keep hitting. But everyone just kites back from Fnatic. They use the speed up from the Karma to always get away from Uzi.
And it was Uzi's mistake that was one of the things that led to this chase moment where he over-tanked the turret with the Black Shield, died, and that's the only death he's had all game. But now the question is actually very real. Can Fnatic keep this Baron buff? Can they keep pushing the side lanes? And can they win this game? Malzahar's got Leandries against a triple tank line. There's a very real chance Fnatic wins this and extends this.
Tristana as the AD carry, first picked for Fnatic. The pivot in picks and bans. That E going to do so much work onto the tower. Rupture interrupts the Nethergrass. As Letme was able to save his mid lane, Soaz gets run down. He's forced to flash over the wall. Uzi continues to chase with the ultimate. Doesn't use any further summoner spells, but that is important in order for RNG to defend.
Oh, MLXG's going in!
All right, Cataclysm comes down. Heroic entrance as well. Jensen's left for dead inside the Cataclysm. Buys some time. Rampage, that's his 11th kill of the game. Flash forward for Xiaohu. Reckless though, trying to do the work, trying to get the kills, trying to take him down. Let me force to run away. Uzi's running low on mana as he continues to chase forward. Can't shoot those ultimates down. A defensive punch for Xiaohu, the second of the fight, but now Ming is the target.
Here, Soaz base lane. He's taking down a turret.
Soaz is playing the global taunt game, trying to look at Reckless. He rocket jumps to safety. Not going to get enough more, any more damage onto RNG. MLXG playing around the sidelines. Nethergrass comes down. QSS buys some time. He is the target. He gets 2 shot. I think Reckless might rocket jump forward for this. It feels like he wants to flash as well. 1, 2, 3. The audience is silenced as Reckless shuts down Uzi.
The mid inhib is open right now. There are more minions coming in the bottom lane as well for Reckless and Caps.
Fnatic said they wanted to silence Guangzhou. Fnatic said they wanted to challenge the favorites, and right now they're on the verge of taking down the base.
Uzi down for 42 seconds, 15 more seconds on this Baron buff, 4v5. Fnatic can get at least 2 inhibitors, maybe even the game if they get some kills.
Let's see what Fnatic can do. Inhibitors going to fall. Soaz is gnawed out for now. No flash for the engage. 28 seconds, as you mentioned, for Uzi. The satchel charge on the tower. That's being hammered away from. The Gnaw catches Let Me enter the tower. Nethercraft is up for Caps if he decides to lock a target down, and he does. Interrupted by the Cataclysm combo. All of a sudden, Caps is down. Hero's entrance buys some time. GA gets popped. Reckless turns it around. 8 seconds for Uzi.
That's the big one here. Fnatic will just have to take another inhib and then step away from the base. There's a big wave top lane. No turret either protecting that one, but they know Uzi is alive.
This game is now in Fnatic's hands. 2 inhibitors down. Uzi has been item capped for the last 10 minutes. this long fight one more time.
And look how many times Uzi is hitting someone, but because he can't actually slow them down, they end up getting out of range for him. Soaz right there flashes over the wall. That's the first one.
Soaz may have been dead if Uzi can get him, but he does not. And continue watching this fight. MLXG goes in. They get the big combo. They kill Jez's. The support is gone. But then yes, this fight happened, but the decision-making of Soaz to abandon this fight prevents RNG from fully chasing them down.
And then Uzi now comes in, starts hitting Caps, can't slow him down, so he can't stay on him, have to switch over to the Sejuani and at least settle for one kill here. But that means now Caps stayed alive, and he's ready to fight again right after this, while Soaz is sitting in that mid lane.
Reckless so pumped after that fight, specifically turned it around to kill Ming, who is the full support Morgana, but he's not the type who can walk up and ult in your face. So Reckless just straight up kills him. He's now max item for his start, and the shoe is absolutely on the other foot for Fnatic. This time, the ones who want to be the people who come back.
After securing that Baron, it was a 4.5 minute long siege, non-stop, inside the faces of RNG. Soaz is playing this game fantastically, and where is this not? I want to see more of it if Fnatic want to bounce back in this series. They're on the verge of being knocked out, and they still need to win many more games.
And again, the situation is the same in terms of the fights. Because if Uzi is allowed to sit there and just keep auto-attacking, if no one actually kites him, he will deal enough damage to win. They're going for Soaz.
All right, where's the rest of the Fnatic squad? The hop will keep Soaz alive a few seconds longer. Not long enough, though.
Inhib 3 coming up for Fnatic.
All right, this one should fall. It's a 5v4 at best. Righteous Glory is used, and remember those double teleports on the side of RNG. If there's a couple wards behind, but there's not, so they can't continue chasing.
25 seconds here on the Baron. Elder Drake a minute as well.
That's huge. The fact that Fnatic didn't get that last hit on the inhibitor, they were afraid of the full wipe, which could turn into the game, but they did not get it. If they can't continue to keep these waves pushed, they could give the Baron over to RNG. Watch Caps in the bottom lane, keeping the wave shoving.
If RNG go for Baron, Fnatic go for backdoor. It feels like that's what they're setting up for. Instead, they've backed away for now.
Still no TP on Soaz, who's down for 20 seconds, but the big thing here that RNG is struggling with is they only have one person who can clear super minions, and that is Uzi. If they don't have Uzi, then they can't actually fight.
They're waiting for RNG to jump into the Baron pit and then move in behind and go for the base instead. Now they realize RNG did not commit to the Baron.
Fnatic should be in absolutely no rush. RNG has had an item capped Uzi for 15 minutes. Caps is still waiting on his death cap. They know they outscale. They know those super minions crash into the base. This is potentially even too early to make this call.
3 members of Fnatic start off. Baron, Cap starting on Elder. Soaz is going to join him, by the way. Soaz, no teleports available. He instead is clearing out the Brambleback and picking up that red buff. Now coming to join Cap, splitting RNG. Cataclysm comes down onto Broxer. He uses that Arctic Assault to get over the wall.
That's very good for Fnatic, because it's very easy for Broxer to get out of that engage. MLXG right there, frustrated, and just goes straight for the first target in front of him.
Yeah, MLXG not getting the initiations they want. The pressure has been lost. The inescapable game of Galio Jarvan is about getting flashes down and then killing you on repeat, but they haven't actually been able to get flashes down. Even with that Cataclysm, he goes on a guy who can just run right out of it. They're not playing this game straight right now, but at the same time, they only have one person who can clear those waves of super minions, so they can't get out of their base.
We haven't had so many fights, though, where Fnatic are kiting so well, always hitting everyone else but Uzi. They leave Uzi right there, so again, the Randuin's is not doing anything for him because he's not the target. He needs tools to stick to people, and he doesn't get it right now. Like, yeah, sure, you can use your Playthrough and King active, you can use the active of a Randuin if you are in range to do it. Not possible for him so far.
And first time this game, Fnatic are even on golds, marginally ahead, in fact, after some of those shenanigans early on. Uzi, 13-2-3. Xiaohu, 1-1-16. MLXG, 2-1-15. And that's the team that's starting to lose. They've got to defend their last inhibitor in the top lane.
Finally.
Gentlemen, Frozen Mallet picked up for Uzi.
But no boots.
Yeah.
So the movement speed difference, he might not actually be able to keep up.
Just keep the boots, sell the Randuins, get the Frozen Mallet. Anyway, Uzi with the Frozen Mallet now. Let's see if he can actually stick to targets.
All right, you can see that gold grab there, of course, as MLXG goes in for the engaged captain.
That's a big one!
Hera's entrance as well, but at the end up locking Xiaohu in his own pit. Broxer forced to flash defensively. Here comes Soaz. He's teleported. Meganar as well, got the option to stun, to lock down targets, 5-2, Uzi's locked up against the wall, yet again nobody dies. Why do these people not die? Uzi trying to chase, no boots though, only that Frozen Mallet, inhibitor focused. Reckless with rapid fire, takes that one down. The inhibitor on the bottom lane is being focused by minions, and Fnatic are peeling through the base.
Once again, Fnatic walk away from Uzi before they die, and they're able to now get two inhibs down. Third one is very low in the bottom lane.
There's not a lot of ultimates available for Fnatic. They've got two. Teleport coming into the river. Xiaohu gets interrupted instantly as the Duran taunt only catches Broxah. Soaz is going to get dropped. No, he survives.
Fnatic lost so many flashes though.
RNG can't get out of their base. They really want to get that third inhibitor down if you're Fnatic though.
All right, where's the damage onto Caps? He's caught by the winds of war. Justice Punch is available, not yet used. Xiaohu turns it around, interrupted by the Nethercroft, then forced to get out, manages to survive a few seconds longer. Reckless and Soaz coming in from the flanks. RNG have to do the unthinkable. They have one tower left. They have to defend their base.
Soaz right now just killed that bot lane inhib. Fnatic running out of mana. No flashes left either. They can go back, reset, wait for all the super minions against a single Nexus turret.
And that fight was so long that RNG have their combos up again. This time with no flash on Caps, Jez's, Brox's, Soaz, or Reckless. As you mentioned, every single flash down. But still, they're in a powerful position. They have the Baron buff, they have double super minions in every lane, and we are harping on Uzi's items because there are so many other things he could do. The other item I want to bring up is Essence Reaper, because time is absolutely crucial for wave clear as far as getting his W to kill these super minions. RNG at this point in the game just do not seem to have the damage to clear through the minions on top of the Malzahar and the Trist that are going to be hitting them. So slow and steady wins the race here for Fnatic. Focus on getting all the waves in at the same time, getting that turret down, and hiding back in teamfights. Do not commit if you're Fnatic.
It feels so funny because that's kind of the opposite of what this game has felt like, Jats. It has been chaotic and action-packed and full throttle from the minute go. And Fnatic are now setting up this final siege. Look, 1-3-1 initiated. Baron empowered, double supers pouring into the base. There's only one tower that stands.
We also have to remember Fnatic can't afford to lose a fight. They only have a single Nexus turret on their side. But for now, it's in full control of Fnatic with all the super minions.
Caps is really low. Available for Soaz as well. Reckless uses that Buster Shot to escape. Uzi's already chunked down very low. Super's pouring into the base. The Cataclysm comes down. MLXG's GA is popped. Here comes the Hero's Outhouse. That's going to be bad for Fnatic. Have RNG done it? Soaz running for his life. Brox is left inside the base. The Supers are pouring through. Caps still alive a few seconds longer. The burn down, let me, but a Justice Punch to the face means Caps follows Soaz. Soaz is looking in the back end, caught by the top binding. One zone goes mad, and Soaz is going to get popped on the GA. The super minions are fighting RNG's normal minions, and it's not done yet. Fnatic failed the offense.
But with all the super minions here, RNG still have to defend, and the fight was so long that Reckless now is sitting with 35 seconds on his respawn timer. 1 minute on source, but there's no minion waves for RNG to grab, and they still have to keep this tower alive.
Yeah, Uzi is having a hard time even just pushing out the mid lane. He should actually be in base right now because there's a chance that these super minions break through the minion wave and still get it. Everyone has to pull back. By the time they actually get outside of their base, Fnatic's going to be alive again.
Good thing for Fnatic though that the fight was so long. And they still have all the minions here. They get to go for round 2.
And right here, if Fnatic plays it slow, I think they just win the game. But watching where Reckless is positioned right here, he doesn't rocket jump out of the Cataclysm.
It was used.
Not in the bounce house. Why though?
It was used before with the QSS as well. And then suddenly he gets caught out. We did mention all the flashes that were missing from the last fight. Ended up costing.
But without any champion assistance, the super minions nearly killed the Nexus turret in their base. Fnatic has played this split push game so well until that moment where they just can't quite convert. And that has been the story for them so long. They are so close to pushing this to a game 4. They should push this to the game 4. Much like RNG should have won exactly 25 minutes ago. But that's the world we're living in right now.
Negative Baron power play, minus 1,799 gold. And I cannot wait to see the VOD reviews of because it is a roller coaster of emotions. We are not done yet. Fnatic will go into the breach one more time. And let's see if they can close it out. The inhibitors will be respawned. You can see the animation on your screen. Fnatic still in a gold deficit, trying to get the first win of the series.
But this Nexus turret is so low from the last fight. A lot of damage on Uzi.
Uzi's get chunked down by that Malefic Vision so much. The tower's starting to fall. Reckless gets it down. Fnatic, will they try focus the Nexus? It seems to be the option. Reckless gets one shot as MLXG zones in, dashes out. There's the Nether Grass from Xiaohu as Uzi continues to fire away. Great taunt. Xiaohu gets knocked back by the Buster shot down the knock. Gets sent away. Roxa re-engages as the super minions continue to fight down. Buster shot, I take back, is still available for Reckless. He was only the knock. Now Uzi trying to wave clear.
Oh, Xiaohu's
going low. The bomb's not going to kill him though. He survives. He continues to fight. He continues to re-engage. 5 members of Fnatic taking on 5 members of Royal.
They just cycled the inhibitors. Fnatic just need to continue to disengage and eventually they will win.
Let's find out.
No flash!
Caps is going to get taken down in just a moment. Soaz is going to gnaw out. He's got no ultimate available for him though. And the top inhibitor has died once again. Uzi clearing out the wave. Soaz tries to get a few autos onto the inhib. Reckless, Jez and Soaz not done yet. Continuing to push forward. Rapid fire after rapid fire. Reckless trying to find the damage opportunities, but there is too much of a front line.
It's only 4 members here for Fnatic. They gotta be careful.
Flash! Lock binding gets caught out in the side. He's forced to flash away. Xiaohu's now in the back end. Roxa is trying to stop the member. RNG, Glacial Prison connects, and that slows down, dissuades, stops RNG's further push. Remember, the tower fell. There is only a Nexus remaining. RNG can't leave their base.
Yep, Fnatic's also going to cycle the 3rd inhibitor once again. As soon as they see Uzi clearing super minions, they should walk forward to get that inhibitor. Instead, they're going to go for Baron. 3rd inhibitor will be trivial for them to take when it eventually happens. It is so almost impossible for RNG to escape their base.
I feel like a lot of things should have been impossible in this game, and yet it happened anyway.
Oh, man.
Like a Baron steal, for instance. Black Shield, MLXG, EQ got 4 wards inside. No control wards for Fnatic. Their inventories are full.
Oh, they couldn't knock him away, and Caps is not here. He's running for back.
Do it again. They get yet another one. All right, the taunt find a target, and Fnatic are starting to split up. Super minions making their way into the base. This series alone is giving you chance for legendary skins.
We always have to remember the potential backdoor sources on the top side, but they got the fast recalls now on the side of RNG.
Officio, but they don't have Baron. They're fighting now against Xiaohu. They know that MLXG is on minion wave duty. Now there's also a chance they can't get that 3rd inhibitor. How does it happen again?
The impossible.
Anything is possible today, Officio. Look at Reckless going for that inhibitor.
All right, he's going to start trying to deal with these inhibs again. But for the Fnatic squad, Baron-empowered minions will at least counterbalance the supers that are pouring into the base. Fnatic and RNG have been on the verge of losing this game for 30 minutes long. And the Baron steal comes in.
Black Shield is really important to enable MLXG, but also the fact that they have no control wards means they can't push them out of the pit. And then when the teleport comes in, it means Cho'Gath is there. You gotta start smiting. They go for it, and MLXG saves it till the last second. Broxus still doesn't use the smite. And RNG can't even do a full-on engage because they have to get back to their base.
Yeah, they have to make sure the Nexus doesn't die. CZ Rod portals everywhere right now, trying to defend.
Uzi obviously can't build any more items, but if he could, he has earned 33,000 gold this game with his 700 CS. And you would say like, yo dude, stop taking all the CS. Some other people need to max items. They don't have a choice.
Yeah,
Uzi
you gotta
has
defend.
to wave clear with that Hurricane time and time again. And even with the Baron buff, they can't leave their base. That's why Fnatic gets the Elder.
This is big though for Fnatic with that Elder Drake. Even more damage to try and kill the tanks here while hiding away from Uzi.
No boots on the side of Reckless. He's elected for that 6-item damage build.
A few seconds on Jess's flash will be important for the fight.
But with how long these fights are, it's all about uptime. I love the Essence Reaver from Reckless. 100% crit, more time on rapid.
Oh, that's it!
They've got him! MLXG is down. All of a sudden, it's a 5v4. This is the 9th inhibitor of the game. That's been killed. All Nexus is the focus. Soaz has got the GA available.
Hit the
He's
Nexus.
got backup. Fnatic are making their way in. Fnatic are fighting. They'll never give up. The GA is popped. All of a sudden, Caps is gone.
Oh, but Soaz is back.
Soaz has respawned, but he's not going to get the GA.
Get in there!
The Nexus is not in yet. And Fnatic do it. Are you not entertained? Fnatic win game 1.
It only took 54 minutes and 53 seconds. A breeze by Fnatic standards as far as Nexus races are concerned. But what a game. 39 kills, 54 minutes, 100,000 gold eclipsed by both teams. Unbelievable.
I mean, this game, when Uzi was so fit, when RNG were taking control of the map, it was done. But when they try and kill the Nexus turrets, and Uzi tanks all the tower shots and dies, they can't actually finish it. The game gets delayed. Fnatic just turn on this crazy shot calling, crazy playstyle where Source is
shot calling.
I mean, there is a lot of communication there of constantly calling, where's Uzi, who can we actually kill, but we have to always escape.
Soaz played that game. That is probably the best 5-8-1 game we've seen because he drew so much attention. And also, that is technically the late game vulnerability of the super tank Jarvan Galio teams, right? They went for Cho'Gath instead of Rumble. Teamfight didn't have as much damage, and they could not kill people necessarily fast enough.
Couldn't stick to people.
They held on for so long.
Gentlemen, Fnatic beat RNG when RNG played Galio, Jarvan.
Yeah.
Talk about results-based analysis, but what a game. It was bonkers for literally 35 minutes. And all of a sudden, RNG are now going to be kicking themselves because of that Nexus siege, because of that push that backfired and allowed Fnatic back in the game.
Yeah, and we're talking about how this series we thought was over after game 2 because Fnatic blew that huge lead and you expect
mental
them to tilt.
boom.
Yeah.
They did not tilt. They played into Jarvan Galio. They fell behind early game, but they persevered and got over tilts over.
I mean, they were struggling so much in the early game. There were so many small plays going in favor of RNG. That was one of the reasons they got that massive goal lead.
As you can tell, we are extremely excited about casting that game, but to hear more about how Fnatic brought it back and won it, good luck to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. You guys are excited. I wasn't expecting to have this conversation here after Game 3 with Fnatic coming back big over RNG. And before we try to make sense of the game itself, I just want to take another look at the final fight here as Fnatic pushes in for the Nexus. This replay brought to you by Ace Predator.
And this just starts with MLXD once again donating himself, but no GA. But this guy right here, the MVP of this game, Soaz with the backdoor, drawing so much pressure on a 5v4 with 3 lanes and minions. They gotta have it.
I mean, it's so reminiscent of the Immortals game, right? Yeah, everyone thinking back to that, it feels like it's an unlosable game for Immortals. They have the Baron, they have everything. Surely they're gonna close it out, but they throw the game. Fnatic comes back, and again here against RNG, massively down for so much time. I think, despite the mistakes from RNG, and there were a lot of them, Soaz played an unreal game. I thought he was insane to delay the game for so long and allow them to get back into it and to give them the opportunities to actually eventually get that win.
100%. The team fight execution alone from Soaz. There was a point in that game when he was literally like 1v5 as Gnar, actually kills Cho'Gath on the back half, and then just gets away. And it's like, no problem.
Yeah, without a doubt, hats off to him for his play in this game, keeping Fnatic in it as well. We saw Reckless's player cam there reacting. I mean, screaming. Just that was a full-on scream there for that victory. And as we talk about emotionally driven players and how this series could swing on a dime, that could be the game that turns it all around. Who's to say? We don't know just yet. But I want to try and figure out how this even happened to begin with.
A lot of mistakes, Dash. There's Baron steals that happened multiple times. I mean, I think this is where it really all actually physically happened when RNG's trying to go for the end. But look at Uzi. He's tanking tower. You build a Randuin's eventually because maybe he wanted to do this again, but he forgot Black Shield doesn't prevent physical damage.
And this is the thing. People will always remember the beautiful flashy plays from Uzi. You know, we just saw one this series when he outplays the Gragas next to the Baron pin. He's on the Tristana. But I've watched over 500 games of this guy, and there's a lot of plays just like that.
I mean, that one is just, it almost feels like he thought the game was just over.
A lot.
And,
Hands off, take the wheel.
Exactly. It's like, almost like they're celebrating because he literally just stands there and tanks, what, 4 turret shots, maybe 5 in a row through his barrier, never even attempts to move away, and just dies. And that was the game. The game was over.
Yeah, a game-throwing play from Uzi, but it was on Fnatic from there to take it back. And so here's where I want to go to the second Baron steal again, because with three inhibitors down, MLXG comes just in an attempt to keep RNG in it when Fnatic has control.
And I don't understand when MLXG decided to become Condi, the son of Baron, and just be a god. smiting and stealing every single one that he gets the opportunity. But the fact that this even happens is amazing. Why isn't anyone on the back of that
game
pit?
happened is amazing.
But they could have been zoning him away.
I feel like at this point, MLXG is the father of Baron.
Look at that gold grab.
So many Barons.
The fun
What is
uncle.
that? There is a total of like 2 minutes of game time where Fnatic is in the lead of this entire thing, and they come away with the victory.
Look at the damage of the AD carries, though. Like
Enemy caps, right? Like, it is
That's
the power
true.
of Malzahar in the late game. Malzahar is one of the few mages that actually can punch through the front line. You know, with your ultimate, you have percentage HP damage. You have so much frontline damage that you can just ult anyone who comes forward, and you can be able to burn through them pretty quick.
And a big thing is that Malzahar is used as a counter or an answer into Galio. We saw the late game damage, but it's also the ability to lock them down and shred through them.
All right, but here's the thing. In a loss, Uzi still put up some pretty big numbers, so I just want to take a look at him here. 19-2-5 KDA with 1,521 damage per minute. He ties for the most kills in a single game at 19. That is with Dandy, and that is the highest DPM, eclipsing Prey's record from earlier in this tournament.
But he went full animal. Just like Quickshot said, the build was just off.
Oh, man.
Like, the build was terrible, and then just the team did not play around him well enough. You have one real damage threat, and they just did not allow him to keep pushing forward every time, and that just doesn't matter what your DPM is. You're not going to win the game.
And reminder that this team isn't built around Uzi. I know, like, the international reputation of RNG, they always look to him, and you see, like, a composition like that, like, oh, this is RNG's, like, perfect composition. Of course they're going to win this game. This team was built around Xiaohu, and when you take the claws away from Xiaohu, when you put him on something like Galio as opposed to a signature pick like his LeBlanc, like his Syndra, you end up in situations like that where you don't have another damage threat.
And while certainly you could say the team is built around Xiaohu, this game was very clearly built
Yes.
around Uzi, right? It is, you know, Uzi and the 4 supports, essentially. And I do think that there were, like, obviously the casters were giving a lot of criticism about the item build and some of the choices that Uzi was making. I do think mechanically he played the game very well, and I want to be clear that we're not really trying to criticize that. But I do think that as far as the item builds and these sorts of things, some of the choices didn't make a lot of sense. And, you know, had he actually purchased the Frozen Mallet much earlier in the game when he could have instead of the initial Randuins, I think there was a number of times where he would have gotten extra kills and they would have actually ended the game because he was simply getting kited out. And while you can criticize a little bit RNG for that, it was also Fnatic playing very well around, you know, the strength of this Kog'Maw in a windowed time with the W up. They were kiting it out, they were pulling back, and they were finding ways to win.
And to that end, I want to recognize that they were one Nexus turret away from ending the series. And so, wow, yes, we're getting caught up in the moment of, you know, the comeback for Fnatic. They still have to do this 2 more times. And with the lead that RNG had built, with the way they had positioned themselves, I kind of recall to the first game we were saying, well, Fnatic, all they have to do is say, this went wrong, this went wrong, they're easy fixes. I mean, for RNG, to some degree, you're looking at like, hey, Uzi, don't int into a turret, and we win game 4. So mentality and in terms of fixes for RNG, that's working on the day, and they might not have to switch up a whole lot, as Fnatic has once again elected blue side for game 4.
But Dash, this feels like the slippery slope of the LPL finals when the first game, Uzi's like, oh, I don't know about this game. We got it in the bag. No. Second game after that, the next loss, third loss. I think Fnatic actually, at this point, could actually take this game.
I mean, it also feels like group stages for Fnatic. They're 0-4. There's no possible they can win. Oh, well, they got one lucky win from Immortals, but Immortals threw that game, right? Another win. No, they got another win. Oh, they won 4 in a row. They're in quarterfinals, and here we are again.
And it's not just this game. Just last game, it was pretty much Fnatic's game to lose. It was them being ahead, and then unfortunately the throw and RNG ran it back. I think that Fnatic and RNG are super similar stylistically, and this series, even if it was a 3-0, is deceptively close.
There you have it. Fnatic is keeping themselves alive in this series. We'll see if they can keep the momentum going in Game 4 versus RNG. That's coming up after the break.
Trickler's got that rocket jump and the spicy hot pot sets up first blood for RNG. And they go for the base. Uzi's flashed forward. Look at the taunt coming in. That's already one for Uzi. Now Fnatic are on the retreat. Down, but he's got a Guardian Eagle to bring it back. Uzi is f***ing everybody on Fnatic.
No flash, no flash.
Here comes the Heroes Outhouse. That's going to be bad for Fnatic. Have RNG done it?
Knock him away, and Cap's not here. He's running away.
Do it again. So is his respawn, but he's not